Seeds of Iniquity by J.A. Redmerski is able 24 hours earlier. I slam through the door first, Victor and Nicholas right behind me. My vision blurs with furious tears, the kind that come from pure hatred. The house is swallowed in darkness except for a dim glow down the hallway, the bitter scent of burnt coffee hanging thick in the air. The kitchen tells the story, chairs overturned, the tablecloth yanked halfway off, a basket of fruit spilled across the tile. Bananas, apples, and oranges lie scattered like casualties. "Dina," I shout, gripping my gun, finger resting on the trigger as I storm through the rooms. "Dina, answer me." Silence. "She's gone, Izzy," Nicholas says, his voice tight. I whirl around in the hallway, ready to snap, until I realize it's Victor who spoke next. Nicholas moves past us, disappearing into the den to sweep the rest of the house. Victor steps closer, the faint blue glow of a nightlight casting half his face in shadow. His hand grips the side of my neck, firm but steady. "Get it together," he says, his voice low. "She's alive. Panic gets you killed. Look at me." I drag my gaze up from the floor, my breath ragged. The tears aren't from grief, they're fuel. "How do you know they didn't kill her?" "Because they didn't take a body," Victor says. "They took leverage." The word hits me like a blade. I remember being leverage once, so was Sarai. I swipe at my face, but the fury only burns hotter. Whoever did this, whoever dragged Dina out of this safe house in Jersey, they won't live long enough to regret it. A sudden light floods the hallway as Nicholas flicks on a lamp in the den. "Another note," he calls. I shove past Victor and snatch the small white card from Nicholas. Pencil marks spell out the demand: meet at the abandoned brick building on 66th and Town Street, 2 a.m., and tell Dorian Flynn to call his ex-wife. Victor and Nicholas exchange a glance. My grip tightens, crumpling the edges of the card. Then I see it, just behind the couch, the toe of a black boot sticking out, a body, but I don't say a word. They've already noticed the moment they see the guard's body. The truth is undeniable. Whoever took Dina murdered him in the process. "So it's Dorian's ex?" I demand, turning to Victor. "She did this. Who is she and where do we find her?" Victor pulls out his phone, swiping the screen before lifting it to his ear. "Victor." I snap, but he silences me with a raised hand as the call connects. "Probably Dorian." My jaw clenches as I wait, foot tapping impatiently. "Yes, another note," Victor confirms, then recites it flawlessly. "Would your ex even be capable of—" "Put him on speaker," I interrupt, stepping closer. Victor taps the screen and Dorian's voice fills the room. "Tessa couldn't take down a lapdog," he scoffs. "No way she's involved." His voice cuts off abruptly. The silence stretches between us, thick with tension. "Dorian," I press. After a beat he mutters, "I'll call you back," and the line goes dead before Victor can respond. Nicholas exhales sharply, circling the couch in his scuffed boots before crouching beside the body, his pistol visible at his waist. He pulls out a cigarette, flicking his lighter. "Seriously," I storm over, knocking it from his grip. The cigarette bounces across the hardwood, embers scattering before fizzling out. "This is Dina's place, Nicholas. No smoking ever." Victor's grip tightens on my arms as he drags me back. "Rein her in, brother," Nicholas grumbles, his accent rougher than usual. He retrieves the cigarette, shooting me a sideways glance. "I get you're pissed, Izzy, but aim it at the right target." "Don't call me that." Victor's breath is warm against my ear. "Arguing won't bring Dina home. Get it together or I'm shipping you back to Boston." "You wouldn't," I mutter, though we both know he would. "I mean," he says coolly, releasing me. "Your emotions could get Dina killed. Focus." I glare at Nicholas as he stubs out the cigarette on his boot and starts rifling through the dead man's pockets. "You've lost your edge," he tosses over his shoulder, voice dripping with disdain. A new thought hits me. Why would the killer leave the guard but take Dina? Unless they wanted us to find him, unless this was a message. My stomach twists. This wasn't just a kidnapping, it was a challenge. Taking orders from a woman now. Nicholas stood up, locking eyes with Victor. "This isn't our usual gig," he said. "Saving helpless grandmas, pulling some sharp-tongued woman out of trouble with cartel thugs. What's next? Rescuing kittens from trees, scooping puppies out of storm drains." I clenched my jaw but stayed silent. Victor didn't even flinch. After years of dealing with his brother's outbursts, he was immune. Nicholas brushed past us. "Victor, you're not the only one too close to this," he muttered, tossing the accusation over his shoulder before disappearing down the hall. A second later, the back door slammed shut behind him. I turned to Victor. "Not now," he said, cutting me off before I could argue. He was right, so I forced myself to focus. Dina was missing and someone had left a body behind. "What do they want?" I asked, scanning the room for anything unusual. "Could be anything," Victor said, moving past me to examine the corpse. He crouched beside it just as Nicholas had. "We've made plenty of enemies." That was putting it lightly. My throat tightened as I walked to the coffee table. Dina's favorite glass candy dish sat there, still full of chocolates. She'd had it for years, always stocked with whatever I liked. Sweet tarts when I was a kid, Reese's as I got older. I sank onto the table's edge, elbows on my knees, head in my hands. Victor's phone lit up as he answered. Dorian's voice crackled through the speaker. "Tessa's not answering. I'm heading to her place now. I'll call when I know something." The line went dead. The unspoken thought hung between us, confirmed when Nicholas reappeared, leaning in the doorway. "So now we've got 2 kidnappings?" he asked dryly. Victor nodded, slipping his phone back into his jacket. "Whoever's behind this knows what they're doing," he said. "They found Mrs. Gregory after we relocated her 3 times." He gestured to the dead man. "And he's just a pawn." "But why Dina and Tessa?" I asked. Victor exhaled. "Because you and Dorian are part of this organization. They're targeting our weak spots." I stood. "You think they'll go after anyone else?" "Depends how many of us still have people on the outside," Victor said. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." My gaze flicked between him and Nicholas, the question obvious. Nicholas smirked, shaking his head. "Don't look at me," he said. "I don't do attachments. You both know I don't give a damn about anyone except my brother," he says, locking eyes with me. I raise an eyebrow and glance at Victor, who stays silent. Like Nicholas, he's got no connections outside this mess. "What about Frederick?" I ask, immediately regretting it. Nicholas scoffs, shaking his head. "Seriously, Isabel," he mutters, leaving no room for argument. "And he's right, Frederick's the last person who'd care. After what he did to the only woman he ever loved, he's practically a ghost now." 3 hours later, in our New Jersey hotel room, Victor gets the call. Dorian's voice is tight, barely controlled. "She's gone, the place is trashed, they took her." I've never heard him like this, raw, unhinged. Didn't even know he had an ex-wife. "No note this time," he adds, voice cracking. "Good," Victor replies, cold as ever. "How fast can you get here?" "Before 2 a.m. guaranteed." "Bring Frederick," Victor says before hanging up. Dorian hesitates. "Frederick, I don't even know where he is." "Try," Victor snaps. "If you can't find him in an hour, come alone." Nicholas stares, arms crossed, disbelief written all over his face. He's dressed in his usual black wrinkled shirt, scuffed boots, that permanent 5 o'clock shadow. Doesn't give a damn about appearances, yet somehow women flock to him. Same as Dorian. The difference, Dorian's never tried to slit my throat. "Guess telling Frederick to lay low backfired," Nicholas grumbles. Victor tucks his phone away. "We didn't see this coming, might not even need him." "I sure hope we don't have to deal with that," I mutter, glancing at the digital clock glowing between the twin beds. "He's got 4 hours left to track him down, but something tells me that's not happening." Victor nods in agreement. "We'll make do with what we've got." He turns to me, considering. "You could try reaching out to Frederick. He might actually pick up for you." I shake my head sharply. "Victor, he hasn't spoken to me since Serafina. I've told you this repeatedly. Honestly, it's getting to me." "You're right, I'm sorry," he cuts in, while Nicholas rolls his eyes hard enough to see his own brain. "This isn't about doubting you, Isabel. I know you're not keeping things from me, but I still think he'd take your call." "No, he won't," I snap, my voice colder than a Chicago winter. "I've already tried, and Frederick shut me out completely. And yeah, it stings. Besides, if he's ignoring you even after you gave him space, that's a problem you should be worried about." "Not to pile on," Nicholas adds, "but she's got a point." Victor exhales. "Like I said, we'll cross that bridge if we get there. We might not even need Frederick. But if we do, we're probably screwed. Frederick's still one of the most crucial people in our operation, maybe the most crucial, but he's also the most volatile. Not in his work, no, he's terrifyingly skilled at that, but emotionally, the man's a ghost. Ever since Serafina died, the only woman he ever loved, the one who kept his demons in check, he's been hollowed out. Now he's pure darkness, a dangerously beautiful man with something monstrous lurking inside him, something that even I find unsettling. And let's be clear, I don't rattle easily, but Frederick, I could see him killing me without hesitation. Not because he'd want to or because he'd risk Victor's wrath, but because if the situation demanded it, he'd do it without blinking. The Frederick I used to know, gone. Nicholas leaves soon after, disappearing down the hall to his room. "Isabel," Victor says from his seat by the window, fingers tapping the table, "you need to be ready for what's coming." Meaning, I push off the bed and drop into the chair across from him. He's dressed sharp dress pants, crisp white shirt, but his hands give him away. The veins running along his wrists, the quiet strength in his fingers. I already know what he's going to say, but I listen anyway, my stomach twisting tighter for Dina. "I know you care about Mrs. Gregory," he says, "but we cannot compromise the organization for her, no matter what. No negotiating with terrorists." I deadpan. "Got it, but I'm not letting Dina die either." Victor's voice stays calm, infuriatingly steady. "You might not have a choice." My jaw locks. "Isabel," he says, his voice steady but firm, "you've known the stakes since the moment you joined us." I exhale sharply, my gaze dropping to the table between us. "I know," I murmur, the weight of guilt pressing down on me. His hands cover mine, warm but unyielding. Still, I can't bring myself to look at him. "We'll do what we can to protect her," he continues. "But if it comes down to Mrs. Gregory, Dorian's ex, or anyone else they've taken versus the safety of our organization, we have to make the call. Are you ready for that, Isabel?" I lift my head, meeting his eyes as a tear escapes down my cheek. My throat tightens and all I can manage is a stiff nod. This isn't just another mission, it's a test of loyalty, one I never wanted. In the past, I could trust Victor to pull the strings, to make sure Dina walked away unharmed. But not this time. There's no inside man like Nicholas was back in Albuquerque. No safety net, just silence and the gnawing fear that I might fail her. Gun secured at my hip and pearl tucked into my boot, I trail Victor through the shadows behind the crumbling brick building. The neighborhood is a graveyard, broken streetlights, shattered windows, rusted cars piled behind a chain-link fence. The only flicker of life comes from a dying bulb at the distant intersection. No voices, no movement, not even a stray dog sniffing for food. Victor signals Dorian and Nicholas with a silent gesture, split up, circle the building. They vanish into the dark without a word. He and I crouch near a side door, concrete steps leading down into blackness. "Stay here," he orders, checking his weapon. I clench my jaw. "This reeks of a trap," I hiss, pulling my own gun free. "You can't bench me forever." His grip tightens on my arm, dragging me closer. "You're not ready," he growls low and final. His breath brushes warm against my skin as he leans closer. "Stay put," he orders, voice rough with command. His grip tightens on my arm when I hesitate. "Isabel," my name sounds like a warning. "No chance," I fire back, keeping my voice low. I'm not waiting around like some scared kid. The air between us turns heavy. I drop my gaze, not from guilt but frustration. Victor lifts my chin, his touch unexpectedly gentle. For a second he's not my boss, just a man terrified of losing me. "I can't help how I am with you," he admits. "If anything happened, I won't end up like Frederick." His eyes flick to the crumbling brick wall before he exhales. I'll scout ahead, a quick kiss, then he's gone, the door thudding shut behind him. This is why working with Victor drives me insane. Nicholas might be a pain, but at least he doesn't treat me like I'll break. Victor. He's pushed me through hell to earn his trust, yet the second his instincts kick in, he acts like I've never held a weapon. But this isn't just about protecting some elderly woman. Dina matters to me, sure, but Victor doesn't risk everything for sentiment. That gut feeling of his, it's screaming there's more here than a simple kidnapping. I follow, the basement swallowing me whole. Dust-choked light seeps through grimy windows, barely touching the debris, shattered concrete, rusted bike frames, insulation hanging like cobwebs. To my right, a narrow door, ahead a steep staircase. My fingers tighten around the gun. Knives are my usual, but tonight feels like a bullet's kind of job. As I climb, my free hand drifts to Pearl, snug in my boot. Still there, still sharp. Somewhere in the shadows, Victor's hiding more than just concern. And I intend to find out why our bond runs deep. She's taken far more lives than I ever will. A sudden shift in the dim basement light makes me spin around on the sixth step, my instincts kicking in. I never heard the entrance creak open. Pressing myself against the cold concrete wall, my dark outfit helps me disappear into the shadows. My auburn hair is tightly braided, keeping it out of my face and my focus razor-sharp. I hold my breath, silent as the night, and grip my gun when the unmistakable crunch of gravel under boots echoes through the space. "Relax, it's just me," Dorian hisses, his hands flying up as my weapon locks onto him from the darkened stairs. "Damn, you nearly gave me a heart attack." His voice is hushed but strained, his breathing uneven. I lower the gun and he gestures toward a narrow door across the room. "Came through there," he murmurs. "There's a second entrance on the opposite side of the building. Connects both ends. Any sign of movement? Nothing. Place feels off, though." He moves up behind me, tension radiating off him. "Yeah, no kidding," I mutter. "Where's Faust?" "He went ahead this way, no clue where he is now." We edge closer to the door at the top. "Didn't realize you had a wife," I say under my breath, keeping my steps steady. Now isn't the time for personal confessions, not that I have much to share. Unless you count Javier Ruiz, the cartel kingpin who kept me captive for nearly a decade. But I don't call that a relationship. "Guess we've all got our skeletons," Dorian replies, not shutting me down but not inviting more either. I drop it. As we reach the door, my fingers curl around the grimy knob. "She can't stand me," Dorian blurts, catching me off guard. I glance back at him, 2 steps below. He shrugs. "Can't say I blame her." With a nod toward the door, he adds, "Let's move." The door gives way silently, and I crouch low in my knee-high boots before peering around the frame. If someone's waiting to take a shot, they'll aim higher, buying me a split second to react. The hallway stretches ahead, empty except for scattered furniture, rusted chairs and broken desks shoved against one wall. Papers litter the floor like fallen leaves. We slip into the corridor, stepping carefully around the wreckage. "I'll take left," Dorian says, already turning. I give a quick nod before we split up, heading down the dim hallway lined with empty classrooms. The place has that unmistakable institutional feel, peeling paint, scuffed floors, the lingering ghost of chalk dust. It clicks then, the overgrown track I passed earlier, the cluster of identical brick buildings. This whole block must have been a campus once. My boots scuff against cracked linoleum as I methodically check each doorway, scanning for movement before moving on. The hallway dead ends at twin metal doors, their silver push bars catching what little light filters through the grimy windows. Instead of barging in, I press my shoulder against the cold metal and peer through the narrow glass strip. Moonlight bleeds through high, frosted panes, barely illuminating rows of decaying auditorium seats. It takes a few blinks before the stage materializes from the shadows, a skeletal outline of curtains and splintered wood. The door groans like it hasn't been opened in decades, the sound catapulting me back to middle school fire drills. Inside, the air is thick with the stench of mold and something sharper like rust. I crouch low, creeping down the aisle as my eyes adjust. Then I freeze. Second row from the stage, a shadow shifts. A boot swings lazily over a chair back. My grip tightens on my weapon just as two gunshots crack through the silence. Nicholas and Dorian burst in from opposite wings, barrels trained on the figure. Hands up now, Nicholas's shout bounces off the rafters. I drop behind a seat as Dorian rams his gun against the stranger's temple. Where's Tessa? His voice is raw, unhinged. Talk or I redecorate this dump with your skull. The threat hangs in the dusty air, sharp as the click of a safety switching off. Get back, Dorian, Victor's voice echoes through the auditorium as his polished dress shoes click sharply against the stage floor. My eyes dart across the shadows creeping along the walls, searching for any sign of movement, but nothing. No backup, no hidden threats, it doesn't add up, no way she came alone. Victor knows it too. Hell, even we didn't roll in solo. 4 guys are posted on the rooftops, scouting the perimeter before we slipped in through the back, and they found nothing. No snipers, no ambush, just empty streets and silence. Then she rises from her seat, long platinum hair cascading down her back. Her hands lift in mock surrender, but the way she holds herself like she's holding back a laugh sends a chill down my spine. I push up from my crouch and step into the aisle. Only Nicholas glances my way. Dorian's too busy glaring at her, gun locked on target. Victor gives me a quick nod, then chaos erupts. In one fluid motion, she plants her hands on the chair backs and vaults into the air, her boot slamming into Dorian's wrist. His gun clatters across the floor. Before he can react, her other foot cracks against his jaw with a sickening crunch. A gunshot rings out, muzzle flash lighting up Nicholas' face for a split second before his weapon flies from his grip. She lands in a crouch, poised like a predator. Nicholas swings, she barely dodges, stumbling back into the seats. I'm already moving, ditching my gun for the knife in my boot. This ends now. She's a blur of motion. A kick to Nicholas' ribs, another to his chest. He staggers back, gasping. Dorian grabs her from behind, but she rams her skull into his nose, breaking free. A sharp jab sends Nicholas doubling over. Dorian's next, her fist connects with his face, blood splattering in the dim light. I lunge low, sweeping her legs out from under her. She crashes down, her head smacking against an armrest. For a second, the fight leaves her, but I know better than to think it's over. I throw myself at her, trying to press the blade to her throat, but she deflects my arm with a sharp twist, sending the knife clattering to the ground. My fists land a few solid hits, blood splatters from her nose after the third strike, but then her legs snap around my neck from behind, yanking me backward. My skull cracks against the floor, and for a second the world blurs as her knuckles smash into my cheekbone. Desperate, I claw at her hair, twisting fistfuls of it until we're tangled in a mess of limbs and curses. Yeah, hair pulling's cheap, but when you're fighting for air you don't get picky. She lands another punch. I return it, snarling, "Where's Dina?" She just laughs, scrambling up, only for Dorian to wrench her arm behind her back and drive his knee into her spine. Nicholas whips off his belt, cinching it around her wrist so tight her fingers turn white. They haul her upright and I step close, finally getting a good look at her. Blood smears her lips, her hair wild around her sharp features, that grin pure malice like she's getting off on this. My fist crashes into her face again, her head snaps back, but when she shakes it off, the smirk's still there, daring me. Nicholas grips her tighter. Dorian's silent, but I see it in his eyes. He wants her dead too. "Kill me," she taunts, "and your precious Dina dies with me." I explode, lunging for her, fists flying until Victor drags me back. "Where is she?" I roar, her lips. Now I notice the smeared red lipstick curl into something worse than a smile. She spits blood, testing her teeth with her tongue. Victor steps between us, voice steady but edged. "Who are you?" Her gaze flicks over us, skipping Nicholas. "Oh, one of you knows," she purrs. "Where's your torturer, your hacker? They're all part of this." Victor's jaw tightens. "Define this." She tilts her head, marking. "You tell me. You'll find out when all 6 knights of the round table are here," she says with a sly grin. "But first I need a proper bath, fresh clothes, a decent meal, none of that greasy takeout garbage, and a glass of red wine." Nicholas and Dorian exchange glances before turning to me, then Victor. Without warning, Nicholas grabs the woman by her hair, tilting her head back to expose her throat. "Who the hell are you, you psycho?" he growls. She just laughs, unfazed. "Careful, darling. Hurt me too much and I might start liking it." He tightens his grip, but she doesn't even blink. "Call me Nora," she says smoothly. "And since I'm clearly the one calling the shots here, that's all you need to know for now." Isabel, present time 9:00 p.m. Boston headquarters. The reflection in the mirror shows a bruised face, split lip, a yellow and blue shadow under my left eye. "That woman's out of her mind," I mutter to Victor, dabbing ointment on the tender cut beneath my eye. My finger grazes the swollen bone and I suck in a sharp breath. She's toying with us. Victor steps into a fresh pair of dress pants, leaving them unbuttoned at the waist. She is, he agrees, and right now we don't have a choice but to play her game. Who do you think she really is? I ask, turning from the mirror to face him. She claims one of us knows her, definitely not me, I'd remember. He shrugs into a crisp dress shirt. Don't be so sure, he says, his voice low. If she were someone obvious, we'd recognize her. Unless it's Woodard or Frederick who hasn't seen her yet. More likely she's connected to one of us through someone else. Curious, I step out of the bathroom, still in my black bra and panties, hair damp from the shower. But what bothers me more, Victor adds, buttoning his cuffs, is how she knew about Mrs. Gregory, Tessa Flynn, and Woodard's daughters, or how she knew exactly which 6 of us run things behind closed doors. On the drive back to Boston, with Nora locked in the trunk, she dropped another bombshell. James Woodard, frantic over his missing daughters, was already on his way to meet us. And how did she know that you, Nicholas, and Frederick don't have anyone on the outside worth kidnapping? I point out. Victor sits on the edge of the bed, pulling on black dress socks. Yeah, he admits. That's the unsettling part. If she knows that much, she probably knows more. We need to find out what before I end her. I narrow my eyes. You mean we need to find Dina, Tessa, and Woodard's daughters and whatever else she's hiding before you kill her? He looks up, his gaze steady. Come here, he says. I hesitate but step forward, letting him pull me between his knees. His lips brush my bare stomach, warm and deliberate. Victor's voice was firm as he spoke, his hands gripping my hips. I won't let this woman harm Mrs. Gregory, he said, his brown hair brushing against my fingers as I ran them through it. Find her, do you doubt me, Isabel? His gaze locked onto mine, and I tilted his head back gently, feeling the tension in his body. I trust you, I admitted, my fingers still tangled in his hair. But I know you can't just change who you are because of me. His grip tightened and I hesitated, unable to finish my thought. What do you know? He asked softly. Nothing, I lied, pulling away, but his hands held me in place. Tell me, he insisted. I shook my head. It doesn't matter. Finally, he released me and I moved toward the closet, my frustration boiling over. We need to deal with her now. I don't care if she's calling the shots. If she hurt Dina, I'll make her talk, even if she's cuffed to a chair. My voice was sharp, my finger jabbing the air for emphasis. Victor just smirked, straightening his shirt. Wouldn't expect anything else from you, he said, fastening his belt before slipping on his shoes. As I pulled on a sleek black dress, his lips brushed the back of my neck, sending a shiver down my spine. 10 minutes, he murmured before heading for the door. I caught him before he left, wrapping my arms around him from behind, my bruised cheek pressed against his back. I do trust you, I whispered. His hands covered mine for a brief moment before he walked away, leaving me to finish dressing. Meanwhile, Nora sat alone in a stark white room, the brick walls cold and unyielding. A metal table stood in the center, flanked by 2 chairs, while harsh overhead lights cast no shadows. The vents near the ceiling hummed faintly, though the temperature was mild. The scuffed tile floor told the story of the room's repurposing from storage to something far more sinister. The only exit was a heavy steel door, and unless she could shrink to the size of a child, escape wasn't an option. Not that she had any intention of trying. She's taller than me, with a few extra pounds on her frame, and I know damn well I wouldn't squeeze through an opening that tight. Nora got her bath. Nicholas jumped at the chance to supervise, not because he wanted a show, but because she'd punched him earlier and he figured watching her scrub down might unsettle her. It didn't. If anything, I think he's starting to despise her more than me. She also scored a meal: lamb, rice, mashed potatoes, and a glass of wine, all served like some fancy dinner she didn't have to foot the bill for. Since she's the only one who knows where Dina is, I tossed her some of my clothes: black leather pants, a sheer silk blouse, and sky-high heels. She even asked for red lipstick. I considered swiping it across a bathroom sink before handing it over, but that would have taken too long. Nicholas has been babysitting her in the interrogation room while she ate, acting like she was on some kind of date. Dorian kept pushing to get in there, but Victor shut him down, probably a good call given how badly we all want to hurt her. Right now, Victor's the one sitting across from her, calm as ever, while I peer through the reinforced window. Anything yet? I ask Nicholas, who's leaning against the hallway wall, arms crossed. Doors solid steel, locked from the outside and soundproof except for the surveillance feed 2 floors up. He shakes his head. She just complained about the accommodations, he mutters. Dorian's pacing like a caged animal, boots thudding against the floor, his jaw clenched so tight I can almost hear his teeth grinding. We'll find them, I say, though I'm not sure I believe it. He barely glances at me. I should be in there, he growls, not stuck out here waiting. Before I can reply, there's a knock from inside. Nicholas taps in the code, the lock clicks, and Victor steps out, shutting the door behind him. Well, I demand, my patience wearing thin. The air in the hallway feels heavier now, charged with the kind of tension that makes your skin prickle. Victor exhales sharply, rubbing his temples. She's not saying a word until we're all gathered in a bigger space, preferably one with seating, he explains. Nicholas scoffs, rolling his eyes. Real demanding for someone in cuffs. I already told her no. Victor's gaze sweeps over the group, firm. We can't indulge every demand. If we do, she'll think she can push us around. Yeah, she's got leverage, but let's not forget she's still the one locked in an interrogation room. I won't let her dictate terms no matter what's at stake. I stay silent, pressing my lips together. Dorian clenches his jaw, tension radiating off him. Nicholas, indifferent, studies the hallway. His only interest is what intel this woman might have on their operation. Then James Woodard hurries toward them, his ill-fitting khakis dragging over scuffed loafers. His short-sleeved plaid shirt strains against his gut, damp patches forming under his arms. Beads of sweat cling to his receding hairline. Is she here? He pants, jabbing a finger at the steel door. The one who took my girls? Victor nods. She is. Woodard adjusts his glasses with a shaky hand. Then why are we standing around? Dorian mutters. We're waiting on Frederick. Good luck with that. A fresh bruise colors his jawline. Victor folds his arms. She agreed to talk once Woodard arrived, but she won't give us the full story until Frederick's here. Nicholas scoffs. You're his boss. If he's ignoring your calls, that's a problem. Victor's voice stays steady. He'll show. Right now, let's focus on what she knows. Woodard swipes at his sweaty forehead, his shirt now soaked. Victor locks eyes with him. Same rules apply. No details about the organization. Clear. Woodard swallows hard, nodding. Understood, sir. This one's going to be trouble. The guy looks like he's about to crack, shaky, terrified, and on the edge. That's usually enough to make someone spill their guts, but I can't bring myself to care about what he might reveal. All I feel is pity. Victor taps in the code and we all file into the room. Nora's lips curve into a slow, knowing smile as we enter. Her platinum hair cascades like silk, framing her sharp features, while her dark lashes and sculpted brows make her light brown eyes even more striking. She's stunning, no doubt, but not flawless. A faint scar traces her chin, another slashes across her throat, and the tip of her left pinky is gone. Raising her cuffed hands as far as they'll go, she tilts her head and says, "So glad you could join me. Well, most of you." "Cut the theatrics," I snap, stepping forward. "Nobody's impressed by your little performance. Just tell us what you want." She exhales dramatically but keeps that infuriating smirk. Victor moves beside me but doesn't rein me in. He only steps in if I'm about to screw up, and yes, sometimes I push too hard. Nora's gaze slides over him, lingering on his polished shoes, tailored suit, and perfectly styled hair. She's playing a game, trying to get under my skin, but it won't work. "Shall we begin?" Victor says, all business. "Of course," she purrs. "I'd offer you a seat, but..." "We'll stand," Dorian cuts in, impatient. "Get to the point." Nicholas leans against the wall, arms crossed, looking bored but alert. Woodard hasn't moved an inch. The tension in the room is thick enough to choke on. Woodard stands frozen in the middle of the room, beads of sweat rolling down his temples. He looks like a guy who just realized he's strapped into a roller coaster he never wanted to ride. If anyone's going to crack under pressure, my money's on him. Nora leans back in her chair, elbows propped on the armrests, fingers laced together over her black leather pants. Her voice is smooth, controlled. "Like I said," she begins, "one of you already knows who I am. The rest of you will figure it out soon enough." We exchange glances, all except Victor. His stare never wavers from Nora, sharp as a blade. The guy's always dialed in, always 3 steps ahead. "Here's how this works," Nora continues. "I need answers. If I don't get them," she tilts her head, flashing a cold smile. "Yes, I said need, because let's be real, I wouldn't be here if I hadn't allowed it." "Right, because you love being tied to a chair," I mutter. She lifts her cuffed wrists with a smirk. "You call these restraints, please?" Victor cuts in, voice like steel. "Get to the point." Nora's gaze flicks between us before landing back on Victor. "Each of you will talk to me alone, except the one I'm really after. That unlucky soul gets to spill everything in front of everyone." "Refuse," she shrugs. "Say goodbye to whoever you care about." My throat tightens. Dina's face flashes in my mind. Dorian lunges forward, fists clenched, jaw locked, pure fury. Victor barely moves, just extends an arm like a barrier. Dorian stops dead. Nora watches, unimpressed. "Oh, and if I die," she adds. "Same outcome." She leans back again, fingers knitting together. "One more thing, if my people don't hear from me in 2 days, your loved ones are dead anyway, so you in." Her eyes sweep over us. Victor doesn't blink. "Depends on what you're asking. You're forgetting one thing, you're the prisoner here. What's stopping us from using you to get them back?" He leans in, voice dropping. "I don't trade secrets, and I don't care who I have to put down to keep it that way." I stare at the floor, the glare of the overhead light reflecting off my boots. "Real tough guy," Nora taunts. For a second, I swear her gaze lingers on me. She tilts her head slightly, her blonde hair catching the dim light as I raise my gaze to meet hers. "You must enjoy taking lives, especially women, Mr. Faust," she says, her voice steady despite the smirk playing at the corners of her lips. I can tell she's trying to provoke me. "It's my job," I reply, pushing back from the table and standing. "I don't take pleasure in it, but I don't shy away either. And for the record, I don't target the innocent, if that's what you're suggesting." "Oh, I wouldn't dream of it," she answers, her tone dripping with sarcasm. This time her eyes lock onto mine, and there's something unsettling in them, something personal, as if she knows more than she should, or maybe I'm just reading too much into it. But since you asked, Nora continues, leaning forward until her hair brushes the cold metal table, you can use me however you like to get what you want. It won't help. I'm not afraid to die, and the only thing keeping me here is the truth I came for, so go ahead, play your games, but every move you make just puts your people in more danger. The room falls silent, thick with tension. Victor breaks it first. What exactly are you after? He asks. Nora's grin widens, her head swaying slightly like a pendulum. Each of you has a secret, she begins, her voice smooth and deliberate. Something buried so deep it keeps you up at night. One of you was betrayed by someone you trusted, one of you lost something irreplaceable, and one of you hid something that could destroy you if it ever came to light. Her gaze settles on Victor. You're going to tell me everything, voluntarily, honestly. That's the price of my cooperation. The air grows heavier, the weight of her words pressing down on all of us. You're saying you already know these secrets? I challenge, folding my arms. Nora's eyes flicker over me, her lips curving. I do, she says. I know things about you that even your closest friend doesn't. That's impossible, I snap, refusing to back down. Secrets stay hidden for a reason, and what's in it for you? None of this makes sense. I'll explain when the time is right, she replies, unfazed. And trust me, Sarai, the sound of my old name sends a jolt through me. Everything will become clear soon enough. Victor turns away from her, scanning the room. Is anyone not willing to go through with this? He asks, Woodard shifts in his seat, nodding. I'm in, he mutters, his extra chin wobbling slightly. I'll do whatever it takes to protect my girls, he stammers, fingers digging into the soft flesh above his belt. Dorian rakes a hand through his bleached crew cut, his designer sweater sliding back to expose an expensive watch and an inked vine with crimson thorns snaking down his forearm. His tongue darts across chapped lips as he drops his hand from his neck. I'm in, he declares, shooting a venomous look at Nora. When Victor turns to me, I barely pause before adding, count me in too, flashing Nora a defiant grin. Got no skeletons in my closet. Her knowing smile tells me she sees right through the lie. Nicholas shoves off the wall with his steel-toe boot, that trademark cocky grin plastered across his face as he scratches at his stubble. Bullshit, he says, arms crossed as he stares Nora down. You claim we've all got some dirty secret. News flash, my life's an open tabloid. Everyone here already knows my mess, so spare me the dramatic act. He flicks a glance my way. But what the hell, I'll bite. Got nothing better to do. As Nicholas saunters back, all attention shifts to Victor. He meets my eyes briefly. I know he's only humoring this for my sake, before turning to Nora with a casual shrug. When do we start? Nora leans back, lips pursed, and waves a dismissive hand. Tick-tock, boys, better hurry. Oh, and don't forget to tell your specialist buddy. Shame he can't bring Serafina, or was it Kasha? Her grin turns razor-sharp. He is coming, right? That's the deal. No show, no survivors. Dorian and I exchange a tense glance, the same dread twisting in our guts. Who's up first? Nora asks, eyebrows arched. Woodard doesn't hesitate. Me, he mutters, tugging at his damp collar. Victor yanks a chair into the center of the room, 5 feet from Nora's reach. Don't move it, he warns. She's restrained, but keep your distance. Nora flashes Woodard a predator's smile, all perfect teeth, before scanning the rest of us with smug satisfaction. As we file out, Nicholas mutters under his breath, leaving Peter Griffin alone with her. Bad call. Victor's reply is flat. He's armed. As long as he stays clear, he'll live. She's not here for violence. This twisted game means everything to her. She's put in too much effort to back down now. Victor's reasoning holds weight. You think she's aware of the surveillance? I ask. Hard to say, Victor replies, but my gut tells me she doesn't care either way. Dorian's voice tightens. Victor, if Tessa gets hurt, we'll deal with it if it happens. Flynn, Victor interrupts. Focus on now. We follow him down the hallway, past the interrogation room and into the surveillance hub. 3 massive screens dominate the wall, flanked by audio equipment sprawled across 2 wide desks and side tables. The center display zooms in so close on Woodard and Nora that you could map every blemish on his skin. The side screens split into quadrants, each offering a different angle of the room. The audio is crisp, almost like we're front row at a private screening. Drop into swivel chairs just in time to catch Nora's opening move. James Carl Woodard, she says smoothly, lacing her fingers together. Born in Boston, August 3, 1955. 12:02 a.m. Parents Anthony and Beatty. Am I warm? Woodard fidgets, his polished loafer tapping a frantic rhythm against the floor. Sweat soaks his shirt, his forehead glistening as he swipes at it, smearing moisture onto his slacks. Why, yeah, that's right, he stammers. But how? Lady, I don't know you. I swear I've got no clue who you are. Just leave my girls out of this. Nora tilts her head, almost sympathetic. Your girls, she echoes. Tell me, James, what wouldn't you do for them? Anything, B, but I don't know squat about the order, I swear. She laughs low and knowing, her gaze cutting toward a hidden lens. Oh, James, did you really think I'd buy that? You're the order's walking encyclopedia, right-hand man to the big boss himself. A pause. And his favorite lieutenant, she adds, flashing a razor-edged grin at the camera. I lean back in my chair. Yeah, she's definitely aware of the bugs. Note, adjusted pacing, tightened dialogue, and amplified tension while preserving core plot and character dynamics, added subtle emphasis on Nora's theatricality and Woodard's unraveling. Nora kept her gaze locked on Woodard, her tone shifting from casual to razor-sharp. "We're not here for small talk," she said. "Let's talk about your family." Woodard's hands trembled slightly. What about them?" His voice cracked the way it always did under pressure. "What do you want?" "Your children," Nora pressed, leaning forward, elbows resting on the table. Her stare was unrelenting. "Look at me, James. I'm not here to play guessing games. You know exactly what I'm after." "But I don't." "Oh, you do," she interrupted, reclining again with a knowing smirk. "A man like you smarter than he lets on. I'd bet there's plenty you're hiding." Silence. Nora let it stretch before continuing. "I've been keeping tabs on you, your wife, your 2 daughters, the houses you visit when they're left alone, vulnerable." Woodard's face flushed. "I leave to protect them," he snapped, his stutter vanishing as anger took over. "I love my family, I'd never risk them." "Of course," Nora mocked, raising her cuffed wrists with a metallic clink. "Funny how your girls are missing right now, tied up just like this. But let's cut to the chase. What's the secret you're hiding?" A cold dread settled in my gut. Victor and I exchanged glances. Woodard swallowed hard. I don't understand." Nora's smile was icy. "Yes, you do." My stomach churned. If he admitted what I feared, fine, Woodard muttered, eyes downcast. The room held its breath. I have 6 more daughters with 4 other women. I've been cheating on my wife for 15 years. Is that what you wanted?" Nora looked triumphant. The rest of us sat stunned, relieved, honestly, that it wasn't worse. Woodard might be a walking disaster, but we'd grown to like the guy. Dorian whistled. 8 daughters, 5 women. This guy's out here living your dream, Flynn. Nicholas snorted. "Guess he's got game after all." Dorian rolled his eyes, refocusing on the screen. Nora tilted her head, addressing the hidden camera. "See, truth isn't so scary." She laced her fingers together. "Feels good, doesn't it, James? No more secrets." Her grin was all teeth. "Honestly, it'd be a weight off your shoulders if you came clean to your wife, but you don't have the guts, do you?" He fidgets, his thick fingers twisting together, his leg bouncing under the table. "Are my girls safe?" Nora barely blinks. "No idea. Right now doesn't matter. It's what happens to them by the end of this that should keep you up at night." His voice cracks. "Is that the point? You want me to admit everything to my wife? Tell my daughters they have half-sisters? None of this makes sense. Why take them?" She holds up a hand. "You'll connect the dots," she says like it's obvious. "Take your time." Woodard's eyebrows knit together. "Seriously, that's all you wanted? I thought you'd be grilling me about the others." "Don't need you for that," she cuts in. "The rest will spill their secrets without me lifting a finger." But here's the thing, Nora's confidence might be her weak spot. "Dorian, yeah, he'll probably crack if it means saving Tessa. Me, I'll talk if it keeps Dina alive, no question. Personal secrets, fine." "Ever hooked up with a woman?" "Sure, back when I was stuck in Mexico for 9 years. Nothing to be ashamed of, though Nicholas and Dorian would have a field day with it." "Stolen anything? Please, I'm great at it." "Victor knows, but the others, not so much. I've lifted plenty from them over the years just to stay ahead." "Okay, maybe Nora's sharper than I thought." Now I'm sweating. Victor, though, no shot, and that terrifies me. If Dina dies because of him, I'll never get past it. Nicholas. He's exactly what he claims, an open book. What's left to dig up? And Frederick? Oh, she's in for a world of pain. Extracting secrets is his specialty, and she's walking right into it. Dorian breaks the silence. "That was too easy." "Nick, your secret happens to be one of the darkest ones out there," she remarks, and that instantly pulls my focus. Tilting her head slightly, she adds, "Let's hope nobody's eavesdropping this time for your sake." "You don't know a thing about me," I fire back, my voice tight with defiance. "My real name, big deal, that's easy enough to dig up, just like James's birth records. You're full of it." Nora just smiles and gestures to the chair again. "Maybe I am," she says, her tone dripping with amusement, "but I'm also the one deciding whether Dina Gregory lives or dies, so why don't you sit down? It's easier to talk when we're eye to eye." I clench my jaw but don't move. "Is that a request or an order?" "A request," she replies smoothly, opening her palm in invitation. The sudden shift in her demeanor throws me off, but it's only after I finally sit that I realize she still won. No smug remarks, just that faint glint of victory in her eyes. I stay silent, clinging to whatever control I still have. "How about this?" I say, crossing my arms and legs. "You tell me something about yourself first. Make things a little more comfortable, then I'll give you what you want." "Was my blood not enough?" she counters, her smirk sharp. "I handed it over willingly. They won't find anything on me." She lifts her hands, palms out, fingerprints, a light mocking laugh. "Nothing useful there either." "Then let's talk," I press. Nora leans forward, her chains clinking as she rests her forearms on the table. "I already told you," she says. "I'm not here to answer your questions." I stand abruptly, drag my chair closer, and plant it right within her reach. I want her to see I'm not afraid. She grins, tracking my movements as I sit back down, barely 2 feet away. Mirroring her, I lean in, arms on the table, fingers laced together. I glance at my hands, then lock eyes with her. "I've still got all of mine," I say, my voice laced with cold amusement. I flat my palms against the cool metal, spreading my fingers, manicured, unpolished nails, a white gold pinky ring with a 3-carat diamond, a silver thumb ring with black onyx. Slowly, I slide the pinky ring to my left hand, holding it up as if admiring it before turning it toward her. Funny how some men can't resist a woman's hands. I muse, my tone razor-sharp. There are men who appreciate the elegance of a woman's collarbone, the curve of her back, the delicate arch of her wrist, the kind who crave something deeper than just physical attraction. They're the refined ones, the ones who offer conversation as intoxicating as touch. I study the glint of the ring on my pinky, twisting my hand slowly, watching as something flickers behind Nora's gaze. Maybe I'm reaching, but she's listening. Then there are the others, I continue, the ones who only see curves, not the woman beneath. Most of them are just desperate with no self-control. My eyes drop to her hand again. You're striking, no doubt, gorgeous in all the obvious ways, but that missing fingertip, that's a story I'd love to hear. Whoever did it better hope they're long gone. Nora's hands slip from the table, settling in her lap. Her smirk doesn't waver, but there's a tightness in her jaw now. Maybe vanity really is her weak spot. You're exactly what I expected, she says, voice smooth as silk. Young, reckless, too bold for your own good. You think surviving hell makes you ready for this world. That 9 years of suffering qualifies you to sit among killers. She leans in, the overhead light catching the gold in her hair, the sharp red of her lips. But the truth is you're outmatched here, especially by me, so drop the act before you embarrass yourself further. The words hit harder than I'd like to admit, but I keep my face blank. My hands return to the table, fingers curling. I know I should shut up, but anger wins. Who took it? I push, watching her closely. A man, a lover? No, her posture stiffens. A woman then? Oh, that explains it. You prefer them, don't you? I flash a grin, but her amusement tells me I've missed the mark. So I pivot. Or was it your father? Her breath hitches, nostrils flaring, the smirk vanishes. It was him, wasn't it? What did you do to make Daddy cut off your finger, Nora? The room goes still. Her chest rises, slow and deliberate, but the fire in her eyes tells me I've finally struck gold. I'll share my secret if you share yours, I say, my voice steady despite the tension in the room. Why did Dad take your finger? Nora's lips curl back, revealing sharp teeth as she lunges across the table faster than I can react. My hands fly up instinctively, but it's too late. Her weight slams into me, sending my chair crashing backward. The impact rattles my skull as it hits the tile, pain exploding behind my eyes. Victor watches the screen unmoved as Nicholas and Dorian bolt for the door. Hold it, he snaps, his gaze locked on the feed. Dorian hesitates, jaw tight. She could die in there. Nicholas barks, eyes wide. How the hell did she get free? Woodard shifts uneasily beside them, fingers tapping against his lips. Dorian steps forward. You can't just leave her. On the screen, Nora straddles Isabel, fists pounding down. Victor exhales, turning to them. She's got this. Nicholas scoffs. You saw what happened last time. It took all of us to restrain her. Victor doesn't blink. Trust me. They retreat, but Nicholas mutters under his breath, better be right. Isabel's vision swims as she gropes for the overturned chair. Her fingers finally close around cold metal, and with a surge of adrenaline she swings it hard into Nora's temple. The impact sends Nora sprawling, hands flying to her head, free somehow from the cuffs. No hesitation. Isabel grabs the chair again, slamming it down. Nora barely rolls away in time, the chain around her ankles clinking as she struggles to rise. Isabel doesn't give her the chance. She's on her in an instant, knees pinning her down, fingers tangling in Nora's hair. One brutal crack against the floor, then another. Nora shrieks, nails clawing into Isabel's arms, drawing blood. You bitch! Her body twists beneath me as she struggles to bring her legs up, trying to lock them around me like she did back in the auditorium. But the chain between her ankles keeps her from spreading wide enough. I shove off her, teeth sinking into my lip as fury burns through me. My vision blurs with heat as I grab a fistful of her blonde hair, fingers digging into her scalp, and drag her across the cold tile floor. Her black heels slip off, abandoned behind us. Just as I'm pulling her toward the table, she snatches my ankle and yanks hard. I hit the ground face first, the metallic taste of blood flooding my mouth. The air vanishes from my lungs. Her legs clamp around my throat like a vice, the chain pressing into my windpipe. My fingers scramble, clawing at the metal, but her grip only tightens. My head throbs, heat swelling under my skin, turning it dark with pressure. The scent of her leather pants fills my nose, sharp and suffocating. For a second, I almost let go. My muscles weaken, my vision flickering. Then Nora's voice cuts through the pounding in my skull. Out of your leg. Something in me ignites. With a raw scream, I wrench the chain free, throwing her legs aside. She scrambles backward, but I'm already up, pearl flashing in my grip before I fully stood. The blade kisses her throat as I yank her head back by her hair. I'll take more than a finger this time, I snarl. She goes still, her body pressed flat against the floor, eyes wide with fear. Where's Dina? My grip tightens, the knife a breath from breaking skin. No more games, tell me. Her voice strains as she gasps, come closer and I'll say it. I don't hesitate, keeping the blade steady as I settle onto her back. Move wrong and you're dead, I whisper against her ear. She doesn't resist, but there's no surrender in her either. It's something else entirely, that infuriating confidence she carries, the kind I've come to loathe. Even with me pinning her down, my knife at her throat, she still holds the power. Where is she? I hiss into her ear. 9 years trapped in a cartel's brothel, she murmurs, barely loud enough for me to hear. I doubt they bothered with protection. Isn't that right, Sarah? My body locks up, every muscle rigid. If you want Dina Gregory alive, she continues, her voice still too quiet for the mics, then you'll tell me everything about your connection to Javier Ruiz. For what feels like hours, I stay frozen on top of her, my grip on the knife wavering. My thoughts spiral, my pulse vanishes, and my breath turns ragged. Finally, I yank the blade back, shoving her face into the tile as I push myself up. I don't watch as she struggles to stand, her ankles still tied. My gaze stays fixed on the floor when she passes me, scooping up her heels before settling back into her chair. My back stays turned, my fingers clenched around the knife. The weight of shame presses down, hot tears stinging my eyes. I could use this blade on myself. Shall we begin? Nora asks, smooth as ever, waiting at the table. I'd love to hear all about Mexico. Her voice is louder now, eyes flicking toward the camera. Slowly, I lift my head, staring at the tiny lens hidden in the vent. I hope Victor sees it, the regret, the sorrow. A tear slips free, but I don't bother wiping it away. Kill the audio, I tell Dorian. Nicholas protests. We need to hear what she turn it off. For the first time, I need to sit. Victor, this is a bad call, Nicholas insists. She could give us intel. I know what she's doing, I snap. The feed cuts to silence as Dorian shuts it down. My eyes stay locked on the screen, a slow-burning rage coiling inside me. Every word Nora throws at Isabel twists the knife deeper. Victor, she's suffered enough, I growl, turning just enough to glare at him. You don't know what Mexico did to her, Nicholas. None of us do. The woman seems determined to drag out secrets Isabel would rather keep buried, especially from us. But we won't eavesdrop on whatever confession is being forced out of her. That's her private pain, her story to share when and if she's ready. Nicholas gives in without argument. You're right, he says, nodding. If there's anything useful in what Nora says, Isabel will tell us herself. I turn back to the monitor, watching the flickering image of Isabel, her auburn hair tangled, her green eyes filled with quiet torment. Behind me, Woodard rustles a chip bag, the noise grating on my nerves. Get out, I snap. Run those blood and fingerprint samples. I want this woman identified before sunrise. Woodard mumbles a quick yes, sir, and bolts from the room. On the screen, Isabel wipes blood from her lip, her jaw tight as she glares at Nora. Isabel, I press my tongue against the raw spot inside my cheek where my teeth split the flesh. Sit down, Sarah, Nora orders. My name is Isabel, I correct, my voice flat. Your new name, Nora says, the usual sneer absent this time. But you can't erase who you were, no matter how hard you try. None of us can. I slide my knife back into its sheath and drop into the chair. No point resisting now. What exactly do you want from me? I ask, my tone icy. You already know the answer. Her gaze doesn't waver. Indulge me. I lean back, studying her. The bruise on her cheek is darkening, her lipstick smudged from where she wiped away blood. Part of me still hopes she's bluffing, that if I push hard enough, she'll slip up. But the weight in my gut tells me she knows too much, and Dina's safety hangs in the balance. You were a sex slave, Nora says, her voice steady. For years, how many, Isabel? I meet her eyes, no mockery now, just cold expectation. Like this is some twisted reckoning I can't escape. My throat tightens as I stare at my trembling hands on the table, gathering the courage to reveal my deepest shame. It happened in Mexico nearly a decade ago. The wooden floor pressed against my throbbing temple as I curled into myself, the coppery tang of blood flooding my mouth. My choked sobs echoed uselessly in the empty room, empty except for Isabel, Javier's venomous sister, who loomed over me. Get up, you worthless bitch, she shrieked, her bare feet slapping against the floor as she advanced. She was dressed to intimidate, a tight black skirt barely covering anything, a red tank top straining over her chest, her dark hair wild around her shoulders. Her fingers twisted in my hair, yanking me up. I didn't take it, I begged, shielding my face. I swear, she knocked my hands aside, her voice a snarl. Look at me. I forced my eyes open just in time for her spit to hit my cheek before she slammed my head back down. The air shifted as she stood, her shadow swallowing me whole. I didn't dare lift my gaze. My threadbare blue dress, ugly, old, but a relief in the sweltering heat, was soaked with sweat and worse. One of you stole my makeup, she hissed in Spanish. And you're going to tell me who? I don't know, I screamed, curling tighter. It was the truth, but truth never mattered to Isabel. She just wanted an excuse. To her, I was nothing, just some stupid white American girl Javier insisted on protecting. Liar, she spat. Her kick landed like a hammer to my ribs, knocking the air from my lungs. I gagged, bile rising as I clutched my stomach. The door crashed open, shaking the floor beneath me. Isabel's voice turned shrill. Javier, it wasn't me, but it was too late. The damage was done, my vision blurred as I came to, only to see Javier clutching Isabel by the throat, her small frame dangling helplessly in the air. You lay a finger on her again and you're dead, he bellowed in Spanish, his voice raw with fury. Isel gasped for air, her face turning red as Javier's grip tightened. With a violent shove, he hurled her against the wall so hard that the mirror across the room splintered, glass raining down in jagged fragments. I flinched, shielding my face as Isel's screams pierced the air sharp, agonized, like she was being torn apart. Javier didn't stop. His fists crashed into her again and again until she slumped to the floor, motionless, her features lost beneath the blood. He barely spared her a glance before turning to me, scooping me up like I weighed nothing. "Handle her," he snapped at the men lingering in the hallway, his voice low and dangerous. As they rushed in, I buried my face in his chest, the rough fabric of his shirt scratching my skin. The compound was never safe, not with the armed men prowling the halls, not with Isel's hatred simmering beneath every glance. But Javier's arms, that was the only place I didn't fear. He carried me past the flat-roofed barracks where the other girls were kept, past the stench of sweat and desperation, straight to the house that was supposed to be my sanctuary. His house. I didn't fight him, I didn't speak. I just let the tears come, my body trembling against his. The buttons of his shirt pressed into my cheek, leaving tiny marks as I clung to him, my fingers twisting in the fabric. "Look at you," he muttered as he set me down in the bathroom, his voice thick with something between disgust and rage, not at me but at what had been done. His hands, rough yet careful, peeled the soiled gown from my skin. How long has she been doing this? I kept my eyes on the floor, watching drops of blood fall from my split lip. My head pounded, my mouth aching with every breath. The faucet screeched as he twisted it, water rushing into the tub. Javier crouched, his tall frame folding as he stuffed a washcloth into the drain, his movements precise, controlled. "Answer me, Sarah," he said, his voice dropping to a growl. "Don't lie to me." But I couldn't, the words wouldn't come. All I could do was stand there, broken and silent as the water rose. Javier guided me into the bathtub, his hands steady as he supported my aching body. Between the lingering pain from Isel's latest punishment and the weight of my swollen belly, I could barely move on my own. "Lean back, me ama," he murmured, cradling my neck gently. I stayed silent, turning my face toward the wall where faded green wallpaper curled at the edges. His touch was methodical as he washed me, the warm water soothing but not enough to dull the sharp ache in my lower abdomen. Javier had always been careful with me when I was sick, when I was hurt, when I carried his child. Even in intimacy, he held back, choosing tenderness over roughness, but control was never in question. It was always his. The water stopped running. Another wave of pain twisted through me and my fingers gripped the tub's edge. Javier let the washcloth slip into the water, his grip tightening on my arm. His dark eyes flickered between my face and my stomach, concern hardening his expression. "I'm fine," I lied, resting my forehead against his forearm just above the rolled-up sleeve of his black shirt. He hesitated before picking up the cloth again, scrubbing away the grime from weeks of neglect. He wasn't supposed to be back yet. His early return had caught Isel off guard, no time to clean me up, no time to hide the bruises. She was careful like that, always making sure the marks faded before he saw them, or coaching me on which lie to tell this time. "Sarah," his voice was low, soothing. Water dripped from the cloth as he held it over the tub. I met his gaze. "You're shielding them," he said, slipping into Spanish before switching to broken English, his tell when guilt or pity got the better of him. "I know you protect Isel, but these girls, they're already gone, sold, you'll never see them again, and they don't care about you. They do what they must to survive, too fragile." The damp cloth brushed my lips, my cheek, then stilled against my forehead. His eyes locked onto mine. "Tell me," he pressed in English, "how long has Isel been doing this to you?" I shook my head, tears welling. The truth would mean her death or worse, and then she'd turn on the others. Javier didn't shield them like he did me, most were disposable, but the ones with the highest price tags, even Isel knew better than to damage the merchandise. The profits were too good. The other girls, the ones nobody wanted, those with imperfections or who refused to accept their fate as slaves, were treated like prey. And Isel played dirty. Another wave of pain tore through me, forcing my head to jerk forward as my arms wrapped around my stomach. My jaw clenched, eyes squeezed shut, and a raw scream tore from my throat, the metallic taste of blood still lingering from the beating. Javier shot to his feet, throwing the door open and barking orders in Spanish to the guards outside. "Get the doctor, now!" I hunched forward, water sloshing as I gripped my abdomen, my voice breaking. "Javier." "It's too much, Javi, please." Time blurred. The next thing I knew, I was being rushed from the bathroom to our bed. The same women who had been there 13 months ago when I lost my first child hurried in with towels, water, and medical supplies. Javier stepped back, moving toward the door. My fingers stretched toward him, desperate. "Don't go," I begged, my voice cracking. The tears weren't just from the pain anymore, it was the crushing certainty that he was walking away. His dark eyes met mine, his sharp features flickering in the chaos of the room. Then, without a word, he was gone. I kept my gaze locked on the door, fury and grief twisting inside me until another contraction ripped my focus back to the agony tearing me apart. 30 minutes later, my child was born. I never even saw if it was a boy or a girl. When they finally wrapped the baby in a blanket, its small cries pierced the air. I reached out, trembling. "Please, let me hold them." The nurse, her face unreadable, her curly black hair framing cold eyes, turned away without a word. The doctor started stitching me up as I screamed Javier's name until my voice gave out. "Mi bébé," I whispered before darkness swallowed me. Now Nora watches me from across the table, her caramel eyes wide with something like pity. Shame burns through me, my stomach twisting as I imagine Victor's disgust. "That must have been unbearable," she murmurs. I don't answer. "I just hate her for making me relive it." Nora's voice is barely above a whisper. "How many?" she asks. I hesitate before answering. "Only one survived," I admit. "I lost one to miscarriage and there was the stillbirth." Her brow furrows. "But you were with him for so long." "Yeah," I snap. "I was." "What's your point?" She fumbles, searching for the right words. "What did you do all that time?" Her question makes my jaw tighten. I glare at her, wishing she'd just shut up and move on. "And why wouldn't he let you keep the baby?" "His own child." Her face pales, but she keeps her composure, trying to stay in control. "I don't get why she even cares." "Javier didn't want kids in the compound," I say flatly. "Plenty of girls got pregnant there. The babies were sold off, just like us, to rich couples who couldn't have their own and didn't want to wait years for adoption." My eyes drift to the wall, remembering the moment they took my baby away. Said there was no place for children in that life, not even his. I wanted to believe he gave our baby to a good family, but deep down I knew better. He could be cruel just as easily as he could be kind. My voice hardens. After that, I refused. I slapped him, screamed in his face, didn't care what he'd do to me. I wasn't going through it again. Nora leans in. "What did he do to punish you?" I meet her eyes, unmoving. "Nothing," I say. "Back then, he still loved me. He wouldn't hurt me. Instead, he sent me to a doctor, put me on birth control, made sure I never ran out. He stopped using condoms but started pulling out sometimes. I was lucky. The other girls weren't. They kept having babies like it was some kind of factory." "Were they Javier's?" I shake my head. "No, at least I don't think so. The guards raped some of the girls, others slept with them willingly. I started slipping my pills to a few of them, the ones I trusted, but then Isel caught on. She stole them, left me just enough to get by. There was nothing I could do." Nora hesitates. "What happened to Isel?" The memories fade as I lock eyes with her. "I've told you enough," I spit. "What, are you my therapist now?" She leans back, dropping her hands into her lap. My chair scrapes loudly against the floor as I shove it back and stand up, anger burning in my chest. "I think we're finished here," I snap, leaning over the table with my palms pressed hard against the surface. My glare burns into her as I add, "If Dina isn't safe when this is over, you'll wish Javier had finished you off instead of just leaving scars." The threat hangs between us as I push away from the table, my boots scuffing against the concrete floor. Nora doesn't move from her chair, her expression unreadable. As I near the door, I force myself to glance at the hidden camera, just long enough for them to catch the signal. The lock clicks open right on cue. The sharp scent of disinfectant hits me when the door swings inward, mixing with something faintly citrus. "Isabel," Nora calls out just as I'm about to step into the hallway. I pause but don't turn. "For what it's worth, I didn't want to drag you back into that memory." My fingers tighten around the doorframe. "It's worth nothing," I say flatly before stepping out. Her voice follows me. "The answer is yes. My father took the tip of my finger." I don't respond. The door shuts behind me with a heavy thud. Victor is waiting when I round the corner, his arms crossed, his dark eyes tracking my every step. My boots echo too loudly in the empty hall, but I keep my gaze fixed ahead, refusing to meet his. I can feel his stare lingering on the scratches along my thighs, the fresh cut above my boot. None of that matters, not compared to the weight of what Nora pulled out of me. "Isabel," he says when I reach him, but the rest of his words die when I finally look up. His jaw tenses, and for a second I think he might actually storm back into that room. Instead, he exhales sharply. "I cut the audio," he murmurs, catching my elbow as I try to move past. "No one heard what you said, just Nora." I freeze, searching his face for any sign of deception. His hands slide down to my arms, steadying me. "You didn't hear anything?" The question comes out quieter than I mean it to. He shakes his head. "The second I saw what she was doing, I gave the order." His thumb brushes my cheek, and for a fleeting moment I let myself lean into it. Then the reality of what almost happened settles back in. My fingers curl into fists at my sides. "Good," I say, though it doesn't feel like enough. "Nothing ever does. You handled yourself well in there." Isabel, turning things around on her like that was smart. "Maybe it didn't go exactly how you wanted, but you still did great." Isabel's eyes flick past me to the wall, hesitating before she speaks. "I'm kinda surprised you didn't barge in when she came at me," she says, though I can tell there's something else on her mind. I give a small smile and rub her arms gently. "No, you were right earlier about handling your own battles," I say with a quiet chuckle, though Dorian and Nicholas were ready to storm in like knights in shining armor. She tilts her head up, eyebrows knitting together. Nicholas, seriously, she lets out a dry laugh. Yeah, I'm sure that was just for show. Maybe not, I say, but I don't push it. Instead, I pull her close and press a kiss to her forehead. Whatever you said to her in there, you don't owe me or anyone else an explanation, not until you're ready. And if that day never comes, that's fine too. Some things are better left buried. Her gaze drops to the floor. Not everything stays buried, she murmurs, more to herself. Then she meets my eyes again, the mood shifting. But I did get something out of her, no clue if it's true, but my gut says she wasn't lying. Just then James Woodard rounds the corner, a sheet of paper in hand. I hope it's good news. What'd she tell you? I ask Isabel. Before she can answer, the surveillance room door swings open and Nicholas leans in the frame. She's spewing nonsense in there now, he says, jerking his thumb toward the screens. More demands, honestly. I say we skip the games and put a bullet in her, or make it slow, kneecaps first. His eyes flick to Isabel, assessing her, but he holds back his usual sharpness, proof at least to me that he cares more than he lets on. Woodard shakes his head as I take the paper. Nothing, he says. No records, no fingerprint match, bloodwork still pending. Ran her name and description. Closest hit was a woman from Tallahassee. Nora Anders, a few others, but none fit. Not that we expected her to give us her real name, Dorian sighs. So we're still stuck at square one while she's 10 steps ahead, knowing more about us than we do about each other. And given what we do for a living, that's unsettling. How is it possible that this single woman knows so much about us while Vonnegut, who oversees the most advanced intelligence and assassination network on the planet, can't even track us down in the middle of Boston? There are only two explanations, I reply. Either she's not working alone and has her own organization backing her, or she's just that skilled and is manipulating us like chess pieces. Reading people has always been my strength. Since I was recruited into the Order as a kid, my job has been to study my enemies before they even realize I exist. My instincts tell me this woman isn't tied to any group, not anymore at least. Her level of expertise suggests she might have been trained by one, but this isn't about business for her. It's personal. If Isabel weren't involved, Nora would already be regretting this little game of hers. I'm only humoring her for Isabel's sake. I don't like it, but I'll play along for now. Isabel strides past Nicholas and me, entering the room with Woodard trailing behind. We might not know who she is, Isabel says, arms crossed as she studies the screen, but she did mention her father was the one who cut off the tip of her pinky. Nora hasn't moved, still lounging in her chair with her feet propped on the table, ankles crossed, her black heels swinging lazily. The leather-clad length of her legs stretches out like a runway. It's not much, but it's a start, Isabel adds. Dorian leans back in his chair, boots on the table, a steaming cup of coffee beside him. So she's got daddy issues, he mutters. Nicholas grins, nudging Woodard with the back of his hand. Maybe she's one of yours, Woodard. Didn't realize you had that kind of game back in the day. Woodard almost smiles, always eager for approval, but it fades into something closer to guilt. He shakes his head and drops into a seat. Actually, I had the same thought, he admits. I sent my blood sample with Carter. If we're related, we'll know in 24 hours. Cutting it close, Dorian says, turning sharply toward me. She only gave us 48. Tessa isn't dying on my watch. I stay silent, just nodding. Woodard clears his throat. We should all test against her sample. Nicholas shrugs. Fine by me. I know for a fact I don't have any secret kids. Even if I could, she's what, mid-20s? I'd have had to knock up her mom at, what, 13? Woodard raises an eyebrow. You weren't getting laid at 13, Nicholas scowls. Not exactly, he replies flatly. I was too busy getting the hell beaten out of me by my old man and the Order during training. The room goes quiet for a beat before Nicholas snorts and eyes Woodard. So you were getting action at 13, what the hell went wrong? He chuckles, sizing up Woodard's bulk and thinning hair. Time happened, that's what. The distraction grates on me. Enough, I cut in. If she's not Woodard's kid, maybe she's someone else's family. Let's just wait for the blood results. Speculating won't help. Dorian gives me a subtle nod of approval before turning back to the monitors. Isabel hesitates, then adds, there was something else. When I told her what she wanted, she trails off, frowning. Almost guilty, but I know that's crap. Damn right it's crap, Nicholas mutters. Like I said, we don't know jack about her except she's got a killer punch and a mouth worse than Izzy's, but don't let her mess with your heads. He shoots a glare at Woodard and Isabel. You both folded way too fast. Nobody asked you, Isabel snaps. Woodard shifts uncomfortably. She already knew about my past. What was I supposed to do? Nicholas scoffs. She knew nothing until you blabbed 5 minutes alone and you spilled everything. I was trying to save my daughters, Woodard stammers. No point dragging it out. Still weak, Nicholas says, turning back to the screens. Bet you a grand she's full of it, just another scammer. Isabel tilts her head, studying him. Actually, Nicholas, she knows more than you think. I watch the tension flicker across Isabel's face as she remembers her exchange with Nora. Whatever secret Nora has, something so bad Isabel won't even tell me, it's eating at her. I walked in there doubting her too, Isabel continues. I wasn't saying a word unless she proved she had leverage. If not, I'd have lied right to her face, played the game, I'm good enough to sell it. Her gaze drops to the screen, shoulders tight. But she knew. Silence settles again. Finally, Nicholas throws up his hands. And I'll go next, still calling bullshit, but if she is legit, he lights a cigarette, exhaling sharply, then she doesn't walk out of here alive. I don't argue. He heads for the door, smoke trailing behind him. Nora wasn't going to get anything from me. There was nothing to give. This was about to get entertaining. The door swung open, flooding the dim surveillance room with harsh fluorescent light from the hallway. Keep the audio running, Nicholas muttered, the unlit cigarette still hanging from his lips. Unlike some people, I've got no secrets. The light vanished as the door clicked shut, plunging us back into the eerie glow of the monitors. Isabel's gaze flickered to mine, stung by the jab in his words, before she quickly turned her attention back to the screen. By the time I stepped into the room with Nora, whoever the hell she thought she was, my cigarette was lit. Right now, she was just another reckless woman playing a dangerous game. My boots echoed against the tile as I approached, but that smug grin of hers was louder than any sound. Her blonde hair spilled over her shoulders, slipping between her arms and the curve of her chest. Not that I minded the view. The sheer black blouse left little to the imagination, the dark bra underneath barely containing what had to be at least a C-cup. Isabel could lecture all she wanted about men's preferences, but I wasn't picky. I liked variety. Maybe that said something about me, maybe it didn't. I exhaled a slow stream of smoke as I dropped into the chair across from her, leaning forward with my elbows on my knees. Ash scattered onto the floor, no ashtray, typical. Nora's lips, though stripped of their deep red stain, were still full, and my mind wandered. I smirked around another drag. Figured Dorian Flynn would be the one walking in here, she mused, studying me. Considering I've got his ex, I made sure it was me. Her brows lifted. That's unexpected. I leaned back, cigarette dangling between my fingers as I crossed my arms. Was that, not that I actually cared. She rose smoothly, those tight leather pants hugging every curve, and started pacing behind her chair. It took me a second to notice her ankles were free. Better question, I said, taking another quick pull. How'd you get out of the cuffs? Got a key stashed somewhere? I exhaled smoke. I could always check, right here, right now, with an audience. A faint smile played on her lips as she glanced away. You'd like that, wouldn't you? Her eyes met mine, sharp with unspoken meaning. Honestly, yeah, I'd enjoy every damn second of it. I take a final drag, letting the smoke burn deep before exhaling with effort. But don't confuse that with some lovesick idiot buying into your act. I could have my fun with you and still toss you right back in this cage without a second thought. Crushing the cigarette under my boot, I flick the remains aside. Plant yourself before I make you. The Glock in my hand doesn't waver as I aim at her chest. Her smirk falters just enough. Victory. She sinks into the chair, crossing toned legs that strain against the leather, arms folded like she's bored. Up close, the bruises tell stories, a swollen eyelid, a nick near her collarbone, scars mapping old battles, but it's the stub where her pinky should be that holds my gaze. Save the finger commentary, she cuts in. Isabel already milked that drama dry. I chuckle, or maybe it's still a sore spot. Nora's manicured hands flatten on the table as she leans in, all business now. Clock's ticking. Nicholas, ready to admit the truth? Sure, let's pretend that's why I'm here, I drawl. Though I'm dying to see how you'll extract a confession from thin air. Unlike Woodard, who caves at the first tease, or Isabel, you think she's just some naive kid playing gangster. Nora's voice sharpens. That she stumbled into this world by accident. Her finger taps the table. Or is there another reason you're so obsessed with her? I bark a laugh. Cut the soap opera crap. If you're hinting I've got some twisted crush, you're wasting breath. The way she watches me, all smug silence, sets my teeth on edge. Please, she finally purrs. We both know you shot her. What was it? Jealousy? Spite? Ask her. I snap, the words sour in my mouth. The room feels smaller suddenly, the air thick with unspoken games. You're the expert here, why don't you just spell it out for me? My voice is sharp, edged with frustration. Jealousy, she replies, her tone measured. Or maybe heartbreak would be more accurate. I drag a hand over my jaw, the rough stubble scratching my palm. What the hell does that even mean? I don't get it, not at all. Nora's gaze softens for a split second, throwing me off even more. You envy your brother because he has something you lost, she says, and my jaw tightens. Because he has what you used to have, and thinking about her still tears you apart. My breath comes heavier, my fingers curling into fists. You're playing with fire. Oh, I know, she says, unfazed. That's the whole idea, isn't it? My palms slam onto the table, the sound echoing through the room. Cut the cryptic crap, I snap, teeth clenched. Let me make this clear, I'm not digging up old wounds for you. Threats don't work on me, and I don't have secrets, things I don't like talking about, sure. But shame, embarrassment, that's not my style. This isn't about shame, Nicholas, she says quietly, it's about pain. For a second, she doesn't look like the calculating woman across from me. There's something different in her eyes, almost like pity, but I don't buy it. I shove the chair back and start pacing, my anger dissolving into a bitter laugh. You're good, I admit, smirking, but you picked the wrong guy to mess with. You loved her so much, she continues, ignoring me. A man who, hard to believe, was even more closed off than Frederick Gustafsson. Frederick chased love his whole life, he needed it, but you ran from it, avoided it at all costs. I track her slow steps toward me, my glare locked on her. Is this an interrogation, fishing for answers you don't actually have? Call it what you want, she says, but you're not denying it. Maybe I should have shut her down right then, too late now, she's got me cornered. Sit down, I order, raising my gun. She exhales, unfazed. I had a feeling you'd be difficult. I step closer, pressing the barrel against her forehead, forcing her back. I said, sit down. The words come out low, dangerous. She doesn't flinch. Her back hits the cold metal edge, trapped with nowhere to go. Rage burns through me as I step closer, pressing the gun under her chin until her head tilts back. You won't pull that trigger, she breathes, her words warm against my skin. But you will give me the answers I need before you walk out. I push the barrel deeper, forcing her neck to bend further. My pulse hammers like a drum, every nerve alive with fury. My jaw aches from clenching it so tight. With a sharp click, I pull back the hammer. Dina Gregory dies if you don't start talking. I don't give a damn, you do, she interrupts, voice steady. You care about Isabel and your brother, even if he's moved on while you're stuck in the shadows. Who the hell are you? I demand, searching her calm expression for cracks. Stay on topic. My hands grip her shoulders, shoving her away from the table and slamming her against the brick wall. Blonde strands fall loose around her face as she raises her arms in surrender, palms flat against the rough surface. Our eyes lock, something unsettling flickers in hers, something I almost recognize. I push the thought away, focusing instead on Isabel. The act I've kept up since she joined us crumbles, leaving raw honesty in its wake. Fine, I care, I snap, my breath hot against her cheek. She grew on me, yeah, she hates my guts, can't blame her after what I did, but that's not the point. I lean in, inhaling her scent, not out of desire but dominance. Okay, maybe a little desire, just to prove she's not calling the shots. I want to wreck her, leave her humiliated just for being so damn infuriating. What's your game? I shove off her, stepping back. Her head bumps the wall lightly. This is bullshit. I've got no secrets. If you want a confession, spell it out. Can't admit to what I don't know. Nora's voice softens, deliberate. Look at the camera, tell them what Claire meant to you, not as the cold bastard you pretend to be, as you, the real Nicholas. Claire's name hits like a blade. Before I think, my hand locks around Nora's throat, the gun shoved into my waistband. Blind fury takes over as I haul her up, slamming her back onto the table. Go ahead, do it. Nora gasps, her voice strained as my fingers tighten around her throat. Her face flushes crimson, veins standing out along her temples. I can feel her pulse hammering against my palm, but all I see is Claire's face flashing behind my eyes, Claire who's been dead 6 years, and yet this woman won't let me forget. Nora's legs lock around my waist like steel cables, but I might as well be made of stone for all the good it does her. The room tilts around me, my vision tunneling until all I see are the flecks of gold in her widening pupils. At the last possible second, I release her, shoving away so hard she nearly topples off the table. She gulps air like a drowning woman, her silk blouse rumpled, one sleeve torn at the shoulder. I can't look at her. Instead, I focus on the scuffed linoleum, the flickering fluorescent light overhead. Anything but the cameras watching us, recording every second of this disaster. When I finally turn back, she's standing, smoothing her clothes with shaky hands. There's no fear in her, just that same infuriating defiance. I jerk the chair out, the legs screeching against the floor, and drop into it. Sit down, I growl. She does slowly, never breaking eye contact. I fish a crumpled pack of Marlboros from my pocket and slam them onto the table. Let the cameras roll, let them hear this. Claire wasn't just another job, I say, my voice raw. She was supposed to be surveillance, get close, gather intel, walk away clean, but then I actually knew her. The memory hits like a gut punch, Claire laughing in some dive bar, sunlight catching her hair as she turned her face up to mine. 6 years and it still burns. Nora doesn't speak. Maybe she's smart enough not to, or maybe she finally understands that some ghosts don't stay buried, women who played the game, greedy, calculating, the kind who'd sweet-talk their way into a fortune. Whatever. Back then, I wasn't like Victor, sweating in the field. I didn't have his skills, and I sure as hell wasn't some middleman. My job was getting close to women, earning their trust, extracting what we needed. And sometimes, if the situation demanded it, making sure they never talked again. But Claire, she wasn't the mark. She was just the path to someone else, Solis. We'd been hunting him for a year, and she was our only connection. We didn't know if they were lovers, partners, or something else entirely. All I knew was, once I got close to her, I realized she was good. Too good. Whatever Solis was into, Claire had no part in it. She was just a pawn, and that made me sick. Keep going, Nora pressed, her voice sharp. I need to hear it all. I clenched my jaw but kept talking. I met her at a department store. She was working the register, thought I was the one playing her, but within weeks I knew the truth. She wasn't trying to manipulate me. She was just real, and I fell for it, hard. We did normal things, movies, dinners, lazy Sundays. It was terrifying how much I liked it, how much I liked her. 3 months in, I moved in with her. Every day the mission nagged at me, but I couldn't stop myself. I was in love, and she loved me back. One night she stepped out of the shower, towel clinging to her, hair dripping. She caught me watching and laughed, that soft, embarrassed sound I loved. "You're impossible," she said, turning away to grab a dress. "Because I like looking at you," I teased, stretching out on the bed. "You know why?" Her cheeks flushed, but she didn't drop the towel, and I knew she wouldn't. That was Claire, shy, sweet, completely unaware of the storm she was caught in. She was stunning, the kind of beauty that made you forget to breathe, yet she never seemed to believe it. I made sure to remind her constantly, every chance I got. That blue dress she wore, just skimming her knees, left me completely undone. Everything about her did. One evening, as I lay in bed, she walked toward me with that distant, glazed look in her eyes. Then without warning she collapsed, her body seizing violently. By then I was used to it. 8 months in, and Claire's seizures were just part of our rhythm, sometimes daily, sometimes every other day. They stole so much from her, no driving, no independence. Fear kept her locked inside herself until I came along. I became her anchor, her chauffeur, the one who shielded her when the world got too much. Nora interrupted, curiosity sharp in her voice. "How long has she had them?" I shrugged, feigning indifference before answering. "Since she was a kid." Nora nodded, but I barely noticed. My mind was elsewhere. 8 months of loving Claire, of protecting her, and I'd let my real mission slip. 10 months in, and I still had nothing on Solis. Claire talked about everything, her past, her family, even old flames, but his name never crossed her lips. Maybe he didn't exist. Maybe this was all a dead end, but the Order didn't care about maybes. All they saw was my distraction, my failure. If Vonnegut ever suspected I'd fallen for her, we were both as good as dead. Then 11 months in, everything shattered. Turns out the Order wasn't the only one hunting Solis. Claire wasn't just a decoy, she was a target. I barely register Nora now. The memory swallows me whole. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat, Claire's name flashing. I answered with a grin. "Hey, love." Almost there, then gunfire, shouting, the sound of struggle. Claire's scream ripped through the line. I slammed the gas, her name tearing from my throat. But the call went dead before I could reach her. I tossed the phone onto the passenger seat and slammed my foot on the gas, the car lurching forward as I tore down the highway, swerving through side streets and blowing past stop signs under the dim glow of streetlights. The image of Claire's body sprawled between the couch and coffee table burned in my mind, lifeless, along with 2 other men who'd been gunned down. Victor was waiting at the door when I arrived, his expression grim. "I was too late," he muttered, but his words barely registered. All I could see was Claire. I clenched my jaw, fighting to keep my rage and grief from spilling over, desperate not to let Victor see how much she meant to me. "Nicholas," he started, hesitant, then cut himself off and motioned for me to follow him outside. The house wasn't safe. "Did you care about her?" I let out a sharp laugh. "That's insane," I snapped, but my gaze dropped. "Just call a cleanup crew and deal with it." "Were those guys from the rival group?" Saying the words "deal with it" twisted like a knife, making it even harder to keep my composure. Victor gave a slow nod. "Yeah, Claire got a call after you left, some guy. We didn't catch his name and the call was too short to trace." My stomach tightened. "What did they say?" I braced myself, terrified he'd tell me Claire had been involved with someone else, that she wasn't the woman I thought she was. The idea would have shattered me. "Hardly anything," Victor said. She answered. There was silence. Then the guy asked who he was talking to. Claire turned it around, asking who he wanted. Then the call dropped. "Sounds like a wrong number," I said flatly. "Maybe," Victor conceded. "But it felt off. We weren't risking it. I was sent here immediately." "And you didn't call me? Why? You were over an hour out. I was 15 minutes away." "Bullshit. He was hiding something, and it didn't take a genius to guess what." "Victor," I growled, stepping closer. "Tell me the truth. Why didn't you call me?" I already knew. He exhaled. "You were pulled from the mission, Nicholas. Joran Carver got orders last night to take over." "Take over?" My voice cracked with fury. "How the hell was he supposed to do that? Claire trusted me. I almost said loved me, but I choked it back, my denial still locked in place. There's no way Joran could just step in." The thought of another operative replacing me, touching her, being near her, it sent white-hot rage through me. My fists clenched, and for a second I nearly swung at Victor. Then headlights cut through the dark, flashing red and blue against the trees as a patrol car and an unmarked sedan rolled up the gravel driveway. The secluded home Claire and I shared sat on 6 wooded acres, with the nearest neighbor nearly half a mile down the road. Joran Carver emerged from an unmarked sedan in his crisp suit. I beat him senseless just for being there, just for showing up. Didn't speak to my brother for weeks after that. He waited until the last possible second to tell me the Order's plan to replace me with Joran died the same night Claire did. Nora leaned forward from across the table. "Why was Joran there?" Her question pulled me back to the present. "Thought you had all the answers," I shot back, my tone dripping with sarcasm. "Not this one," she admitted. "I want to hear it from you," I scoffed, shaking my head. "That wasn't part of our agreement." "Consider it added," she countered. "Humor me." Part of me wanted to snap at her, to shut her out like I always did, but exhaustion won. What was the point anymore? Joran's job was to play the compassionate detective, I said flatly. He was supposed to show up at Claire's door asking about the last time she saw me, make it seem like she was cleared of any involvement in my murder. Nora's brow furrowed. They were going to kill you. No, I said, just erase me from the mission. Let her believe I was dead, it would have destroyed her. And Joran's smooth, charming bastard was supposed to swoop in as her shoulder to cry on, her only hope of clearing her name when they pinned my death on her. Nora's expression darkened. So they'd frame her, manipulate her grief just to slot Joran into your life. Pretty twisted, right? Beyond twisted, she muttered. You'd be shocked how often this happens, I said, the words spilling out like a confession. Even now, years after leaving the Order, it felt like betrayal, but I didn't care. If anything, it was a relief to say it aloud. Vonnegut's people are everywhere, cops, lawyers, even street cleaners. Sometimes I think Claire was better off dead. They'd have torn her apart to get what they wanted, ruined any chance she had at a normal life. Those last months with her, that was my revenge, because I treated her right. What I felt for her was real, not some lie, not like Joran. She was going to die either way, whether by Solis' people or the Order. At least I was the one who loved her at the end. I stood, staring down at Nora. When this is over, I said quietly, I will kill you on principle. Her face stayed blank, big words. Not a threat, I cut in, jabbing a finger at her, a promise. You don't mess with someone's family, people who never signed up to be dragged into this world. Only cowards take cheap shots. If you had a problem with one of us, you should have faced them directly instead of hiding in the shadows. I grabbed my pack of cigarettes from the table, tapping one loose before slipping the rest into my back pocket. The lighter clicks, flame catching the tip as I inhale sharply. Good luck with my brother, I say, exhaling smoke, and Gustafsson, that's one showdown I won't miss. The heavy door locks behind me as I walk away. Back in the surveillance room, Nicholas doesn't return. None of us expected him to. I never thought he cared about me at all, not after what he did. He could have stayed silent, no stakes left for him, but Claire's gone and here I am alive, tangled in guilt I can't shake. It was easier when I just hated him. Dorian leans forward in his chair, eyes on the screens. Any word from Gustafsson? Victor shakes his head. Nothing, left messages on all his lines, radio silence. I'll try, I offer, though I know it's pointless. But Victor, he's more likely to pick up for you. Whatever loyalty you think he still has to me, it's gone, I can feel it. Victor's expression darkens. Maybe my brother's right, some men can't be fixed after they break. A cold ripple runs down my spine. When Victor decides someone's a threat, they don't stay breathing long. Only twice has he hesitated, once with me back in Mexico when he couldn't untangle what he felt, and again with Nicholas when he realized his mistake. But he was ready to pull the trigger on his own brother, the same one he'd killed their father to protect. That's the kind of man we're dealing with. Victor might consider Frederick a friend, but their connection doesn't come close to the bond he shares with his brother or with me. I can't shake this uneasy feeling about Frederick, a nagging worry that things won't end well. Just then Nora's face fills the screen, her fingers wiggling in a playful wave as she calls out, "Hello." Her voice crackles through the speakers, sharp and bright. Victor motions to Dorian, "Turn her mic on." Dorian swings his legs off the desk and grabs the mouse, clicking it with a quick flick of his wrist. Nora tilts her head, her tone dripping with casual authority. "I need my beauty sleep. We'll finish this tomorrow." Victor braces his hands on the desk, leaning toward the microphone. "That's time we don't have. 48 hours was already cutting it close." A slow, knowing grin spreads across Nora's face as she tosses her hair back. "Honestly, 2 days is plenty for a simple confession if you're actually willing to give one." She pauses, eyes gleaming. "You're only panicking now because someone's still missing, am I wrong?" Victor doesn't blink. "No, you're right, but we'd still prefer to wrap this up sooner rather than later." She paces in front of the camera, heels clicking like a metronome, arms crossed. Then she stops, locking eyes with the lens. "Tomorrow, that's final." Victor gives Dorian a curt nod and the mic cuts off. He turns to us, jaw tight. "This buys us time to dig deeper. We need to figure out who she really is." Just then James Woodard shuffles in, his expression grim. "I've hit a wall," he admits, rubbing his forehead. "No records, no history, nothing. The only people this untraceable are usually high-level operatives like Vonnegut's inner circle. I've got nothing, sir, and honestly, it's embarrassing. I'm supposed to be the guy who finds the unfindable." His voice wavers. "If you want to let me go, I get it." Victor doesn't look away from the screen. "No one's firing you, Woodard. Besides, if I had to cut you loose, it wouldn't be with paperwork." Woodard's throat bobs as he swallows hard, beads of sweat forming at his temples. We start tossing theories around, Nicholas still absent. "What if she is some kind of leader?" I suggest, circling back to Woodard's earlier comment. "Nobody just vanishes without a trace." Dorian frowns. "And how does she know so much about us?" Victor exhales, rubbing his temple. "She's not a leader, at least I don't think so." I stop pacing and throw my hands up. "All right, let's work with what we do know, which is basically nothing. So where does that leave us? Let's say everything we've pieced together about her is accurate. Her father sliced off part of her finger, and yeah, it's a sore topic. She acts like she doesn't care, but there's a conscience in there somewhere. She's not just good at fighting or playing mind games, she slipped out of those cuffs like it was nothing. The woman's a damn Houdini. The room goes quiet as we all try to make sense of it, but nobody has any solid answers. Dorian leans forward. She had to have been tracking us for months to know about Gustafsson and Serafina. Unless she's got someone on the inside feeding her intel, there's no way she'd have those details. Victor nods. I can buy her digging up old records. James Woodard managed it, so why not her? But the specifics about Frederick and Serafina, that's different. Then who's the leak? I ask, if there even is one. Victor just shrugs. We'll find out soon enough. We wrap things up close to midnight, and Victor arranges for a cart and a bucket to be brought in for Nora, courtesy of me, because no way am I letting her wander off to a bathroom. We keep an eye on the feed as the guys deliver it, making sure she doesn't pull another vanishing act or worse. She stays calm, no sudden moves, no escape attempts. Then again, she already told us she wouldn't be here if she didn't want to be. That part sticks with me. Upstairs in our room, I strip off my jacket, the weight of the day pressing down. What if there are others like her? The thought twists in my gut. I won't lie, Victor, it freaks me out. He undoes the last button of his shirt, revealing the sharp lines of muscle beneath, then drapes it neatly over a chair. That's exactly why she stays alive for now. Once she leads us to Dina Gregory and the rest, her usefulness runs out. He moves toward the bed, bare feet silent on the carpet, his slacks loose around his ankles. I sit on the edge of the mattress, working the clasp of my bra. So you're planning to kill her when this is over? Once we've squeezed her dry, he says, unfastening his belt. We'll find out who else is involved, then I'll handle her the same way she's playing us. Handle her. Sometimes Victor still talks like he's back under Vonnegut's thumb, all ice and precision. It's unsettling the way he flips that switch, like the man I know disappears behind the killer, but I don't call him out on it. Some things are better left unsaid. Shedding the weight of the past isn't easy. I know that better than anyone. Stretched across the mattress in nothing but black lace, I watch Victor step out of his slacks, his boxer briefs following. He stands there, all hard lines and tension, and for a second I almost forget why we shouldn't be doing this. Almost. My mind races with everything else. Frederick, the mess we're in, but Victor, he's always seen sex as the ultimate distraction. And right now I'm not exactly protesting. His hands slide my panties down, fingertips tracing my thighs, leaving goosebumps in their wake. I gasp when he touches me, my body betraying me with shivers. His mouth finds mine, hot and demanding, and for a breathless moment nothing else exists. I don't want to kill him, he murmurs against my lips, fingers still working their magic. But I will. It's ridiculous how fast he unravels me. One touch and I'm trembling, thighs locking around his waist as he pushes into me. My nails dig into his back, my breath coming in short, sharp bursts. Do you think? I manage between ragged gasps. She wants you to confess. His answer is another rough thrust, stealing my words. No idea, he growls, mouth crashing back onto mine, but right now, his hips snap forward and my thoughts shatter. Shut up and let me fix this my way. I obey. Morning brings Nicholas back into the surveillance room, tension thick enough to choke on. He won't even glance my way, let alone speak. Guess yesterday's confession didn't exactly smooth things over. Not that I care. James leans against the doorframe, tossing a sheet of paper onto the table. No match, he says, and just like that, we're back to square one. Nora's status as a fictional woman is now official, though none of us are shocked by the revelation. I cross my arms, dressed more practically today in a sleek black jumpsuit and sturdy combat boots. No repeat of yesterday's wardrobe disaster. Would have definitely saw more than he should have. Pretty sure she actually used that bucket, Nicholas remarks. I grimace but glance at the screens anyway, relieved the cameras don't confirm his theory. She can't hold it forever, Dorian mutters. Victor studies Nora as she strides across the room in those impossible heels, looking more indifferent than trapped. If it were me in that windowless box, I'd be climbing the walls, but patience seems to be another one of her talents. Victor steps back from the monitors, the glow framing his silhouette. Woodard, he says a word. Without hesitation, Woodard trails him toward the door. What's going on? I ask. Victor pauses in the doorway, backlit by the hallway. Just some details to verify, he replies before they disappear. Dorian and I exchange a look. Victor's secrecy isn't new, but it always leaves me itching for answers. Nicholas feels my stare but keeps his eyes glued to the screen, arms folded over his rolled-up sleeves. The only sounds are the tap of Nora's heels through the speakers and Dorian blowing steam off his coffee. So, I prod, any new insights on our mystery woman? Nicholas doesn't turn. Nope. He's in his usual uniform, dark jeans, a grey button-down, and those beat-up biker boots he refuses to replace. Deflated, I focus on Nora's restless pacing. Guess I'm up next, Dorian sighs, more apprehensive than eager. I drag a chair beside him. We'll get Tessa back, I say, forcing conviction into my voice, just like the others. Dorian exhales, a flicker of amusement in his eyes. Most wives would have left me for cheating, he muses, the ghost of a smile tugging at his mouth. Here you are still fighting my battles. The irony isn't lost on me. This isn't how marriage counseling usually goes. Tessa left me because I refused to move to Wisconsin. My forehead wrinkles. Wisconsin, he lets out a dry chuckle. She couldn't stand New York, wanted to be near her family. Me, I don't function outside a city. His shoulders tense slightly. Too much quiet, too much time in your own head, and trust me, with the kind of work I do, you don't want that. I nod slowly. Yeah, I get it. Don't get me wrong, he continues. I'm not losing sleep over what I've done. Maybe that's the problem. I haven't dwelled on it enough. Then out of nowhere, he grins. Oh, and I cheated on her. The admission catches me off guard. He points at me like he's making a case. But she did it first. After that, it was a game. 3 years of spiteful affairs before she finally filed for divorce. Honestly, I wouldn't have gone there if she hadn't. He takes a quick sip of coffee. But Wisconsin, that was the final straw. I glance at Nicholas. He's still standing there silent, but I can't help wondering if he's thinking about Claire, especially with this conversation. I look away before he notices. Nora suddenly pipes up, staring into a camera. Whoever's coming in next, bring me food, I'm starving. Starving, I mutter, rolling my eyes. What, is she auditioning for a period drama? The door swings open and Victor walks back in alone. All three of us turn, hoping for answers, but his expression says he's not sharing yet. I push up from my chair. Dorian, Victor says, you're up next. Woodard might have a lead on her identity, but I need confirmation before we jump the gun. That sounds promising. Victor's hunches are usually on point, which is why he's keeping quiet for now. Dorian stands, finishing his coffee in one gulp before grabbing an apple from the table. Got it, boss, he says, heading out. I hope he doesn't lose his temper with her, I tell Victor. Dorian's trigger finger is infamous, and even with his ex-wife's life at stake, I'm not convinced he'll keep his cool. Nicholas ignores us, settling into Dorian's vacated chair. Victor steps closer, his crisp white shirt brushing my arm. His hand slides to my waist, fingers resting against my hip. Normally, I'd lean into his touch without a second thought, but right now it feels off. I fight the urge to check if Nicholas is watching, paranoia or guilt. I'm not sure which. Dorian steps into the room with Nora trailing behind him. My gaze locks onto the screen as he moves to the table, sliding an apple toward her. She eyes it skeptically, then lifts her chin to meet his stare. Really, an apple, she says, unimpressed. It's food, better than nothing, he counters, dropping into the chair across from her. Nora tilts her head, a sly grin playing on her lips. Dorian leans forward, elbows on the table, fingers laced together. Let's get started, he says. Someone's impatient, she teases. More like done with your games, he fires back. She crosses her legs, posture effortlessly commanding like she owns the room. You live up to the rumors, she muses. Arrogant, sharp-tongued, no patience, almost as bad as Nicholas Flesher. Leaning in, she lowers her voice. So tell me, how does someone like you, handsome, lethal, and leaving a mess everywhere you go, stay under the radar? Dorian frowns. What are you talking about? I mean, you were the hardest to track down. Dorian Flynn, doubt that's your real name. Mine isn't Nora Kessler, made it up when I arrived. She mirrors his posture, arms resting on the table. I watched you for months, worked at that diner near your place in Manhattan, the one you love for their clam chowder. You wouldn't have recognized me. Different hair, different voice, different face. His expression shifts as realization hits. You were my waitress, he says slowly. Yeah, she confirms, amused, and you wouldn't have known unless I wanted you to. My thoughts spiral, flipping through faces, voices, encounters. Could she have been in Mexico? Unlikely, but the doubt gnaws at me. I glance at Victor and Nicholas, their intense focus mirroring mine. Nora taps the table. I pulled your prints from your glass. You were Adam Barnett from Katy, Texas. Juvenile record bounced around the system. Interesting past for someone like you. Raised by foster parents who eventually couldn't handle you and let you go. Not exactly breaking news to anyone in this room, I'm sure. I kept digging, but your trail vanished completely by the time you turned 16, like you'd been erased. No job history, no tax records, not even a single swipe of a credit card under either name. The thing is, her gaze sharpens, you're a ghost just like me. And I can't help but wonder why. Her tone drips with suspicion, as if she's already pieced it together, and given why she's here, she probably has. Dorian exhales sharply, leaning back in his chair. You think I'd last long in my line of work if I left a paper trail? If I were easy to track, I'd already be in a ditch somewhere. Fair point, she concedes, nodding. You are good, so good I almost thought you'd skip the party because I had nothing on you, no leverage to make you talk. A slow, knowing grin spreads across her face. But then, lucky me, Tessa gave me exactly what I needed before she got chained up. Want to hear it? Dorian tenses. Nicholas flicks a glance my way, then looks down just as fast. Victor's frozen eyes locked on the screen like whatever's coming next is the only thing that matters. What? Dorian grits out, jaw tight. Nora tilts her head, feigning innocence. She said, I won't tell you anything before I even asked a single question. She lets that hang in the air. Funny, right? Because an innocent person, they don't usually jump to that. Dorian's fist crashes onto the table, sending an apple rolling toward the edge. Tessa is innocent, he snarls. Oh, she's already bruised, Nora interrupts, waving a hand. But what happens next, that's up to you. She's not part of this. Dorian's voice is raw, barely controlled. Not part of what exactly? Nora presses. For a second, Dorian falters, like he's weighing how much truth to spill. Finally, he exhales. Fine, Tessa knew I wasn't just some average guy. She found my stash, thought I was dealing, started tailing me like some amateur detective. His fingers tap impatiently against the table, but she's got no clue what's really going on. I was worried she might get hurt, so I came clean with her, Dorian admitted. Nora tilted her head slightly. And what exactly did you tell her? Dorian spread his arms wide, palms up in a gesture of surrender. That I'm involved with an underground group. What kind of underground group? She pressed, her voice sharp. His expression darkened and he shook his head in frustration. This kind, he said, jabbing a finger toward the floor. I glanced at Victor, baffled. So his big secret is that he told his ex about us. That was bad. Victor wouldn't be happy, but I still didn't get why Dorian looked so lost. There's more to it, Victor muttered, his gaze fixed on the monitor. Nora exhaled, unimpressed. So you're sticking with that story? Dorian blinked. Yeah, what else am I supposed to say? How about the truth? Nora suggested. That is the truth. Without hurry, Nora picked up the apple from the table. She pinched the stem between her fingers, twisting until it snapped free, then polished the glossy red skin against the hem of her silk blouse. Bringing it to her lips, she bit down slowly, crunch, her teeth sinking into the peel with deliberate precision. She chewed, swallowed, then took another unhurried bite, watching Dorian the whole time like she was giving him one last chance to change his tune. My stomach twisted with nerves. Victor hadn't moved, and Nicholas, who looked eerily like his brother just then, sat frozen, his earlier eye contact with me the only sign he was even breathing. Then Nora stood. Dorian mirrored her, tracking her every step as she circled the table. When she moved toward him, he didn't hesitate. His gun was out in an instant, barrel leveled at her face. My pulse hammered, but Nora didn't flinch. I wouldn't have taken Tessa, she said calmly, if I wasn't absolutely sure you'd do anything to save her. Was I wrong? She stood barely 2 feet away, her sheer sleeves swaying slightly at her sides. Dorian's jaw tightened. I told you what I told her. If you want more, you'll have to spell it out. The tension in the room spiked. Then in a blur, the apple hit the floor and the gun was in Nora's hand, aimed squarely at him. I gasped, my hand flying to my mouth. Nicholas shot up, his chair rolling back, but he didn't move further. Victor, I started. Wait, Victor cut in, though even his usual composure was fraying, his eyes wider now, fixed on the screen. Dorian stumbles backward, hands raised in a desperate attempt to shield himself, but his heel catches on the chair leg. He barely manages to steady himself before crashing down. What the hell, you're insane, his voice cracks with panic. A sharp pop cuts through the air, and Dorian jerks violently to the side, clutching his shoulder as crimson stains his fingers. He lets out a strangled cry, collapsing against the floor this time, scrambling backward like a wounded animal. His gaze locks onto the camera, onto us, and for a split second I'm torn between rushing in and staying frozen. You shot me, he snarls, glaring up at the woman towering over him, her grip steady on his own weapon. Pain twists his expression, sharpening his words. You're out of your damn mind. Confess, she orders, the barrel of the gun unwavering, aimed straight between his eyes. Or you both die. I did confess, Dorian gasps, finally slamming his back against the wall for support. His legs sprawl out, boots scuffing the floor, while just inches away a pair of sleek stilettos stand planted like a threat. Nora doesn't blink. Last chance. Her voice is ice. The door bursts open, we're in, guns drawn, but she doesn't flinch. Shoot me, she warns, and odds are I'll still pull this trigger. Then Dorian's brains will redecorate this wall like abstract art. No one moves. Confess, her scream is raw, unhinged. I glance at Victor beside me, his aim perfect, his hesitation obvious. He could end this, but he wants the truth, same as her. A second gunshot shatters the silence. Dorian howls, doubling over, hands pressed to fresh wounds. Goddamn psycho, his breath comes in ragged bursts, sweat streaking down his face. I lunge forward, Victor shoves me back. Fine, fine. Dorian's head thuds against the wall, his chest heaving. I'll tell you. His voice is a wreck, but his eyes, wide, wild, burn with defiance. Even now Dorian's body sags under the weight of his injuries, his boots scraping against the concrete as he struggles to stay upright. His knees buckle slightly, the only thing preventing him from collapsing completely. I work as a freelance operative for US intelligence, he admits, sending a ripple of disbelief through the room, except for Nora, whose expression shifts to something between satisfaction and relief. His gaze locks onto Victor, his voice strained. But this isn't a betrayal, Faust, he insists through gritted teeth. I was never here to double-cross you, it's not what it seems. Victor remains stone-faced, though the tension in his jaw betrays his thoughts. Drop the gun, he orders Nora, his weapon still pressed against her skull. With deliberate slowness, she lets the pistol slide from her fingers onto the floor before nudging it away with her foot. As she turns, her hair spills over her shoulders, a sly grin playing on her lips. Nicholas, Victor commands without looking away, restrain her, make sure she can't move a muscle. With pleasure, Nicholas replies, flashing a grin before disappearing to fetch restraints. When he returns, he winds lengths of paracord around Nora's wrists, ankles, and torso, cinching them so tightly she can barely twitch. The room stays eerily quiet, the only sound the faint rasp of rope against fabric. Dorian, pale from blood loss, clenches his jaw but doesn't make a sound. Two agents enter and Victor motions toward Dorian, take him to holding. As they haul him up, Dorian twists in their grip. Just hear me out, Faust, you're making a mistake. Victor's silence is colder than any refusal. Wait, Nora calls out. When Victor gives a curt nod, the agents pause, turning Dorian back toward her. He sags between them, barely able to lift his head. Your ex-wife, Nora muses, tilting her head. She's loyal though not the brightest, I'll give her that. Dorian's eyes narrow. What did she tell you? I get it, what the hell did you do to her? Nora gives him a look that's almost sympathetic, but there's something unsettling about the way her lips curve into a faint smile. Actually, she says, she didn't tell me anything. You did. Dorian swears at her as the men drag him away, his shouts echoing down the hallway until the elevator doors cut him. Nora turns back to us, still tied up but somehow the most composed person in the room. I hate her. I want to be the one like everyone else here who takes her down when this is over. Just you and the jackal left now, right? Nora says to Victor. And the clock's almost out. Somehow I don't think this ends well for you. I step forward, my voice low. If anything happens to Dina, you won't walk out of here either. She just rolls her eyes and shrugs like she couldn't care less. Victor Woodard trails behind me as we move down the brightly lit hallway toward the cells. His cologne is overpowering, filling the narrow space with a cloying scent that makes it hard to breathe. His loafers squeak with every step, an annoying rhythm that grates on my nerves. The building used to be a juvenile detention center, perfect for what I needed, so I bought it shortly after Isabel and I left New Mexico. Boss, I don't know what to tell you, Woodard says, sounding defeated. I dug deep, but there was nothing on Dorian Flynn. I have no idea how she knew. She didn't, I reply as we turn the corner. Nora Kessler is the best at what she does, don't take it personally. What exactly does she do? A little of everything, but her real talent, finding people's weak spots, love, fear, whatever it takes. She's a master manipulator, pulling strings without anyone noticing. Watching her work, I think I finally understand her game. Another turn and we're close to the C block. A flickering fluorescent light throws jagged shadows on the walls. Two guards stand outside Dorian's cell. How does she do it? Woodard asks, slightly winded. I ignore the question. What about the lead I sent you to check? Nothing yet, but I'm running a scan. It might turn up something. This whole situation is insane. And the blood sample, that's why I came to find you, he says. I stop in the middle of the hallway, about 20 feet from the guards, and turn to face him. He takes a deep breath, wiping the sweat from his forehead as his damp plaid shirt clings to his back. I ran the data through the orders system, he says, flipping open a blue folder, but no matches came up except for one hit. He pulls out a sheet and hands it to me. Ever heard the name Solis, sir? Woodard wasn't there when Nicholas met Nora, so he doesn't know how much that name means. Appreciate the update, I say, dodging his curiosity as I fold the paper and slip it into my pocket. His nervous grin returns. Did I do all right? He asks, always fishing for approval. I give a curt nod. Come find me when you have more. He beams, practically tripping over himself as he hurries down the hall. The guards outside Dorian's cell shift aside as I approach. They patched up Flynn's shoulders, one reports. He asked to skip the restraints, but we didn't take chances. The key turns with a heavy click, and I step inside the dim room. Sunlight barely filters through the barred window, casting slanted shadows on the concrete walls. A narrow cot is bolted to the floor, a stained sink and toilet crammed into the corner. Dorian sits slumped on the bed, his hands cuffed, his bare torso wrapped in bloodied bandages. He lifts his head, exhaustion in his eyes. I know I owe you answers, he mutters, but right now Tessa's the priority. We're running out of time. We're having this conversation now, I say flatly. Gustafsson won't make it in time, so whether I see Nora first or last doesn't matter. Dorian's jaw tightens. You're just walking away. Disbelief twists his expression. What about Mrs. Gregory? Isabel needs her. This isn't surrender, I counter. It's strategy. Without Gustafsson, they're already lost. He exhales sharply, staring at the floor. Tessa doesn't know anything, not about you, the order, not even me, he admits. I told her I was with US intelligence. Because you know how both operate, I say. It wasn't a question. He winces as the ache spreads through his back, giving a slow nod. Maybe keeping her in the dark would have been smarter, I say. A real operative, CIA, private sector, whoever doesn't spill classified intel to outsiders. You did it twice, first Tessa, then Nora, just to stay alive. Wrong, he snaps. I wouldn't trade my cover to save my own skin. Nora could have put a bullet in me, I didn't care. But Tessa, I had to give her up to keep her breathing. I don't doubt him. Even for her you crossed a line, I counter. She's not part of this world. Dragging her and made her collateral damage. Now she's a mark and it's on you. His gaze drops. I know, but when it comes to her I've got no discipline. You get it, Faust? You'd burn the world down for Isabel. I had to give Tessa enough to keep her from digging deeper. You folded because she asked questions, I say. We could debate ethics all night, but that's not why I'm here. You here to finish me? His voice is flat, like he's already made peace with it. Dorian Flynn doesn't fear death. Hell, part of him might welcome it. Behind that cocky grin is a guy who spent too much time staring into the abyss. Talk fast, I tell him. 5 minutes, then I decide if you walk out. He exhales. Normally, double-crossing me gets you a one-way ticket. But intel leaks matter more than revenge, and with his ties to US intelligence, pulling the trigger could bring more heat than just Vonnegut's crew. Maybe he's worth more alive. SOG operative, he says, and if you're thinking I'd crack under pressure, think again. My job was recon, gather intel, then make contact when the time was right. I was always going to come clean. You said the leader, not me. Bradshaw's crew, he admits. The Seer's been hunting Vonnegut for decades. I was already embedded when you took over. A beat. You really think I'd risk blowing years of work for no payoff? The room feels colder. Outside, a car alarm blares, sharp and sudden, a jolt of reality in this twisted standoff. It's like that succubus outside. He tilts his head toward the wall where Nora stands. Vonnegut might as well be a phantom. Nobody I've ever met or heard of has seen his face or even knows if he's a man. Every time we thought we had him, the suspect turned out to be a decoy. His bounty is the highest in the world. No one comes close. So you infiltrated Bradshaw's operation hoping to track Vonnegut down. I already suspect the answer, but I need confirmation. Exactly, Dorian replies. 10 years ago I tried getting into the order. No luck. It's not like they had a sign-up sheet. Impossible to crack. So I settled for the black market. Easier to slip into, probably because they don't care who they work with. Anyone willing to kill for cash isn't exactly cautious. And you figured if the order and the black markets were in the same line of work, one might lead you to the other. He nods, then grimaces as the movement pulls at his injured shoulders. A long shot, sure, but it was my only play. Think of it like Coke and Pepsi, rivals, but they still keep tabs on each other. Gotta know the competition, right? He lets out a dry laugh. But hey, it worked out in a way. Here I am, stuck in a cell, some kid probably used as his personal playground, and yet my boss, the closest link to Vonnegut I've ever found. I shift the subject. What was the government offering? A deal, he says. Give us everything on Vonnegut, help us hunt him, and the US turns a blind eye to your operations. Plus you'd get funding, classified intel, whatever you need for the job. I scoff. Working for you, not happening. I didn't leave the order to trade one leash for another. I call the shots now. Dorian backpedals. Not like that. Think of it as collaboration. Some targets are ghosts. We need intel, but we can't get close. Your people, they move in the same circles. Takes a thief to catch a thief. And Gustafsson, I've seen interrogators before, but damn, that guy's in a league of his own. It would be more of a partnership than a client relationship. We'd have significant resources at our disposal. I pause, staring at the narrow window as I gather my thoughts. But honestly, Dorian, I'm not interested. What I want to know is why Vonnegut? Why is his bounty the highest? If the government wants to work with an organization like mine, why put a price on his head instead of just recruiting him directly? His operation dwarfs mine in size and experience. Dorian shifts uncomfortably on the cart, his jaw tightening. Because Vonnegut isn't just running an assassination ring. He's into weapons, drugs, human trafficking, Dubai, Colombia, Brazil, you name it. The guy has no limits. We think he's supplying terrorists too. You think, I say, raising an eyebrow, but you don't have solid proof. He exhales sharply. We've got enough to know it's him, just not enough to nail him in court. That's why we need someone on the inside to tie it all together. His face twists in pain as he tries to sit up straighter. Look, Faust, I never meant to betray you. I actually care about this place, about all of you, but if you're going to kill me, I won't beg, except for Tessa. She doesn't deserve any of this. I move toward the door, pausing before I leave. The problem is, Flynn, you already did betray me. You've been reporting on us this whole time. Nothing you say changes that. He doesn't deny it. I wouldn't try to. I nod. I'll let you know my decision after I handle another matter. Hey, he calls as I step out. At least get me some painkillers. I shut the door without answering. Isabel, with less than 6 hours left before the deadline, I'm glued to the surveillance feed studying Nora. One of us should recognize her, but so far nothing. She's bound tightly to the chair, ropes digging into her torso, her arms locked down with chains and cuffs. The tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife. She doesn't seem the least bit bothered, like she's done this 1,000 times before, or maybe she's just that good at keeping her cool. It pisses me off. Everything she's done to Dina, to Woodard's family, even to Dorian's ex, makes my blood boil. And then there's the way she dragged my darkest secret out of me like it was nothing. But what really gets under my skin, the fact that I can't help but admire her. Nora Kessler is everything I've been trying to be since I threw my lot in with Victor, sharp, capable, unshakable. The kind of woman people listen to. Meanwhile, I'm still fumbling in the dark, and she's not even that much older than me. How the hell did she get so good at this? Her eyes flick up to the camera, and for a second it's like she's staring straight at me. A weird impulse hits me. I want to talk to her again, even though I know I shouldn't. She smirks like she can sense me watching, and I force myself to look away. Nicholas is next to me, flipping through some magazine like nothing's wrong, a cigarette tucked behind his ear and coffee going cold on the table. He's barely said 2 words to me since his little heart-to-heart with Nora, and it's driving me up the wall. You could at least pretend to be human, I snap. He doesn't even glance up. Nah, that's not really my style. Honestly, I'd take your usual smartass routine over this silent brooding act. Didn't realize you got a vote, he says, turning another page. I exhale hard. Nicholas, Claire's death wasn't on me. Never said it was. His voice is flat, like he's discussing the weather. Why the hell are you acting like I kicked your dog? Finally, he looks at me, the magazine half folded in his grip. Happy, he lets out a dry laugh. That's not really in the job description, Isabel. The way he says my full name stings more than it should. That's for people with minivans and soccer practice, not us. He tosses the magazine onto the keyboard and leans forward, that infuriating smirk still there. Remember what Nora told you? Inexperienced, in over your head sound familiar. He tilts his head. Turns out she wasn't wrong. I bite down hard on the urge to react, forcing my face to stay blank. Nicholas leans back, arms crossed, watching me like he's waiting for me to crack. He crosses his legs, resting one boot on his opposite knee. You never belonged here, he continues, his voice sharp. You shouldn't even know what we do, let alone think you could be part of it. You don't wake up one morning and decide to be a killer or a spy, and you never will be. Sure, you might scrape by on a few jobs, maybe even impress someone, he air quotes with a scoff, but you'll never reach my brother's level or mine. No amount of training changes that. This life, it's in our blood, not something you pick up like a hobby. His gaze flicks toward the surveillance room before locking back on me. Tell me, has Victor ever once trusted you to go solo? Really think about it. Has he ever sent you out without backup? Even when you think you're alone, his men are always watching. The only time he let you go alone is when he decides you're better off dead. Easier for him that way. The words hit like a slow, jagged cut, carving through any defiance I had left. Humiliation burns in my chest, but worse is the quiet, gnawing truth in what he's saying. I've always known it. You're a real piece of work, Nicholas. Technically, I'm a bastard, he says flatly, flipping a magazine open. My brother made sure of that, but tell me, can you pull the trigger on someone you love? Because Dina Gregory needs to die, and we both know it. Family exes, they're just liabilities in this world. My hands tight. You'd know all about that, wouldn't you? The jab about Claire slips out before I can stop it. His expression darkens just for a second, but he doesn't flinch. Yeah, I would, he admits, leaning in. Claire was my mistake, loved her, would have died for her. But that's the thing, love doesn't survive in what we do. Victor might care about you, but that just makes you his weak spot. And you're not stupid, Isabel, you know he's colder than I am. The magazine snaps shut. Face it, you're living a fantasy. How long are you going to keep dragging him down? His finger jabs in my direction, accusatory. Victor's having his moment of weakness, just like I did with Claire, just like Gustafsson did with Serafina. And you saw what love did to Flynn right in front of you. Now it's my brother's turn, like some twisted initiation. But how long before he snaps out of it? I turn away, focusing on the screen where Nora's face flickers. Right now, I'd rather deal with her than the bastard sitting across from me. Funny how he's somehow worse than she is. But in some messed up way, he says, watching me stare at the glow of the monitor, you're kind of my problem too. My breath catches. I feel responsible for you, he continues, voice rough. Maybe because I tried to kill you once. Call it guilt, call it whatever. I glance at him but stay silent. Nicholas shakes his head, his boot tapping restlessly against his knee. How the hell does that even work? He mutters, more to himself than to me. His jaw tightens, frustration etched in the lines of his face. Aftermath, I guess. Claire left me with a conscience like a scar. You can't get rid of it without making it worse, so you just live with it. He exhales sharply and stands, taking a slow sip of coffee. You don't owe me anything, I snap. And I sure as hell don't want you feeling like you do. So cut the act, Nicholas. We both know the only reason you tolerate me, the only reason you helped Dina by telling Nora about Claire is Victor. He smirks, plucking the cigarette from behind his ear and slipping it between his lips. Yeah, you're probably right, he admits. I turn back to the screen, ready to drop it, until his earlier words replay in my head. You'll never be on my brother's level, no matter how hard you train. You weren't born into this. Nora was, I say, staring at her image. There's no way she's this skilled, this young, unless she's been in it from the start. Nicholas shrugs, the unlit cigarette bobbing as he speaks. Makes sense, but that doesn't give us much. Not much, but something, I counter, pushing to my feet. I'm going back in to talk to her. He shakes his head, pulling the cigarette free. Bad idea is. I ignore him, crossing to the mini fridge and grabbing a water bottle. Too bad, I'm doing it anyway. I pause just before reaching the door, locking eyes with Nicholas. I might never match Victor's skills, your instincts, James Woodard's tech genius, or Frederick's intimidation, I say, my voice steady. But there's one thing I've mastered since childhood, adapting. I learned to read threats, whether from my mother's violent boyfriends or back alley dealers. I survived without becoming her. My finger jabs toward him. In Mexico, I turned enemies against each other. Javier didn't favor me at first. I was just another girl beaten by Isel, another victim of the men. But I adapted. I made Javier trust me. Trust turned to protection, then love, then obsession. Because of me, he turned on his own sister. Stepping closer, I tilt my head up to meet Nikla's gaze. This is what I was born for, I say, pressing a finger to his chest. Adapting to my enemy, that's my weapon. Without another word, I stride downstairs, determined to prove my worth to them and maybe to myself most of all. Isabel, I cross the room to Nora, twisting the cap off a water bottle. Thirsty? I ask flatly. She smirks up at me, bound in ropes and cuffs. Playing good cop now. Trying to soften me up so I'll spill where your friends are. No, I reply without hesitation. I've accepted the truth. Dina, Tessa, Woodard's girls, they're already dead. Frederick won't make it in time, if at all. Begging then, she taunts. I shake my head. This isn't about them. I tilt the bottle slightly. Want it or not? After a wary glance, she relents. Fine. I hold the bottle to her lips, careful not to spill. Once she's done, I sit across from her. Why doubt Frederick? She asks. Because he's changed, I say. No more games. Serafina Bragado was better at them than you. Nora's lips curl. Guess she was. She concedes she was completely out of her mind, literally, which gave her an undeniable edge. Nora lets out a slow, regretful sigh. What happened to her, to Frederick? It's tragic. Even I felt a pang of heartbreak when I heard, and believe me, that doesn't happen often. I frown, puzzled. How did you even know about Serafina and Frederick? Nora's lips curl slightly, her dark eyes gleaming with amusement. Ah, so now you're after information, she teases. I exhale sharply, glancing down at my hands before meeting her gaze again. Victor doesn't even know I'm here. Nicholas does, but he tried to stop me. Didn't work. I came for my own reasons, nothing to do with Dina or any of this mess. Take it or leave it. Her eyes flick over me, studying every twitch, every shift in posture, hunting for lies she won't find, because in a way I'm telling the truth. In a way, after a heavy silence, she finally speaks. How I know things doesn't matter, but since we're chatting, I followed you, just like I did with Dorian Flynn. It's not hard unless it's Victor Faust. Learned that lesson the painful way, but you, easy, especially when you wandered off alone. She tilts her head, thoughtful. Remember Baltimore, the conservatory. The desert house where you sat with Frederick talking about Serafina and Kasia. A jolt of realization hits me. Suddenly I see her, a fleeting memory I'd struggled to recall. You were there, the woman with the man and kid, walking up while we talked outside. Her smile is faint, almost pleased with me, which is unsettling. And when you all went inside to escape the cold, we joined you in the desert house, just another family passing through. Impressive, she says. I was everywhere back then. The coffee shop where you handed Frederick those documents about Kasia Carrington. I read them before he did. My confusion deepens. How? You left them on your car seat, she says, shrugging. Picked the lock the night before while you were cozy in bed with Victor. Didn't even bother with the alarm. The humiliation burns thick in my throat. Nora watches me, an odd flicker of sympathy in her gaze. You should hear what I told Dorian Flynn. Don't be so tough on yourself, but honestly, you should feel ashamed. I wasn't just messing with you earlier, Isabel. You're in way deeper than you realize. One wrong move and it won't just be your life on the line. Someone else could pay the price too. My gaze drifts past her, fixed on the blank wall as I process her words. Out of the 6 of you, you weren't the only one who left a trail. Hand me that water, will you? She eyes the bottle, and without thinking, I grab it, tilting it to her lips before settling back into my chair. My mind races, but I catch every syllable she says. Frederick was a disaster, she continues. Especially after Kasia ended up in his basement. Before that, a ghost. But once she was there, he unraveled, stopped watching his back, stopped thinking like Victor Faust, who never lets his guard down. Love did that to him, first Serafina, then Kasia. It weakens even the strongest. Victor's managed so far, but give it time. Her words hit like a hammer, just like Nicholas's had earlier. James Woodard, she adds, only loves his girls, can't connect with anyone else, but that love still left him exposed. Dorian chasing what he couldn't have, and Nicholas, she smirks or tries to, but the restraints make it more of a grimace. He's Victor's brother after all, cut from the same cloth, but here's the thing, he didn't break. He'd have done anything to shield Dina Gregory, sure, but he didn't crack under pressure. He wanted to talk about Claire. That pain was eating him alive, and finally he let it out. I stay silent, but she reads me easily. How do I know all this? She finishes, her voice dropping. Because people always give themselves away one way or another. My fingers tighten around the armrest. Then what's your weakness? I ask. She just smiles. Wouldn't you like to know? Before you jump to conclusions, yes, I am digging for information, but only because I need to understand this myself. I might not be able to help Dina, but the words catch in my throat and I stop, shifting gears. You're right, Nora, I'm way out of my depth here. Part of me still wants to strangle you, don't get me wrong, that option's still on the table, but another part. I trail off, unable to finish. My gaze drops to the floor. You want guidance, she says, reading me effortlessly. You feel like a kid at the grown-ups table in this order, and you hate me because I'm everything you wish you were. Her eyes lock onto mine unshaken, and now you're starting to feel the pressure. She's not wrong. Before Nora, I was the only woman in Victor's inner circle, not just in the organization but in the trusted core. Her presence unsettles me and I can't even explain why. She's supposed to be the enemy. A sudden wave of frustration hits me. I wish Nicholas wasn't listening in. Maybe I do, I admit, knowing she sees right through me anyway. Or maybe I just want to figure you out, how you became who you are, how you know the things you know. Leaning closer, my voice drops to a whisper. How the hell did you find out about Mexico? I avoid the damning details. Baby birth, knowing Nicholas is eavesdropping. There's no way you were tailing me back then. You didn't even know I existed. Nora smirks just a little. I don't spill all my secrets, she says, leaving it at that. I didn't expect her to, but I had to try. Out of nowhere, she asks, did you love him? Who? She tilts her head, her expression saying you know exactly who. Why does it matter? I deflect. Just curious, she shrugs. It's history, did you? I exhale, nodding slowly. I don't know how it happened, I admit, staring at the table. But yeah, for a while I did. There were days I couldn't stand being apart from him, not because of Isil, but because it hurt. Javier was ruthless, but he loved me. In his own way, he was kind. My eyes flick back to hers. Hard to believe, but he never laid a hand on me, not in anger anyway. He punished me, sure, did things some might call violent, but after a while, I didn't see it that way. You enjoyed it, Nora says, matter of fact. I did. The admission hangs in the air, raw and uncomfortable. I quickly steer the conversation back, not wanting to linger. But yes, I loved him once. Sick, right? Save the judgment. You don't get it unless you've lived it. And honestly, your opinion means nothing to me. You can call it Stockholm Syndrome if you want. I don't care what label you put on it. But yes, I loved him for a while. I catch myself sounding defensive and force my voice to soften. I'd never judge you for that, she says quietly. I understand what it's like to be trapped in a life someone else chose for you. She leaves it at that, but Nora presses on. You keep saying for a while. When did that change? What made you stop? I lean back in my chair, arms crossed, and give her a knowing look. Some things I'd rather keep to myself. She nods, amused. Fair. Shifting in her seat, she finally lets a flicker of discomfort show before smoothing it away. You don't have to see me as a threat, she says, locking eyes with me. That's not why I'm here, and I'm not bragging. This is just who I am. I was made this way, Isabel. From the second I was taken from a mother I never met, this was my life. It's like growing up bilingual. You don't think about it, you just are. No matter how hard someone tries to learn later, they'll always have an accent. I don't know any other way to be. That doesn't mean I don't have worth, I say, half trying to convince myself. I refuse to be just Victor's girl, his arm candy, but I know that's all anyone sees. Some perceptions won't change, she replies. Then her voice shifts, turning almost wistful. The first time I worked with civilians, something unexpected happened. I started to feel things. This man had a wife, kids, a boring desk job, and I wanted it. I'd never known anything like that. My first breath was training, Isabel, literally. I must look horrified because she continues without waiting for a reaction. I was 14 when I babysat for them. The way they loved their baby, the way the mother cradled him, kissed his tiny fingers, it fascinated me. Where I come from, babies get fed and checked by doctors, but no one sings to them. No one picks them up when they cry. They learn early that no one's coming. They were raised to be disciplined, unbreakable soldiers. It's all they've ever known. But the man I was sent to eliminate at 14 changed everything. Just witnessing his life, stepping into his world, it seeped into me like poison, unraveling the soldier I was supposed to be. Nora's gaze drifts to the wall, her eyes simmering with quiet fury. Did you finish the job? She meets my stare again, unflinching. I killed him and his wife, she admits, left their sons with nothing. Mission accomplished. I followed orders. I can't tell if it haunts her or not. But no matter what I do, Nicholas, Dorian, Woodard, they'll always see me as Victor's shadow, she continues. When my emotions got in the way, my own people couldn't look at me the same. I was what I was, and I paid for it. Her fingers twitch, her pinky curling slightly before she catches herself. I see, I murmur. Do you? She challenges. Or are you just seeing what I want you to? She's backtracking now, realizing she's said too much. No, I think you meant every word, like Nicholas, you wanted me to know. A faint smirk tugs at her lips. And what if this was all just another game? Because I know that look, I counter. And because lying is my profession, I recognize the real thing. She gives a slow nod, almost approving. Maybe, Isabel, you should stop fixating on what you lack and use what you do have. Nobody's perfect. I don't answer. Instead, I stand to leave. Dina Gregory's decent, Nora adds abruptly. I hope Frederick shows, though I doubt our little chat will go smoothly. She hesitates, then scoffs. I won't lie, he terrifies me, but he's key to why I'm here. That catches me off guard. How? You'll find out. Her grin is razor thin. I'm halfway out when her voice stops me. But what really interests me, she muses, is why Victor hasn't faced me yet. We've all got our secrets, even I've got blood on my hands, so what's he hiding from? Victor doesn't hide, I snap, turning back, her eyes gleam. Maybe not, but it makes you wonder, doesn't it? The door unlocks with a click. Still planning to kill me when this is over, she calls as I step out. Count on it, I reply, her smirk burning in my mind long after I'm gone. Isabel finds Victor, Woodard, and Nicholas huddled in the surveillance room when she enters. All eyes are on me, Nicholas shaking his head like I just made the worst mistake of my life, Woodard avoiding my gaze like he's embarrassed for me, and Victor stone-faced as always, but I can see something flickering beneath the surface. You handled it well, Victor says. We got more intel than we expected. I turn away, heading straight for the coffee machine just to give my hands something to do. Yeah, great, but spare me the pity party, I mutter, pouring myself a cup. The bitter smell hits me, though I've never been a fan. The silence stretches until Victor finally speaks. I need to talk to Isabel alone. Nicholas and Woodard don't argue, grabbing their gear and slipping out. The second the door clicks shut, Victor's posture shifts. No more commander, just the man I know. His hands settle on my waist from behind. Is that really what you think? He asks, voice low. That you're just here because of me? I dump sugar into my cup, stirring hard. None of that matters right now. Dina's the only thing on my mind. If Frederick doesn't show, I swear. The spoon clinks against the cup until Victor stops me, pushing it aside. He turns me to face him, his grip firm. You're valuable to this team, he says, eyes locked on mine. I told you before, some things take a lifetime to learn, but that doesn't mean you don't belong here. I pull away, moving toward the monitors. Maybe, I admit, glancing back at him, but let's be honest, you don't need me. I'm not asking for reassurance. Nora was right, I'm in over my head, but I don't want to stay there. I want to earn my place, not just coast by because of you. Victor exhales, running a hand through his hair. What are you asking for, Isabel? Arms crossed, I meet his gaze. Send me on a real mission. No training wheels, no backup. The kind of job you'd give Nicholas. If I can't handle it, then fine, I don't belong here, but I won't be treated like some fragile liability. My voice sharpens. I didn't join this order to be babysat. Victor's throat tightens as he swallows hard, his stubbled jawline tensing. I'll consider it, he mutters. Not good enough, I snap. Do this for me or we're done playing nice. His sea-green eyes darken with frustration, but he keeps it in check. You realize Nora's playing you right. Obviously, I fire back, my voice sharp. She's playing all of us, you think I don't see that? He exhales sharply. So you walked in there just to prove something and now you're surprised it blew up in your face. My hands clench as heat rises in my chest. I knew exactly what I was doing, Victor. She had to believe me, and she did because I wasn't faking. Every word I said was real. You're selling yourself short, he says, shaking his head. Classic. What's that supposed to mean? Just because you meant what you told her doesn't make you any less skilled at getting what you want. I scoff. And what exactly is it you think I do? For one, you refuse to accept your own strengths, he shoots back, bitterness edging his tone. You're always trying to prove something to me, to everyone. Now you want me to send you out alone. You're not ready. Silence stretches between us, thick and heavy. We don't have time for this. 6 hours left and counting, but this isn't over. He knows I won't let it go. Then his fingers brush my neck, tucking my hair behind my shoulder. My pulse jumps as I meet his gaze. You're stunning, Isabel, he murmurs. Your stubbornness drives me insane. That mouth of yours could start wars, and your need to do everything alone. It makes me question every move you make. His voice drops lower. But I love all of it, every damn part of you. He tilts his head, studying me, and my stomach twists. I know I wasn't your first, but I want to be your last. And just like that, my heart shatters. I can't hold his stare. Did he hear me tell Nora about Javier? He must have, or Nicholas made sure he knew. I lied to you, I admit, staring at the floor. When I said I never loved him, I was too ashamed to say it then. My throat tightens. I still am. Victor's voice is quiet. You don't get to choose who you love. That was years ago, under circumstances most people couldn't even imagine. I'd never hold that against you or say you made the wrong choice. Our eyes lock again, and I can't help but ask, but doesn't it still eat at you? There's a pause before he responds. No, like I said, ancient history. The silence stretches between us until I finally close the distance, rising on my toes to brush my lips against his. You're my final chapter, I whisper, studying his face. His soft smile mirrors my own as we both turn back to the monitor. Switching gears, he says after a moment. Combining my intel on Nora with what you've uncovered, I'm almost certain she's connected to the Shadow Sect, even if her exact motives here are still unclear. The Shadow Sect, we watch the screen together where Nora sits motionless. Officially designated SC4, Source Contractors Division 4, he explains. They operate deeper underground than the Order or any black market. Their goal isn't to execute contracts but to manufacture operatives from scratch. Manufacture. Exactly. Like Nora hinted, Shadow Sect recruits are bred and molded within the organization. No parents, no childhood, just training from birth. They're blank slates until the sect assigns them identities. Nora Kessler, she's probably more seasoned than I am, stripped of vulnerabilities like empathy or attachment. My parents were agents, sure, but my mom was warm, and my dad, when he was around, treated me like his kid. Nicholas and I had normal lives before the Order took us. But Nora, he gestures at the screen. Killing is as natural to her as family dinners were to me. If she's SC4, and I'd bet my life she is, this goes way deeper than whatever brought her here. I watch Victor studying Nora, and there's an intensity in his stare that unsettles me. Not jealousy, but something colder, the fascination of a scientist examining a rare discovery. When I glance back at Nora, a storm of unease twists in my chest. You said you had more on her, I prompt, forcing my voice steady. Something beyond my findings. Yeah, he turns his back to the screen abruptly. I had Woodard cross-reference her DNA with the files I salvaged from the Order. Victor rested against the table's edge, his expression thoughtful. I checked if she matched any operatives from my time under Vonnegut, he said. No hits there, but there was a match with one of our targets. Solis, he continued. 6 years back, when we first started hunting him, just like Nicholas admitted to Nora, we had nothing on him except his connection to Claire. Later, we almost had him, but he took a bullet and vanished. Still, we got his blood from the scene. He's presumed alive, but now we know the truth. My pulse quickened. Nora's tied to Solis, isn't she? Victor nodded. His daughter, the DNA confirms it, and her story lines up. Who is Solis? One of the shadow sex leaders, the kind who breeds people like her. I glanced past Victor at Nora, then back. This circles back to Claire, I said, and his slight smirk told me I was right. Other than Solis, she's the only link. The words spilled out before I could second-guess them, but the certainty in my gut held firm. You're catching on, Victor said, amused. I had a feeling he'd already pieced it together, but was letting me have the win. So do you have Claire's DNA? No, he admitted. She wasn't my assignment, no reason to keep records. But Nicholas did. He collected samples for the Order, but he didn't keep copies. When he left, everything stayed behind. I exhaled. Dead end. Victor shook his head. There's always a trail, some are just buried deeper. My thoughts tangled with Nicholas's confessions, Claire's shadow, Nora's revelations. Then before I could stop myself, Victor, does loving me make you weak? Could it mess with your judgment? His hand slid to my elbows, thumbs tracing slow circles. He studied me, quiet for a beat. If it ever did, I'd handle it. For a second, relief flickered until doubt clawed back. How would you handle it? My voice wavered. He sighed, pressing a kiss to my forehead. Isabel, he murmured, yesterday I already knew what you'd say before you said it. As I listened to him speak about how my feelings for him can't change who I truly am, I can't bring myself to meet his gaze. But Victor cups my face in his hands, forcing me to look at him. I would never take your life, he says firmly, his voice unwavering. I know Nicholas has been feeding you lies. He always goes for the throat, and I understand why you'd still have doubts. But hurting you is the last thing I'd ever do. His grip tightens slightly as he continues. I don't expect blind faith from you. You're too smart for that, Isabel. After everything you've endured, trust doesn't come easy, not even with me. But look at me. His thumbs brush my cheeks. Tell me you don't see a man who'd move mountains for you. Tell me you don't see love in my eyes, the kind that would destroy anyone who tried to harm you, the kind that would give everything to keep you safe. A lump forms in my throat, my vision blurring. When Victor kisses me, it's soft yet possessive. As we pull apart, his fingers tangle in my hair and I answer him with a smile. Then Nora's voice cuts through the moment like a blade. Tick-tock, Victor, you can't stall forever. We turn toward the screen where her smug face grins back at us. I glance at Victor, but his expression is unreadable, his focus locked on her. She's not wrong, I murmur. Time's running out. 4 hours is plenty, he replies coolly. Are you going in? For the first time, doubt creeps in. What is he hiding? Why the delay? The worst thought claws at me. Is he really doing this for Dina? Yes, he says. I have what I need now. Before I can ask what he means, the door slams open. Woodard stumbles in, gasping, his face flushed. My girls, Sarah and Anne-Marie, they got out. He clutches his phone, nearly tripping in his haste. Nicholas follows, arms crossed. They just called me. My pulse spikes. What about Dina, Tessa? Woodard shakes his head and the flicker of hope dies instantly. They didn't mention anyone else. I tried to ask carefully, but Sarah said it was just the two of them. They're at the police station. Victor curses under his breath. Dealing with law enforcement is one of his least favorite things, not because he's afraid of them, but because covering tracks takes effort. Fabricating airtight alibis, scrubbing digital records, keeping witnesses quiet, it's tedious work. And if the press gets wind of it, forget about it. Once I joked that he should get one of those neuralizers from Men in Black to wipe memories clean. He didn't laugh. Naturally, Nicholas chimes in with his usual dry wit. Oh, and reporters are already swarming outside the station. Shocking, right? He grins, and I know he would have appreciated my joke. Fantastic, I mutter, rubbing my temples. Just what we don't need right now. Victor's eyes flick to the phone in Woodard's hand, his expression darkening. Are they on the line? That would be beyond stupid, letting the cops listen in while we strategize, but Woodard isn't exactly known for his brilliance. His jowls tremble as he shakes his head and shoves the phone into his pocket. No, Sarah called me from the station. I had to play dumb, act like I didn't even know my girls were gone. At least their mother's been in London, or this mess would have blown up sooner. They want me down there, Woodard says, practically begging for permission to leave. I cut in before Victor can answer. No, there's no time. It'll take hours just for them to file reports, get statements. He has to go, Isabel, Victor snaps, and my stomach drops. If he doesn't show up and sell this, they'll start digging into him next. Nicholas leans against the wall, arms crossed. Plus, we need to know what those girls told the cops, who took them, how many descriptions, all of it. I shoot him a glare, but he just shrugs. He's not wrong, but Nora was clear. We all have to be there when the truth comes out. And right now, sending Woodard to the cops feels like playing with fire. First, Frederick still hasn't shown up, then Dorian gets locked up, and now Woodard is walking out. My stomach twists. Victor steps closer, his voice steady. I'll talk to Nora next, he says, locking eyes with me. I won't wait for Woodard, but I'll stretch the conversation as long as possible, buy time for him to send whatever intel he digs up, might even use it against her. I rake my hands through my hair, glaring at Nora's face on the screen. Fine, I mutter, dropping my arms and striding toward Woodard. Listen up, James, I snap, jabbing a finger at his chest. When you walk into that station, you sell it. You're a wreck, no clue they were taken, just desperate to see your girls. You don't hear a damn thing anyone says because you're too busy holding them, checking for bruises, asking if they're okay. You're shattered, got it. He nods fast like a bobblehead. 1 hour, I say, raising a finger. Not a minute more. Tell them the girls need rest, no more questions. Get them out, take them to a hotel under one of your aliases, then come straight back. Understood? Yes, I got it. And don't ever call me ma'am again. My glare could melt steel. Nicholas snorts. Sorry, Woodard stammers. I snatch my phone off the table, dialing one of our guys downstairs. Take 2 cars and tail Woodard to the station, I bark. Stay hidden but cover his exit, then follow him to the hotel and keep watch on the room. When I hang up, all 3 of them are staring. What? I demand, scanning their faces. Nicholas just shakes his head, grinning. Victor smirks barely. Woodard's already halfway out the door, clearly itching to leave. Why are you still here? I snap, throwing my hands up. He bolts without another word. Victor, Isabel blocks my path at the door. I'm calling Frederick one last time, she growls. If Dina dies because of him, I brush my fingers against her cheek. She won't, I promise, kissing the corner of her mouth before walking out. I never rush into things. Not first, not second, definitely not third. Until now, I plan to go last. But when the moment comes, I make sure I know my enemy inside and out before I make a move. Woodard never stood a chance against someone like Nora. Isabel's too consumed by rage to think clearly, while Dorian and my brother act first and regret later. That's just how they're wired. As for Gustafsson, if Nora lives long enough to meet him, she won't get a word out of him. If anything, he'll be the one extracting answers. Isabel might soon lose the woman she sees as a mother, and that thought lingers as I punch in the door code, sealing myself inside with a true anomaly. People like Kessler aren't exactly uncommon, just rarely caught. But having one restrained, let alone hinting at her true nature, that's unprecedented. If her confession to Isabel holds weight, I suspect she'll spill even more to me. The real mystery is why she'd bother. Well, look who finally decided to show up, Kessler says, flashing a grin that might unnerve someone else. Wasn't sure you'd bother. Why wouldn't I? I drag the empty chair out and sit, crossing one leg over the other, adjusting my cuffs before resting my hands in my lap. She rolls her eyes. Because you're smarter than the others, I guess, just more patient. Her smirk doesn't reach her lips, but her eyes glint. No, I'm right. You and I aren't so different, Faust. You scouted the place before walking in, exactly what I would have done. I stay silent. So here to confess. She flexes her fingers against the armrests, shifting in discomfort. Eventually, I say, first we talk about you. Oh, is that so? Her grin widens, the overhead light catching in her dark eyes. Seems you've forgotten whose game this is. You follow my rules. I'll follow them, I say, leaning forward, hands clasped between my knees until they stop making sense. Then I'll break every single one. I tilt my head. Maybe you've forgotten who's in control here. Her bravado flickers. I told you I'm not scared of dying. I lean back, smoothing my slacks. Then tell me, Nora, why a shadow sect operative is wasting time on a personal grudge. SC4 agents don't have personal stakes unless, of course, they've gone rogue. My gaze flicks to her damaged pinky. Interesting flaw for someone who's supposed to be untouchable. Care to share what else your so-called father Solis decided to carve up when he discovered you'd been exposed? A flicker of rage darkens her gaze, but she swallows it down, smooth as whiskey. Her lips curve into a lazy smile as she studies her missing finger like it's nothing more than a chipped nail. Oh, I'd love to give you the full tour, she purrs, if you're curious about the rest of the artwork. I let one corner of my mouth tilt up. I don't doubt that. Isabel's probably seething right now. Another lesson in restraint she'll ignore. Some flaws you can't train out, and jealousy's a grenade with the pin already pulled in our line of work. So you've pieced together where I came from, she says, dropping the act. Her voice goes flat. Figured you'd at least manage that much before your little interrogation. Solis was she pauses, tapping a finger to her lips. Let's call him a genetic contributor. Father implies he gave a damn. How'd they catch you? That staying buried Faust, ancient history. Wrong, I counter. It's the whole reason you're breathing, personal grudge, but here's the real puzzle. If you were compromised, why are you still walking around? She barks a laugh. Unlike your precious Vonnegut, the sect doesn't waste assets over one slip-up. We're rare, expensive. When we screw up, they don't just put a bullet in us, they get creative. One chance to redeem ourselves, fail that. She mimics a gun to her temple. But you already guessed I didn't play by their rules, didn't you? Had a hunch, I admit. You twitched when I mentioned the finger, went for Isabel's throat when she needled you. SC4 operatives don't react, they're machines. Kessler's shoulders tense against the ropes. Yeah, they broke me, she spits. Just not the way they wanted. The torture, the reconditioning, it didn't put me back in my cage. Her grin is all teeth. Turns out, pissing me off was their fatal mistake. For the first time, I actually thought for myself, and Faust. She tilts her head back, eyes half-lidded like she's savoring the memory. Nothing's more addictive than that first hit of freedom. Once I had it, I'd burn the world down to keep it. Kill anyone to protect it, that much was clear, but her last words carried weight beyond the obvious. Who did you take out? I asked. Anyone standing between me and what I wanted, she replied, her smile deliberate. She wasn't about to give me the full story, but the gaps in her answers told me more than she realized. Every topic she dodged, how she'd been compromised, who she'd eliminated for her freedom, was a clue to why she was really here. Like I said before, she continued, you and I aren't so different, probably more alike than anyone else in your whole operation, even that striking redhead you're involved with. How long do you think that'll last? Her tone wasn't mocking, just matter of fact. Still, it hit a nerve. Isabel is off limits, I said flatly. We're not discussing her. You love her, Kessler observed, and for once it didn't feel like a tactic, just a statement. I wouldn't know much about love, not that kind anyway. But if my instincts are as human as the part of me that broke away from the sect, then yeah, you do. It's written all over you, even behind that stone-faced act. She studied me, then added, want to know what else I see? No, I said, though my open palm said otherwise. You're torn, she went on. You love her, but there's still the man you were before her, the one who spent most of his life being a calculated, ruthless professional. A man whose only real passion was playing judge, jury, and executioner. She tilted her head, blonde hair shifting as she considered me. And that part of you, it's already decided. Dina Gregory dies because you won't risk your operation, not even for the woman you love. I forced my expression to stay neutral. Believe whatever you want, you won't play me like the others. I know, she admitted. You and Frederick Gustafsson, I never expected either of you to fold, no matter who was at stake. Then why bother, I countered. If you knew you wouldn't get what you wanted, why waste your time? A faint, knowing smile touched her lips. Because confession or not, she said, I'm walking out of here with exactly what I came for. And what's that? I asked, though I already knew she wouldn't tell me. You'll find out, she said, checking an invisible watch. In about 3.5 hours. I study her, torn between fascination and the urge to end her. Isabel's the only reason she's still breathing, but I won't lie, the longer she sits there, the more I see myself reflected in her. A woman with my own ruthlessness, my own cunning, it's unsettling. About that confession, she says, flashing me a smirk. I push up from the chair, smoothing my shirt. You've got 3.5 hours left in that seat, I remind her. And trust me, we're using every second, hope you can hold it. She leans back unfazed. I can hold anything, my willpower alone would surprise you. That's Gustafsson's problem, I counter. If he bothers to show, she mutters, echoing the doubt everyone else seems to share. Then her tone shifts sly. Victor, there's something you should know. I stay silent, waiting. Something about the way she says it sets off alarms. I've tracked you for years, she continues. You're a ghost, hard to find, harder to pin down, but out of everyone I've ever watched, you're the most compelling. Should I be flattered? No, she says, amused. You don't do flattery. Isabel might crack you, but let's be honest, how long before that wears off? My jaw tightens. Get to the point. She drops her voice, not for secrecy, but for effect. I've never cared about a man before, but you, it's like looking in a mirror. We could give each other something. Interesting. I stare down at her, unimpressed. Her grin turns predatory. No strings, no love, just pure reckless fun. You could go back to the old days, no worrying about my safety, no feelings to tiptoe around. Remember those deep cover missions, the ones where you got close, made them scream your name. With me there'd be no fallout. I don't do jealousy. A dry laugh escapes me. You're insane. Am I? She tilts her head. Or am I the only one who gets it? Not happening, I snap. And you're underestimating Isabel. She might be inexperienced, but her self-control is stronger than the door bursts open with a thunderous crash, and a blur of dark auburn hair flies past me. Isabel vaults over the table, slamming into Nora with the force of a bullet. The table screeches violently across the floor as they crash down, Isabel pinning Nora beneath her. Isabel, I yell. Nicholas rushes in behind me. Fists fly as Isabel strikes again and again, the chair legs and Nora's bound limbs obscuring the worst of it. By the time I wrench Isabel away, her knuckles are smeared with blood. Nora's laughter bounces off the bare walls, harsh and unhinged. She coughs, spits a mouthful of blood to the side, then keeps laughing like it's the funniest thing in the world. I'm done with this insane witch, Isabel snarls, her voice dripping with venom. Even with her back turned, I can feel the murderous rage in her glare. I grip her elbows, holding her back. Get her out of here, I order Nicholas, spinning Isabel toward me. She thrashes, screaming obscenities. I knew she'd break eventually. Enough, I roar, shaking her hard. Her hair tumbles wildly over her face. I said stop. Finally she stills, though her chest heaves with ragged breaths. Her expression is pure fury, pain and vengeance. Take her, I repeat to Nicholas before letting go. Isabel stares at me silent, but her eyes say everything. Nicholas guides her out, gripping her arm. Once the door shuts, I turn back to Nora. Maybe I should just leave you like that. She grins, blood trickling from her nose. Honestly, I couldn't care less, she says, still chuckling. I right the chair, setting it back on its legs. Blood pools in her mouth and she licks it before spitting again. Got a tissue or something in those fancy pockets? She asks, flashing crimson-stained teeth. I shove the table against the wall, leaving Nora alone under the harsh fluorescent light. Just her, the chair, the restraints, and that unsettling smirk. Leather pants, wild blonde hair, and a grin that never falters. Your girl needs serious discipline, Faust. You can't babysit her forever. You'd love to, but deep down you know it's impossible. She's made her point, but I keep my voice steady. Even if you get what you want, Isabel won't let you walk out of here alive. Nora tilts her head, unfazed. She might if you tell her to. I shake my head. She doesn't always listen to me, and right now I don't see a reason to ask. A slow, knowing smile spreads across her lips and the air in the room shifts, charged with something unspoken. That look in her eyes, pure strategy. She's not showing all her cards, just one at a time, and I can tell she's about to lay down another. Victor, she says, drawing out my name, 6 years of watching you taught me little about you, but I did pick up something else. Something you might find fascinating. Now she has me, I don't react, just wait. Clean the blood off my face, she offers, and I'll tell you, no strings, no tricks. I take a slow step forward, my polished shoes clicking against the tile. Why should I believe you? Why hand over information for free? Her smile is light, almost amused. Call it a deposit. For what? That comes later. I don't trust her, not even a little, but hearing her out won't hurt. Fine, I say, slipping my hands into my pockets. What is it? Her grin widens. It's about Vonnegut and Isabel. My expression hardens. That got my attention. Pulling out a handkerchief, one I usually use to avoid leaving prints, I step closer, tilting her head back with one hand while wiping the blood away with the other. Talk, and she does. Isabel, I want to slam my fist into the wall, but I'm not the type to self-destruct. The anger burns through me, hot and suffocating. Nora Kessler has officially topped my kill list, higher than Isabel, higher than anyone, because this isn't just about me. She took Dina and now she's playing games with Victor. Pacing the hallway outside that room, I grip my hair hard enough to pull my breath ragged. My face must be flushed crimson, my whole body locked tight with tension. Nicholas watches me unfazed. Izzy, he says, you walked right into her trap. I ignore him, too wired to care about his stupid nicknames. My jaw aches from clenching, my lungs burn, and every muscle is coiled like a spring. I've never felt so furious in my life. I can't keep doing this, I mutter, my gaze fixed on the scuffed floor as I pace in tight circles, my boots scuffing against the concrete. You don't have a choice, Nicholas replies. I flick my eyes up just long enough to see him slouched against the wall, arms folded. I go back to pacing, my jaw clenched. Victor always said I was the reckless one, he adds with a dry laugh. But you're in a league of your own. I spin on my heel to face him, my hands balled into fists. Save the lecture, Nicholas, I snap. I'm getting enough of that from Nora, I don't need it from you too. My voice cracks and I realize too late that my eyes are burning. I swallow hard, forcing the emotion down. Nicholas exhales, his tone shifting from mocking to something softer. Victor's loyal to you, Isabel. I never thought I'd see the day he'd care about anyone like this. Nora tried to mess with my head in there, said I was afraid of love, that I ran from it. And yeah, maybe she was right, but the difference between me and Victor, I was always the one who could fall. He never did until you. I stop pacing but keep my back to him, my shoulders tense. He knows I'm listening. Victor was always warning me, he continues. Every time I got too close to a target, too wrapped up in a mission, he'd tell me to pull back, but it never happened to him, not until now. She didn't die because of you, I say quietly. Other people were after Claire, she would have been killed either way. Maybe, he admits, but that's not the point. Victor loves you, he was ready to kill me over you. Jealousy doesn't suit you. I shake my head, his words like a slap. This isn't just about jealousy, Nicholas. Yeah, it played a part, but Nora has my mother. She's tearing our lives apart and I can't just stand here and take it. A sharp knock echoes from the interrogation room door. I freeze, struggling to steady my breathing. Nicholas punches in the code, then shoves his hands into his pockets. I need food and a bathroom, he mutters, his way of giving us space. He strides off, his shoulders rigid. I still can't bring myself to look at Victor. My eyes stay locked on the floor. She was just trying to provoke you, he says. I finally meet his gaze, my voice dripping with bitterness. Oh, she succeeded, bravo. I start pacing again, my fingers digging into my arms. Are you afraid of her? He asks, studying me. No, I lie, the word tastes sour in my mouth. Victor, I know how this must look, like I'm some unhinged, possessive girlfriend losing it over nothing. And yeah, what she said to you set me off, but that wasn't the whole reason I confronted her. I do trust you, that's not the issue. This has been dragging on too long, the way she's playing games with all of us. My jaw tightens, fingers curling into fists as my breath comes faster. But you want to know what really pushed me over the edge, the part that made me snap? I close the distance between us. He stays silent, but I don't need him to answer. I've been searching for reasons why we'd even tolerate this, I say, my voice hardening. In any other scenario, none of us, especially not you, would waste a second on her. She'd already be gone, wiped clean off the map. I stop, forcing air into my lungs, bracing for the words I don't want to admit. The only reason we're stuck in this mess, the people we can't walk away from, the ones who tie us to a world we can't just sever. My hand cuts through the air, frustration boiling over. For a heartbeat, we just stare, tension thick between us. There's more something about Dina, but fear coils in my chest, because deep down I already know. My gaze drops, then snaps back up, no more hiding. You're not planning to tell Nora, are you? Silence, my pulse hammers. It's true, isn't it? Your organization means more than I do. Victor's expression flickers, something unreadable in those sea-green eyes. I search for denial, for hurt, anything to prove me wrong, but there's nothing, just silence, louder than any confession. I turn and stride away, not caring where I'm going. The rooftop greets me, 5 stories above the quiet city. A lone car idles at a stubborn red light, driver obedient where I'd have burned rubber and cursed the whole way. The irony almost makes me laugh. The breeze is soft, the night calm, small mercies in a world that feels anything but. I can't believe I never came up here before. God knows I could use the escape. The minutes are slipping away, and even though I ditched my phone back in the surveillance room, I can feel the dark hour creeping closer, its weight like a shadow pressing down on me. Saving Dina, that ship sailed the second I chose this life. I could have walked away, lived some boring, normal existence with her, but no, I had to drag her into this mess. Now, even if she somehow survives, she'll never be safe, and it's all on me. The light shifts to green and a car glides through the intersection, taillights vanishing behind a brick building. Nice night, huh? James Woodard's voice cuts through the quiet from behind me. I don't turn, just keep staring at the city below, knees pulled to my chest. He plops down beside me, the scent of his overpowering cologne hitting me before he even settles. Was starting to think you'd vanished, he says, adjusting his weight. Nobody had a clue where you went. I don't look at him. What did they say? Your girls, he exhales. Only saw Nora. She was waiting inside when they got home, told them she was there to keep Em safe. Anne-Marie didn't buy it, started screaming. Nora pistol-whipped her, knocked her out cold. Sarah froze, poor kid. Next thing they knew, they were stuffed in a trunk for who knows how long. Nora stashed Em in some shack in the middle of nowhere, tied up like prisoners. But they got loose, made a run for it. Hitchhiked on the damn highway, can you imagine? His voice tightens. Makes me want to put a bullet in that woman myself. I keep my gaze fixed ahead. They all right? Yeah, he mutters, just shaken up, but if they hadn't gotten free. He trails off, catching himself. Sorry man, didn't mean to. It's fine, I say flatly, glad they're safe. He nods, barely visible in my periphery. Boss thinks Nora's flying solo, otherwise she wouldn't have left them unguarded. The wind picks up, carrying the distant hum of traffic. For a second the tension eases, just 2 guys on a rooftop pretending the world isn't falling apart. Then reality snaps back, they never stood a chance of escaping. I nod in silent agreement but keep my thoughts to myself. This was supposed to be my time alone, just me and the quiet, but I don't have the energy to tell James to go. He's not a bad guy, just lost. Always chasing Victor's approval, trying to wedge himself into Nicola's and Dorian's effortless banter, never quite landing. And then there's Frederick, who James idolizes for reasons I'll never understand. It's almost sad watching him try so hard when Frederick barely acknowledges his existence. Some people just don't mix like oil and water. If she's acting alone, James says, then Dorian's ex and your mom are safe. If Nora dies here, there's no one left to hurt them. Or, I counter, still staring at the empty street, it means they're trapped somewhere, and if Nora dies, we'll never find them in time. James shifts beside me, his discomfort obvious. Or, I add, voice flat, she's not working alone, and your daughter's slipping away was exactly what she wanted. I glance over, his round face falls, that familiar look of regret creeping in. Sorry, I mutter, I know you're trying to help, I exhale sharply. God, I hate her. I've said it 1,000,000 times, but it never feels like enough. The worst part, I wish I were more like her. His eyebrows shoot up. Seriously, she's a conniving parasite who gets off on screwing with people. You're 10 times the person she is and way hotter. I give him a half smile just to acknowledge the effort, but it doesn't last. She's everything I'm not, I admit, turning back to the city. Confident, skilled. Victor barely had time to train me, and now Nora's here pointing out every damn flaw I didn't even know I had. I feel like I've regressed. Then fix it, he says bluntly. At least you can, you're young, smart, capable. Me, he gestures at himself. I'm a middle-aged mess, out of breath, climbing stairs, balding, stuck in bad habits. My wife deserves better, but here we are. You think a treadmill and some hair plugs are gonna fix me? James muttered, rubbing his bald spot self-consciously. I jabbed a finger at him. First off, stop calling yourself names. Yeah, you're not my usual type, kinda clingy, borderline stalker vibes, and for God's sake, ditch the cologne that smells like a chemical spill, but you're not a bad guy. Hell, you've got a whole soccer team of kids, so you're clearly doing something right. A smirk tugged at my lips as his ears turned pink. You're a decent dad, which is more than I ever had, and Victor, he doesn't keep dead weight around. If you weren't useful, you wouldn't be knee-deep in his business. James exhaled sharply. Funny, sounds like you should listen to your own pep talk. I held his gaze unflinching. You really think Victor Faust keeps people close just because he likes them? I countered. He doesn't make sentimental mistakes. If you weren't an asset, you'd be on the sidelines, not in the game. A sleek black sedan rolled up below, cutting its lights. My pulse spiked as a familiar figure stepped out, tall, dark, unmistakable. No way, Frederick's here. My grip tightened on the rooftop ledge. James wheezed as he hauled himself up beside me. You sure? He panted. 5 stories down in the dim glow of streetlights, there was no mistaking that walk. Positive, move. I bolted for the stairwell, James' dress shoes scraping behind me. The metal door groaned under my shove, slamming into the brick with a crack that ricocheted down the empty stairs. Holy hell, James gasped. I didn't actually think he'd come. The elevator shuddered as it descended, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. James grinned, adrenaline sharp in his voice. Nora wasn't wrong, Frederick doesn't fold. I watched my distorted reflection warp in the steel doors. Exactly, I said quietly, that's the problem. If he can't get her to talk, we'll never find out where Dina is hidden, and there's a chance he might end her life right there. Oh, trust me, Mr. Gustafsson will crack her, he replies, his voice laced with amusement. I'm not so sure about that, I mutter, my stomach twisting with unease. James shrugs. Either way, this just got a whole lot more intense. Yeah, it really did. I slammed through the door at the hallway's end, blinded by sterile white walls and harsh fluorescent lights. James is right behind me as we rush forward, but then 3 figures emerge at the far end, Frederick leading, briefcase in hand, with Victor and Nicholas trailing. Frederick looks every bit the polished predator, sharp black suit, gleaming shoes, a man who once felt like family but now moves like a stranger. His gaze flickers over me so fast I almost wonder if I imagined it. My feet slow as we near them. It's like I'm seeing him for the first time, as if every shared laugh, every moment I stood by him when he was vulnerable never happened. The realization hits hard, I don't know him at all, and that terrifies me. Yet despite everything, part of me still cares. Victor and Nicholas watch me approach, Nicholas with grim expectation, Victor with his usual blank stare which somehow irritates me more than ever. Frederick punches in the door code without a word, vanishing inside with Nora. The soft click of the latch echoes in the silence as the rest of us stand frozen, all thinking the same thing. Will he break her, or will he just kill her? The answer is coming, one way or another. Without warning, I bolt past them, sprinting full speed toward the elevator, then swerving at the last second for the stairs. The elevator's too slow, I can beat it to the 5th floor. Less than a minute later, I burst into the surveillance room, shoving past a rolling chair to reach the monitors. Victor, Nicholas, and James follow moments after. Where's the damn volume? I fumble over buttons, my hands shaking. I know how to work this, but my brain's short-circuiting. Get it together, Isabel. Now's not the time to fall apart. Victor steps in, clicking the mouse until Nora's voice crackles through the speakers. Frederick remains silent, unhurried as he sets his briefcase on the table and flips it open. A cold wave creeps up my back as I stare at the neatly arranged instruments in the case. Syringes, blades, and other horrors laid out with surgical precision. Victor's voice cuts through the tension. Isabel, he says quietly, don't expect much from this. I turn my head just enough to meet his gaze. Why? Because even if Frederick breaks her or forces a confession, you're the one who'll sign Dina's death warrant. My words hang in the air, sharp and accusing. I love Victor more than I can put into words, but right now the sight of him twists something inside me. My focus locks onto the screens where Nora and Frederick dominate the scene. Gripping the edge of the table, I force myself to watch, even though every instinct screams to look away. It's like being trapped in a nightmare, knowing something terrible is coming but unable to stop it. I've witnessed brutality before, but Frederick's methods, they're in a league of their own. Nora's voice cuts through the silence, smooth and mocking. What should I call you? She muses, tilting her head. The specialist, the interrogator, or maybe her lips curl as she studies him. The jackal. Frederick doesn't react, not a twitch, not a flicker of hesitation. He moves his tools with the same detached efficiency as someone setting a dinner table. Nora, undeterred, leans back in her chair. First names then, seems fair considering how intimate we're about to become. Still nothing. Frederick shrugs off his jacket, draping it carefully over the table before rolling up his sleeves. No glance, no acknowledgement, just methodical preparation. Nora's grin only widens, her eyes gleaming with challenge. If I were in that chair, my nerves would have shattered by now. What, no small talk? She teases. No wine and roses before the main event. I'm a fan of build-up, Frederick, humor me. He snaps on a pair of gloves, then picks up a pair of pliers. My stomach lurches. Teeth, it's always the teeth. Whatever darkness shaped him, it left a hunger for this, slow, deliberate cruelty, and the worst part, he doesn't even blink. Nora's gaze flickers toward the pliers as Frederick approaches, but her expression remains unreadable. A faint smirk plays at the corner of her lips. Without warning, Frederick grips her chin, his fingers digging into her jaw as he forces her head back. Her mouth falls open under the pressure, yet she doesn't make a sound, no scream, no plea, nothing. Only when the pliers clamp around her back tooth does her composure crack. She gags as the metal scrapes her tongue, then lets out a sharp cry as he twists the tool violently, wrenching the tooth free. Damn it. Nora barks, her voice a mix of pain and defiance. Blood trickles down her chin. Still not talking. Guess you're tougher than you look. Frederick tosses the tooth onto the table with a casual flick of his wrist. 31 left, he remarks, his tone flat. Now tell me, where are the people you took? Nora just grins, silent. He gags her again and another tooth follows, then another. When she still refuses to answer, he shifts tactics. Who gave you intel on Dorian Flynn? Silence. Victor Faust. Nothing. Nicholas Flesher. Still nothing. He yanks out another tooth. Go to hell, she snarls, breath ragged, blood staining her lips. Finally, he asks the question that matters. Where did you get your information on James Woodard? Her response is to spit blood at him, splattering his crisp white shirt. Realizing teeth alone won't break her, Frederick reaches for his briefcase. I turn away before I see the needles. Just the thought of them sliding under fingernails makes my stomach twist. Moments later, Nora's screams pierce the air, so raw I clamp my hands over my ears. The surveillance room door bursts open and I stumble into the hallway. James is already there, his plaid shirt damp with sweat. Jesus Christ, he mutters, shaking. I can't take this. I thought you respected him, I say, my voice unsteady. I do, James admits, tugging at his collar. But that doesn't mean I can watch. He's fearless, that's why people are terrified of him. Nora's shrieks echo down the hall. I press my palms to my temples, gritting my teeth. Nicholas moves to shut the door, but I stop him. Leave it open, I say. I need to hear. Are you positive about this? Yeah, I reply with a quick, restless nod. I'll be okay. He exhales, shaking his head like he doesn't buy it, then heads back inside to join Victor. Half an hour later, I'm slumped against the hallway wall, knees pulled tight to my chest. Still, Nora hasn't uttered a word. A knot of dread twists in my gut. I might want her gone, but not like this, not in silence. I just need her to speak, to say anything that might dull the ache for both of us. What's he doing now? Nicholas murmurs, curiosity lacing his voice. Reluctantly, I push myself up and force my legs to move toward the room. On the screen, Frederick has freed Nora from her restraints, unlocking the cuffs at her wrists and ankles. I won't tell you a damn thing, she rasps, voice raw with pain as he forces her to stand. She doesn't fight, doesn't even try to pull away, just sways slightly like the agony is the only thing holding her upright. Frederick's tone stays eerily calm. Faust mentioned your SC4 blood. He peels off her black silk shirt, guiding her toward the wall. She doesn't resist as he presses her against it. Arms up, he orders, and she obeys. Her fingers are swollen, streaked with blood, her body trembling, but she doesn't break. Then I see her back, my breath catches. Crisscross scars, deep and jagged, map her skin from shoulders to hips. Old wounds, brutal enough to have come from a whip, maybe even a blade. Frederick slides a knife under her bra straps, slicing them loose. The fabric drops, leaving her exposed. It was a simple question, Frederick says, voice cool behind her. Are you Shadow Sect? Just answer him. I scream silently. Nora, please, I don't know why it matters, but it does. Yes, she finally says. My father was Solis. And where is Solis now? I killed him, so that's her secret. The one she refused to tell Victor. Victor and Nicholas exchange a glance. She talking now? James asks, stepping back into the room. Yeah, Victor says, eyes locked on the screen, but only what she wants us to hear. I tear my gaze away, turning to him. What's that supposed to mean? I don't think he'll break her, Victor admits. She'll give him scraps, enough to survive, but nothing that actually matters. Or maybe you're wrong, I counter. Could be Isabel, he says, finally looking at me. I hope I am. His attention shifts back to the screen. After a beat, mine does too. Frederick's next question hangs in the air. So why are you really here? She remains silent as the blade slices into her, carving another gash across her scarred back. My fingers shake uncontrollably. How did you uncover Isabel Seyfried's past? A pained scream tears from her throat, her face wet with tears. I didn't. She gasps, the force of her words freezing me in place. I pieced together what was out there, her time in Mexico, Javier, the rumors. I connected the dots, but her secret she had to tell me herself, just like with Dorian Flynn. My breath catches. It takes everything in me to drag my eyes from the screen to Victor and Nicholas. She didn't know, I murmur, barely audible. Then how did she? James exhales sharply. She's that damn good. Frederick presses the knife to her skin but doesn't cut. And Nicholas Flesher, he demands. How did you learn about him and Claire? The same way, she snaps. 6 years of watching, digging, planning for this exact moment. I whirl toward Victor. Did you tell Frederick any of this? If he knew these details, someone had to have talked. Frederick was already en route, Victor replies. He called from the airport. I briefed him then. Why keep me in the dark? You vanished, Nicholas cuts in. Your phone was right there ringing, you weren't. My attention snaps back to the screen. Frederick's voice is cold. Why are you here, Nora Kessler? Where are Dina Gregory and Tessa Flynn? Silence, another slash of the knife, but what chills me isn't the pain, it's her stillness. No restraints, no struggle. She could disarm him in seconds, yet she stands there, arms raised, taking it. She won't break, I whisper, the truth hitting me like a punch. Victor, she's letting him do this. Frederick won't stop until she's dead. I bolt from the room, the chair skidding behind me, and sprint down the stairs. Isabel, Nicholas roars. I don't slow down. Third floor, code punched in. Nicholas's footsteps thunder behind me. What the hell are you thinking? His voice echoes off the walls. Stop. I burst through the door, my heart pounding. Frederick, don't you dare hurt her. My voice cracks as I scream, my vision blurred by tears. Dina can't die, not like this. He ignores me completely. Nora's piercing scream cuts through the air as Frederick's blade finds her skin again. Tell the truth, she demands just as Nicholas, Victor, and James come crashing in behind me. Frederick doesn't hesitate, another slash. My gaze darts between Victor and Frederick, torn between horror and helplessness. Nora's knees buckle, her bloody hands dragging streaks down the rough brick wall as she slides toward the ground. My chest tightens. Dina, the room spins. Enough, Victor commands, and just like that, Frederick freezes. The silence is suffocating. I can't bring myself to look. What if it's too late? But I force my eyes open. Nora's still breathing barely. She collapses fully, crimson pooling around her. Victor steps forward, his expression unreadable. Confess, you bastard, Nora gasps, locking eyes with him. I stare at Victor, bewildered, but his focus never wavers from Nora. You know I won't back down, she rasps, struggling for air. You know I'll let them all burn, she means it. After surviving Frederick, after enduring SC4 brutality, I have no doubt she'll follow through. Nicholas moves beside me, his arm slipping around my waist to steady me. I hadn't even realized my legs were giving out. Wait, what about Dorian? I choke out. He has to be. She doesn't care about Flynn, Victor says coldly, still fixated on Nora. The only one she wants to hear this is my brother. I glance up at Nicholas. His grip loosens, his confusion palpable as he stares at the back of Victor's head. Confess, Nora demands one last time, her voice trembling. Victor doesn't turn. I killed Claire, he admits, the woman my brother loved. Nicholas's arm drops from me like dead weight. I can't breathe. My eyes flick to Nicholas, but he's frozen, lost in some unfathomable emptiness. His hands hang limp at his sides. Is he seeing me? Victor, nothing at all. The weight of my own survival presses down on me like a curse. Claire was my sister, Nora whispers, her voice raw with pain. My only weakness. Because of her, Solis took my finger. Because of her, they nearly beat me to death, thinking they could fix me. But they only made me worse, unleashed something even watching Victor murder her couldn't. I was there that night, 6 years ago. I stood frozen as Victor arrived before Nicholas, taking Claire's life along with the men sent to end her, before I could even try to stop it. My gaze flickers between them, my hands trembling, my stomach churning like I might be sick. I shake my head, desperate to erase the words I just heard, but the truth clings like a stain. Nicholas hasn't moved an inch. Finally, Victor turns to face him. No words can fix this, brother, Victor says, voice heavy. Nicholas lifts his head, eyes locking onto Victor's with a cold intensity. Then don't speak, he replies, each word sharp as a blade, or I'll put you down myself. The air is thick enough to choke on. Nicholas turns to leave, and I grab his wrist, my voice breaking. Nicholas, he doesn't even look at me as he pulls free. Let me go, Isabel, he says, calm but final. James, just as stunned as I am, steps aside, more out of fear than courtesy. Frederick, indifferent to the wreckage around us, wipes down his tools with bleach before packing them away. Victor's attention snaps to Nora. Where are they? 429 South Padre Drive, she answers smoothly. The daughters, still oblivious they've escaped, are at 24 Arlen Avenue. The old woman's at 12,421 Griffin Street, all here in Boston. Victor barely glances at James. Take men, go, call me when you confirm they're alive. As James rushes out, Victor's gaze lingers on Nora. That's all for now, he tells Frederick, though his eyes never leave her. But stay close, I'm not done with you. Frederick nods, briefcase in hand, and walks past me without so much as a glance. It stings, but right now Nicholas is the one I want to chase. Nora's voice cuts through the silence, icy and triumphant. How does it feel? She smirks from the blood pooling beneath her. Losing someone you love, I told you I'd win one way or another. And she had. If Victor stayed silent, he'd have lost me, but by confessing, he lost his brother. My head spins. Who is this man I love? The Victor I thought I knew is gone. Victor, my voice cracks. Why, not now, he says, distant, but now is all I have. The anger burns so deep I can't breathe. Who is this guy really? My head spinning. Out of everyone, he picked me, confessed to save Dina because he loves me. So why does it feel like my chest is caving in? Why do I just want to disappear? We're square now, Nora mutters, her face swollen from where Frederick knocked out her teeth. Victor pulls his gun from his waistband and I step between them. Hold on, I say, my voice tight. Let her talk, we still need to check if those addresses she gave us are real. It's insane that I even have to remind him he's the one who taught me patience. The fact that he's this close to pulling the trigger tells me how deep his rage runs, and Victor doesn't lose control like this, ever. His gaze locks with mine and after a beat he lowers the gun. I turn back to Nora. Say your piece, I tell her. I won't stop him if he decides to finish this, and honestly, after everything, I don't think I'd blame him. Nora winces as she shifts against the wall, pressing her uninjured shoulder into it. She takes a shaky breath, waiting for the pain to dull before she speaks. Claire had a heart murmur from birth, she says. The sect doesn't keep liabilities. Any flaw that could jeopardize a mission means you're out permanently. But instead of killing her, they sold her as a baby. That's how they funded some of their operations, selling off the defective ones. No memories, no risk, just profit. I drop into a chair, leaning forward. But they still kept tabs on her, didn't they? I ask. Nora nods. Always, just in case. I was assigned to watch her. Had no idea she was my sister, not until years later, after I'd already gotten close to her. Her voice cracks, and for the first time I see something raw flicker in her eyes. When I found out, everything changed. She was kind, nothing like them. Her glare shifts to Victor, icy. I started covering for her, lying to the sect. When they figured it out, they knew I was done. She tries to sit up but collapses back with a groan. After that, I went off-grid. Solis and his team couldn't track me. I used every trick they ever taught me to stay hidden. Her shoulders slump. But I couldn't stay away from Claire. I knew if they couldn't get to me, they'd go after her instead. Claire always knew we were sisters, but I kept my other identity and the threats against her a secret. At first, she didn't believe me when I warned her about the danger, but I managed to persuade her to leave. Once she was safe, I stepped back, letting her live freely. Then she met Nicholas and I watched, curious, never interfering. For the first time, I felt emotions I couldn't name, hope maybe, or something like it. But that distraction cost me. They found her anyway. The men in the house, I say, were they SC4? She nods, then cuts a glance at Victor. But they weren't the only ones hunting her. I should look at him too, but I can't. He has the answers, but like he said, not now. I push up from the chair, boots clicking on the tile, arms tight across my chest. When I stop, I stare down at Nora. If revenge was the goal, why not just kill me or Nicholas? Why waste 6 years stalking all of us? My voice sharpens. Why the theatrics? This time I force myself to meet Victor's gaze. His eyes linger, conflicted, before dropping back to Nora with icy contempt. She winces as she straightens, making no move to cover herself. Pain or pride, maybe both. I didn't come just for revenge, she says, locking onto Victor. I want in. Your order needs someone like me. My breath catches. Victor barks a laugh. You're delusional. Am I? She tilts her head, undeterred. This was my audition. Think about it. Who else could infiltrate your lives like this? Her smirk falters as pain shoots through her, but her voice stays steady. I'm exactly what you've been looking for, Victor. Hate me all you want, but you know it's true. The room goes still. For once, I'm not sure he'll say number. She's endured more than most could stomach, even submitting to torture at the hands of a man whose name alone sends chills through the underground. Yet here she stands, unbroken, unshaken. Her sharp eyes lock onto him, and for a fleeting moment the old Nora resurfaces, ruthless, calculating. I glance at Victor, but his focus never wavers from her. Maybe it's just hatred keeping him rooted, but the intensity unsettles me. Still, I force myself to stand tall, to show him I trust him, even if her presence coils like a snake in my chest. Why would you ever work for the man who murdered your sister? I demand. Because the past is dead, she replies, her gaze sliding to me while her body stays angled toward Victor. Then with a smirk she adds, and like I said, we're even now. Victor finally moves, his hand closing around my arm as he guides me toward the exit. I follow, stealing one last look at Nora struggling to rise from the floor. You need me, she yells, voice raw. I'm not just some pawn, I'm the weapon you can't replace. Most people would sound insane making that claim, but Nora, she's right, and that's what makes her dangerous. I could teach Isabel everything, she shouts as the door groans shut behind us. Victor halts in the hallway, his grip tightening. She dies the second we confirm the others are safe, he mutters, jaw clenched. The silence between us thickens. Why did you do it? I ask, barely above a whisper. Why, Claire? His eyes fix on the wall behind me, distant. Orders, he admits. Vonnegut wanted her gone before anyone else got to her, before they extracted Solis' secrets. Nicholas was stalling. The order was ready to replace him or eliminate her entirely. Joran was on his way that night to take over, but we got word another group was closing in, so they sent me. His voice falters. I didn't know my brother loved her, not until I saw his face when he realized she was dead. My fingers brush his hand, light as a breath. The weight of his confession hangs between us, heavy as a blade. Victor, you need to tell Nicholas the truth, I insist, searching his face for any sign of hesitation. I can't, he finally admits, meeting my eyes for the first time, not without revealing everything. What do you mean, everything? His gaze drifts away again, his voice low. That I would have killed Claire even if I'd known he loved her. I pull my hand back like I've been burned, my fingers curling at my side. A frown settles on my face as his words sink in. I don't want to believe him, but deep down I know he's telling the truth. I wasn't the same person back then, Isabel, he says, his voice rough. Orders were orders, no questions asked. And Nicholas, he pauses, staring at the wall as if reliving a memory. He was my brother. I killed our father to protect him from Vonnegut. I would have done the same for Claire if it meant keeping him alive. You know how the order works. If Vonnegut had found out Nicholas loved her, he would have had him executed. So yes, even knowing that, I still would have pulled the trigger. My chest tightens. I drop my eyes to the floor, letting his confession churn inside me. It's brutal logic, but logic all the same, yet that doesn't make it right. Part of me wants to absolve him, to say he had no choice. Another part wants to scream at him for what he did. I want to tell him Nicholas might forgive him if he just came clean, but I know better. Nicholas isn't the forgiving type, and as much as I want to blame Nicholas for the way he's treated me, I can't. I'll handle my brother when the time comes, Victor says, his tone shifting, colder now. Right now we have bigger problems. Dorian needs to be dealt with, and you are going to kill Kessler. Why me? His fingers brush my cheek, surprisingly gentle. Because you've earned it, and because I love you. She means nothing to me. His lips press against my forehead before he turns and walks away. I used to be so sure of right and wrong. Even when I messed up, I knew where I stood. But now, watching Victor disappear down the hallway, I feel completely lost. The only thing I'm certain of is that I love him. I lean against the wall, sliding down until I'm sitting on the floor, knees pulled to my chest. My eyes fix on the door in front of me. Just beyond it is the woman who walked in and shattered everything. One person, one living weapon, and now nothing will ever be the same. My thoughts keep circling back to Nicholas. I ache to find him, to talk things through and mend what's broken between us. Then there's Frederick, a man so shrouded in darkness. Is he truly gone for good? I refuse to accept it, clinging to hope even as my gut tells me he's lost. Dorian sits in that cell, and despite everything, I can't shake the feeling he's not the enemy. But facts outweigh faith, and Victor isn't exactly the forgiving type. And Javier, my mind drifts to the child we once had. Where are they now? What's their name? Are they safe, happy with the family who took them in? This life, it hollows you out. Killing isn't just about targets or enemies. It's about erasing pieces of yourself, the people you love. Maybe Frederick was the only one who saw it clearly. And James walks in with Dina. I rush to her, throwing my arms around her like a kid running to her mom after a nightmare. For a second, I'm that little girl again, no blood on her hands, no ghosts in her past. Dina hugs me tight, her laughter warm against my ear. I'm good, baby, she murmurs, her voice steady. She's dressed in soft pink, her hair curled and loose, framing her face. The lines around her eyes are deeper than I remember, but she's whole. No bruises, no broken bones. Wait, you're fine. I blurt, stepping back to study her. Obviously, she says like it's the most natural thing in the world. I shoot a look at James, then Victor, who's just stepped into the room. What the hell happened? James clears his throat. Turns out Nora didn't lay a finger on them. She told Dina. Oh, call me Dina, she interrupts, waving a hand. None of that Mrs. Gregory nonsense. James smirks. Right, Nora said you and Victor sent her to get Dina to safety. Dina snorts. Like I'd believe that right off. But then she shot that sweet guy who used to watch the house, and I thought, well, this is it. She shakes her head. Next thing I know, she's yelling at me to hit the floor, peeking out the windows like some action movie. Scared me half to death. She explained that the man on the floor, the one she'd killed, was some kind of traitor, or maybe she called him a conspirator, something dramatic like that. I wanted to tell her to cut the theatrics, but I didn't have the heart. Whatever the word, she sold it well. She moved me out of that house, set me up somewhere new, and laid down the rules. No leaving, no calls, no contact. She even took my phone, insisting it was for my safety. But honestly, I had everything I needed. Her fingers, rough with age, brushed through my hair as she spoke. I didn't want to risk putting you in danger, so I stayed quiet, just like she asked. You're saying she never hurt you, not once? I couldn't wrap my head around it. Dina shook her head. Not a scratch. She was kind, actually. So you can imagine my shock when Mr. Woodard here told me she was planning to kill me. I couldn't believe it. Victor and I exchanged a glance. Did Tessa get the same story? I asked. James shook his head. Not exactly. Nora convinced her she wasn't a threat, and once Tessa unknowingly handed over the intel Nora needed against Dorian, just like she admitted to him, she bought the whole U.S. Intelligence Act, cooperated without a fuss. So Tessa wasn't hurt either? I pressed. Nope, James confirmed. Where is she now? Victor stepped closer. I sent her home. No reason to drag her into this. She doesn't need to know about us. James chuckled, a hint of pride in his voice. She thought I was CIA. My daughters, though, not so easy. They're convinced I'm in real estate. Nora had to tie them up somewhere. No choice, really. I locked eyes with Victor. So she really was working alone? He nodded. Seems that way. Dina squeezed my hip. I'm parched. Anything to drink around here? I hugged her again. Of course, I said, taking her hand. Let's get you something. As we left the meeting room, Frederick passed us in the hall, heading toward Victor. He didn't so much as glance our way. Dina leaned in, whispering, "Oh, he's a looker." Her eyes lingered on his tall frame in that tailored suit. Worst part about getting old, men like that don't even see me anymore. If only she knew what that man was really like. "You're stunning," I told her, squeezing her hand. "Besides, men these days, probably a lot weirder than what you're used to." She grinned. "Hey, I had my wild days." "Dina," my face burned and I groaned, shaking my head. We both chuckle as we step into the break room, a cozy space with a leather couch, matching armchair, and a sleek marble coffee table between them. A flat-screen TV hangs on the wall, and a small kitchenette sits in the corner. Victor had given Woodard a skeptical look when he first suggested adding a break area, a break room. "We're not running an assembly line here." But after Woodard convinced me it was a good idea, we made it happen. Now it's become a shared retreat. Nicholas sprawls across the couch with his boots propped up, James camps out with his laptop watching reruns, and Dorian, well, he was always the one keeping the fridge full. Victor, he only stops by to track one of us down. Dina settles onto the sofa while I grab 2 sodas from the fridge, Dorian's stash, of course. "So," she says, grinning, "aside from stunning blondes threatening to kill me just to get your attention, what's new with you, Sarah?" She's the only one who still calls me by that name. I tried getting her to switch to Isabel once, but she shut that down fast. "You've been Sarai since we were kids," she'd said, "and that's how it's staying." I hand her the soda and tuck one leg under me as I sit beside her. "It's strange talking to you about my life," I admit. "I can't exactly chat about the last time I watched someone die the way I'd tell you about a messed up fast food order." She takes a sip and nudges me. "Fair, but what about you and that brooding, mysterious guy of yours?" I glance past her at the blank wall, hesitating. "It's good," I say, careful not to let the uncertainty slip. "Whatever's happening between Victor and me isn't the kind of drama you'd see on a daytime soap." The conversation drifts to safer ground, her latest TV obsessions, which I nod along to, clueless, the stubborn cucumber plant dominating her backyard garden, I wouldn't know a weed from a zucchini, and her latest bargain hunting win, a blouse marked down to $9. Meanwhile, I've never checked a price tag in my life. But no matter the topic, one word keeps popping up: Arizona. "I used to binge that show every night back in Arizona," she says, and I don't miss the way her voice softens. My favorite spot was right by the window in my recliner, where I'd crack it open just enough to let the warm air drift in while I caught up on my shows. Gardening wasn't really my thing out in Arizona, too much sun, not enough shade, but thrifting, that was my weekend ritual. I'd hit up every second-hand shop in town, walking away with some unbelievable steals. After hearing her mention Arizona for what felt like the 100th time, I finally had to ask, "Dina, do you miss it? Home, I mean." She gave me a soft smile, setting her soda down on the side table. "More than you know, Sarah." Her hand found my knee, her touch warm but heavy with nostalgia. "I want to go back, even to that old trailer park." Crazy, right? But I miss the chaos, the dogs howling at midnight, kids tearing down the street like little tornadoes. I just want my life back. I sat up straighter, my stomach tightening. "But Dina, you can't, not after everything, it's not safe." She just laughed, the sound light but edged with something unshakable. "Sweetheart, I stopped caring about safe a long time ago. All this moving, the guards, the paranoia, I'm done. I'm grateful for everything you've done, but I'm too old for this circus. I want simple, I want home." My chest ached. "What if something happens to you?" Her grin turned sharp, her eyes twinkling. "If my heart doesn't get me first, I've got my trusty shotgun, and trust me, I won't hesitate to use it." I couldn't help but smile back, even as dread coiled inside me. Then she turned, gripping my hands with sudden intensity. "Promise me something," she said, her voice low and fierce. "No more watchers, no more protection, not from you, not from anyone, and if you break that promise," her fingers tightened, "you'll know and you'll regret it. Do I have your word?" At first, I want to refuse. My head even starts to shake, but she grips my hands, forcing me to meet her gaze. The intensity in her eyes makes it clear how much this promise means to her. Part of me wants to lie, to tell her I won't send anyone to watch over her, but I can't. She's given me everything, and I owe her this, no matter how much it hurts. As I watch her climb into the cab outside, heading to the airport for her flight back to Tucson, a cold dread settles in my chest. This might be the last time. "Love you, baby girl," she calls from the open window, her thin fingers fluttering in the chilly Boston night. I press my fingers to my lips, blowing her a kiss as the car pulls away. Tears sting my eyes, but I force a smile for her. She deserves happiness, not another reason to worry about me. "Where's Nicholas?" I ask Victor, stepping into the meeting room where he and James are hunched over files spread across the long table. My voice is raw from crying after Dina left. Victor barely glances up. "He's gone, Isabel," he says, voice flat, "but don't focus on that now." "What?" I stride to the end of the table, gripping the edge. "How can you just dismiss him? Have you even tried talking to him?" Victor finally meets my eyes, his jaw tight. "I'll handle my brother when it's the right time." James shifts uncomfortably, pretending to study a photo. "And when is that?" My tone sharpens. "There's no perfect moment, Victor, it should be now." He needs space, Victor snaps. I slam my hand down, making the papers jump. Damn it. Victor stands so fast his chair screeches back, papers scattering. James freezes, eyes darting between us like he's caught in a storm. Woodard, Victor orders, get out. James doesn't hesitate, grabbing his laptop and slipping away. My stomach knots, Victor's furious, but so am I. Nicholas is hurting, and every second Victor waits feels like betrayal. You really think I care more about these files than my own brother? Victor demands, voice rough with anger and something else, something wounded. Victor's fingers jab toward his own eyes, his voice sharp. Look at me, really look, and tell me you believe that. Say it out loud, because that's exactly how it feels right now. My throat tightens as I shake my head. This isn't the Victor I know, cold, controlled, never this raw. The guilt coils in my chest, sharp and suffocating. I didn't mean, he exhales, shoulders dropping as he slumps into the chair, avoiding the mess of papers on the desk. Isabel, he says, quieter now, still not meeting my gaze. I knew we'd have this conversation eventually. 6 years, and every damn time I see Nicholas, I remember what I did. He might never forgive me, but he'll understand. I move closer, the polished wood of the conference table cool under my fingertips. You're forgetting he put a bullet in you, Victor adds. My jaw clenches. I remember every second of it. Remembering isn't the same as forgiving, he counters, but you get it. The words hang between us. I press my palms against the table's edge, bracing myself. I feel guilty, I admit, the confession bitter on my tongue. His head snaps up, disbelief flashing in his eyes. For what, he demands, if you're about to say it's because you're alive and Claire isn't? What, Victor? I cut in, mirroring his earlier gesture, fingers stabbing toward my own face. Spell it out. Tell me I'm weak for caring, that I'm too soft for this life. He looks away first. Your heart's too damn big, he mutters. That's the problem, not your skills, not your instincts, it's that you feel everything, and this job, a harsh laugh, it eats people like you alive. The silence stretches, then softer, I voice the fear I've buried. You'd be better off with someone like Nora, wouldn't you? No venom, just exhaustion. His answer comes slow, measured. Professionally, yes. But if I wanted Nora, she'd be here. I don't play games, Isabel, don't start doubting that now. I'm not, I say, and for once it's the simplest truth between us. This isn't the real issue here, I say, swinging my legs up onto the table in front of him. The black bodysuit clings to my skin as Victor scoots his chair closer, his rolled-up sleeves revealing tanned forearms with veins tracing the muscle. His hands settle at my waist while I thread my fingers through his short brown hair. Do you really think I can't handle myself, Victor? My voice holds concern, not blame. Is there anything about me professionally or personally that you don't see as a work in progress? He exhales, his grip tightening slightly. I trust your instincts, Isabel, he admits. With people, you read them better than I do most of the time. But when anger takes over, you act first and think later, like with Hamburg in LA when you're clear-headed though, no doubts, 100%. The silence stretches between us before I finally whisper, what if Nicholas never comes back? He will. But the hesitation in his voice betrays him. He's my brother, he might want to put a bullet in me, but blood doesn't just stop mattering. It hits me then, Victor isn't just carrying my weight, but Nicholas is too. Twice now he's had to choose between us, and either way it leaves scars. The man who never flinches, who plays emotionless like it's second nature, is holding everything together for people who might never thank him. I press my lips to the top of his head. I'm sorry, I murmur, for thinking you'd let Dina die. I should have known better. His gaze locks onto mine, unflinching. I won't lie to you, Isabel, the truth, I almost did. A beat passes, I nod. The admission hangs between us, raw and real, I get it. The decision came down to me or Nicholas, and neither option was simple. I know, I say, letting my hands fall from his hair. His fingers weave through mine, warm and deliberate, before he lifts my hand to his mouth and presses a kiss to my knuckles. So what's the plan with Dorian? He stands, cradling my face, and pulls me into a slow, lingering kiss, soft lips, the faintest brush of his tongue. When he pulls back, his voice is low. That depends on what Frederick manages to extract from him. A cold ripple runs through me. You're seriously letting Frederick handle this? Victor steps away, gathering the scattered photos into a neat stack. His silence says everything. When are you dealing with Nora? He asks, his movements precise. Before dawn, I answer, I needed to handle everything else first. He nods, but I press further. Have you even thought about what she said? Not really, he replies, tucking the files into his briefcase. Not even a little. His gaze flicks to me. I've thought about it, he admits. But considering it, no, she made her choices, killed one of my men, turned my brother against me, took the people you care about hostage, and frankly, she's wasted enough of my time. Fair, I say, chewing my lip, but you have to admit she did show some nerve. Victor pauses, fingers tightening around the briefcase handle. Are you suggesting something? I shake my head. Not what you're thinking, I don't want her here either, but back in the surveillance room the way you watched her. Like you were itching to pick her apart. A ghost of a smirk tugs at his mouth as he lifts the briefcase. You caught that, huh? I grin. Yeah, I kinda did. She's done enough damage, he says, stepping closer. Finish it and move on. One last kiss and he's at the door. I'll be back soon, he says, pausing just before he leaves. And I'll talk to Nicholas. I nod, offering a small, encouraging smile as he goes. The detention block is nearly empty now, just 10 cells left. Labeled A through J. Victor kept them for moments like this. My stomach twists as I walk toward cell C, each step heavier than the last. The thought of what Frederick will do to Dorian later lingers in my mind as I walk down the dimly lit corridor, passing empty cells with their doors hanging open. I try to push the image away, but it clings like a shadow. Part of me refuses to believe Dorian betrayed us. Maybe what he told Victor was the truth. Maybe he never meant to be our enemy, but the facts are hard to ignore. He lied. He worked alongside us while hiding his true allegiance. And worst of all, he fed information about us to the government. That alone is enough for Victor to end him. I stop in front of the heavy steel door and rise onto my toes, peering through the small reinforced window. Inside, Dorian lies slumped on a narrow metal cot, his shoulders wrapped in blood-stained bandages. He's only wearing dark jeans and his Rolex, his boots discarded on the floor, laces sprawled across the tile. I tap lightly on the glass. He lifts his head, squinting at the blurred figure behind the window before recognition flickers in his eyes. Isabel, he grits his teeth, forcing himself upright, every movement clearly agonizing. He limps to the door and I crouch, sliding open the narrow food slot. "How are you holding up?" I ask. "Like I got hit by a truck," he mutters, lowering himself to the floor with a sharp inhale. All I can see now are his piercing blue eyes and the tension in his brow. "I'm sorry," I say, then quickly add, "but Tessa's okay." Relief softens his expression, cutting through the pain. "Nora didn't touch her, not a scratch. James took her home." Dorian exhales. "Thanks for telling me." The silence stretches between us before I finally ask the question we're both avoiding. "Did you really tell Victor everything? He'll know if you didn't." "I know," he says. "And yeah, I told him the truth. There's more details about what I passed on, but I wasn't keeping that from him. Guess he just wasn't ready to listen." I frown. "Then why break it all? I thought guys like you were trained to hold out no matter what, even for someone you love. The fact that you cracked, that's a problem, Dorian. You blew your cover, not just to us, but to a civilian. That makes me wonder what else you'd give up if pushed." He shakes his head. "It's not like that. I was going to come clean eventually. I had permission. I had to move faster than planned," he admitted. "What if," I countered, "you never got permission? Would you have come clean?" He exhaled sharply. "If I said yes, would you even trust me?" His tone made it clear he already knew the answer. "And Tessa," I pressed, "you didn't hesitate with her." "That's a different kind of mistake," he muttered. "Still wrong, but not like betraying everyone. Look, I know I'm not walking out of here alive. That's the job. I'm fine with it, but I won't die labeled a traitor." I hesitated before answering. "I wish I could say I don't see you that way, but after what you did, it's hard. Still, as a person, I believe you mean what you say. Appreciate that." A beat passed before he asked, "Is she gone?" "Not yet, but she will be." "Good, make it hurt first," he growled. "Aim for the shoulder, drag it out, tell her it's for me." He chuckled darkly, then hissed in pain, his grin fading as he slumped slightly. "Your mom okay?" "Yeah, James got her out safe." "Whole damn mess," he muttered. "Guess you can't tell me what she wanted to confess or who from." I shook my head. "Figured," he sighed. "So Gustafsson finally showed." "Yeah," the word stuck in my throat. Footsteps clicked down the hall, 2 sets, deliberate and cold. Dorian's eyes met mine through the door's window. He smirked, bitter. "Of course he's here. Guy probably fantasized about this." I stood, joints protesting. Across the hall, Victor and Frederick approached, their suits sharp against the grimy walls. Dorian's voice dropped. "Whatever they do, tell Tessa the money's hers. Left Boots got the key, and tell her," he swallowed. "Tell her I was sorry for everything." "I will." I turned away, meeting the 2 men halfway. "Got a second?" I stepped directly into Frederick's path, blocking his exit. He's been dodging me for days, and if I don't corner him now, he'll vanish after questioning Dorian. Probably won't see him again for weeks. He tries to sidestep me, but I shift my weight, forcing him to stop. Victor clears his throat. "Isabel, we're on a tight schedule." "I know," I say, locking eyes with him. "Just 2 minutes." Victor hesitates, then relents, striding toward Dorian's cell. The metallic clink of the key and the heavy slam of the door echo behind him. Frederick exhales sharply. "I don't have time for this." "Make time," I snap, gripping his sleeve. His jaw tightens, stubble shadowing his scowl. For a second I almost soften, but then frustration wins. "You're unbelievable," I hiss. "I get it, okay? If I were in your shoes, I'd be pissed too, but you don't get to ice out everyone who gives a damn about you." He tries to brush past me, but I plant myself in front of him and shove both hands against his chest. He barely stumbles, just glares down at me like I'm some buzzing fly he'd love to swat. "Fine," I spit. "Go ahead, shut down, but you're hearing this first." My voice drops raw. "Nora Kessler told Nicholas something and it stuck with me. Hate her all you want, but she wasn't wrong." I jab a finger at him. "You need this, Frederick. You're all steel and ice, like you could freeze hell itself, but inside you're just shattered, and no amount of pretending changes that." My throat tightens. "You don't have to do this alone." He doesn't move, just grips his briefcase, his expression unreadable. The silence between us feels heavier than the cell door still rattling in its frame. You crave love more than anything because it's the one thing life's denied you. You push me away because I mattered, because out of everyone here you saw me as family. You built walls after love burned you too many times. I move closer, my gaze locked on his, the heat in my eyes unshaken. His expression stays frozen, unreadable. We all have our survival needs. Victor craves control, James seeks approval, Nicholas wants something to claim, Dorian's fighting his own demons. Me, I've got a list, but I'm still figuring out which one tops it. But you, love's your oxygen, Frederick, you can't hold your breath forever, it's not who you are. Stepping back, I study him, the stubborn set of his jaw, those icy blue eyes giving nothing away. The silence gnaws at me. I want him to snap back, call me naive, tell me I don't understand a damn thing, but he just stands there. With a bitter shake of my head, I jerk my chin toward Dorian's cell. Guess I'll catch you later, I mutter, spinning on my heel. I don't glance back, but the weight of his stare follows me down the corridor until I turn the corner. What the hell's happening to us? Nicholas has vanished, no calls returned, no trace at his usual Boston haunts. Dawn's creeping in, and the longer he's gone, the tighter the knot in my chest pulls. What if he walks away for good? What if he can't stomach Victor's choices and they end up on opposite sides? This can't be how it ends. Dorian's barely hanging on, Frederick's a ticking time bomb, Nicholas might as well be a ghost. Can this group, this messed up family, bounce back after Nora Kessler's wrecking ball hit? Right now I'm not betting on it. Gun gripped tight, I shove open the door to Nora's makeshift prison. She lifts her head from the chair, her blonde hair matted with dried blood, leather pants scuffed. Move out, I say, jerking my head toward the hall. Where? She asks, wincing as she stands, her bare feet avoiding the discarded heels. The silk blouse clings to her cuts, a poor disguise for the damage underneath. You know exactly where, I reply, voice flat. She hobbles forward, pain flashing across her face with every step. Why not just put a bullet in me now? She challenges, I stay silent, pretending it doesn't matter, but deep down I have words for her, things meant for her ears alone before this ends. We move through the hallway, slow and deliberate, Nora ahead of me, my gun hanging at my side. I guide her out back where the night swallows sound and the only light comes from the pale moon. Get down, I order, gesturing toward the cracked pavement near a rusted dumpster. She doesn't hesitate, doesn't flinch, just drops to her knees, turning her back to me like she already knows the drill. You won't beg, I say, pressing the barrel to the base of her skull. Not that I expected you to. She stares at the graffiti-stained wall in front of her. Would you? My finger rests on the trigger. No, she answers before I can. The air reeks of rotting garbage from the dumpsters lining the alley, and the distant hum of traffic blends with the crash of waves from the shore. A flickering streetlight casts a weak glow over a parking garage entrance, but here it's just us in the dark. Her blonde hair spills over her shoulders, tangled and wild under the moonlight. I watch her, torn. Part of me wants to make her face me, own what I'm about to do, but the truth is I can't. Killing an unarmed woman like this in some filthy back alley, that's the kind of thing that sticks with you. Nora tilts her head slightly, trying to catch my reflection in the shadows. You don't seem scared to pull the trigger, she says. So why the wait? I exhale. I've got a question for you. She barks out a laugh. Oh, perfect, because I'm dying to chat. The sarcasm drips from her voice as she shrugs, not even bothering to look back this time. Ask whatever, just don't expect me to lie. What kind of answer would I get? The honest one, she says. Only kind worth giving. She waves her hand, the one with the crooked pinky, dismissively. Go on, then. I hesitate, weighing the question. The silence stretches until I finally speak. Do you think someone like Victor Faust is even capable of love? For once, Nora doesn't have a quick reply. The smirk fades, replaced by something quieter, sharper. Like maybe she's actually thinking about it. She tilts her face slightly, the moonlight tracing the curve of her nose and the sharp angle of her cheekbone. That's not just bold, she murmurs. It's the kind of question you already know the answer to. I exhale sharply. Maybe, but I want to hear it from you. Her lips curve just a fraction. No, she corrects, voice low. You don't want my answer. You want to know why I'd say it. Fine, then tell me that. There's no smirk, no gloating, just quiet certainty as she turns back toward the empty wall ahead. Love isn't rare, Isabel, she says, steady. That man, he loves you. I saw it the second he looked at you. A pause. My chest tightens because I know there's more. But Victor Faust isn't built to keep it. Some men need love like air, others, it suffocates them. The deeper he falls, the more you make him human, the closer he gets to snapping. My fingers twitch against the grip of my gun. So what, you're saying he'll walk away, or worse? Not exactly. Her gaze flicks to me, unreadable. If you want to keep him, you have to let go of everything else. Your old life, your attachments, that softness inside you. He can handle loving you barely. But he won't survive the weight of your world dragging him down. You don't know that, I snap, blinking back the heat behind my eyes. Nora doesn't flinch. I do, because he's like me, and when the choice comes, he'll destroy what threatens the only life he understands. I shake my head, my pulse roaring. It's a lie, it has to be. But you loved Claire, I choke out. You'd have died for her. True. Her voice goes eerily calm, and that's why I thought about killing her every single day. The air leaves my lungs. I loved her too much, she continues like she's reciting a fact. Leaving her alive made me vulnerable, weak, my stomach twists. You were going to murder your own sister, someone who never hurt you, who didn't even know what you were. Her answer is a whisper. Yes, if Victor hadn't taken Claire's life I would have, and yes, I was furious he did it first, but she was my sister, my right, not his. She hesitates, then adds quietly, I know how this sounds, Isabel. I know it's hard to wrap your head around, but I don't process things the way you do. I was molded from birth to be this way, just like you were shaped into who you are. Everyone has their flaws, and I guess this is mine. My throat tightens, my heart isn't racing, but it's off like it's forgotten its rhythm. Does Victor see me the way Nora saw Claire? Could he really erase me if I became a problem? Or Nicholas? Part of me insists she's just unhinged, that Victor, for all his darkness, wouldn't cross that line. He sent me away once, cut ties completely. But he couldn't stay away, he watched over me. No, I won't let her get inside my head. I straighten, refusing to crumble. Nora's a master at twisting minds, making the steadfast doubt themselves and the weak believe they're invincible. I've felt it before, I won't fall for it again. Maybe she's not lying, maybe these are just her truths, but I'm not risking it. I trust my gut and it tells me. Some of what she says holds weight. The part about losing what little normalcy I have left, that might be real. He doesn't know, I murmur, more to myself than to her. My gaze drifts past her to the cracked wall. The gun stays steady, but my thoughts are miles away. Know what? She presses. Silence stretches before I answer. He cut the audio when I told you. He has no idea about the baby, that I have a child out there, 7 years old now. Her response is chillingly calm. Best to leave it that way. A silent promise she won't tell. I glance down, surprised she hasn't moved. With my focus wavering, someone like her could have disarmed me in a heartbeat, but she doesn't. She just stares at the wall, waiting, no fear, no last-minute pleas. Nora Kessler is ready to die. I believe in your instincts, Isabel, he says. You've always had a sharp eye when it comes to reading people. My thoughts spiral as I glance between the gun in my hand and the back of Nora's head. How much does the truth matter to you? I ask. She doesn't hesitate. I don't lie unless it's part of the job. Why the sudden interest? Then look at me, I demand, brushing off her question. Turn around, let me see your face, and tell me why you want in. Nora shifts slowly, still kneeling, until her eyes meet mine. There's a flicker of amusement before she scoffs. If you're keeping me around just to hold on to Victor, Isabel, you might as well pull the trigger now. I tighten my grip on the gun. Just answer. Her gaze lingers, dissecting me before she speaks. I earned my place here. I could have taken out anyone you care about, but I didn't. Yeah, I pushed you all to reveal things you'd rather keep buried, but those were your choices, not mine. She shifts uncomfortably, finally sitting back. I don't belong out there. The sect would put a bullet in me the second I showed my face, and SC4, that's gone. This is all I have left. I watch her, weighing her words. She's ruthless, but she's not lying. Then why not just end it? I ask. If this life is all you have, why keep fighting? Because giving up is for the weak, she snaps. I tilt my head. What's stopping you from turning on us? She smirks. If I wanted you dead, you'd already be bleeding out. I follow orders, that's who I am. Her voice drops, almost mocking. Besides, you had your chance back there, too busy wrestling with your own secrets to notice if I made a move. Probably tonight when you were lying in bed with him. How does she always know these things? If I wanted any of you dead, I wouldn't have spent 6 years setting this up. I could have taken you out any time I was tailing you. But Claire, I pressed, needing more. She got under your skin, you loved her, you were ready to kill her, you walked away from everything you knew because of her. How do I know that won't happen again? People like me only love once, she answers without hesitation. For us, it's like a kid touching a hot stove, you don't do it twice. I stay quiet for a long moment. But when you're not blinded by anger or revenge, you're in control, and I trust you completely. You promised to train me, Nora nods. I did, then why did you just? I'll train you if you're not doing this for some guy, she interrupts. That's like getting pregnant to trap a boyfriend or marrying out of obligation. It never ends well, and I don't waste time on bad investments. Victor's not the only reason, I admit. Yeah, he's part of it, but not everything. We're nothing alike except for one thing. This life is the only one I fit into. I tried normal, it didn't stick. This is who I am, and I just want to survive in it as long as I can. Victor never had the chance to train me right. He either pawned me off on someone else. I think of Spencer and Jacqueline at the combat gym, or went soft because he didn't want to break me. I won't go soft on you, Nora smirks. I know, I say, but fighting's just the start. I want to learn everything, manipulation, pain, control, all of it. Nora arches an eyebrow. You'll never master all that unless you're willing to lose the ability to love and replace it with the ability to kill. But I'll teach you what I can. One last thing. When I confessed, you actually seemed human. You even acknowledged Nicola's feelings. If you're so detached, why did any of that matter? Why did bringing up your father and your finger set you off if you're so controlled? I am still human, she says flatly. I turn it over in my head, weighing everything. Then I hold out my gun. Nora glances at it, then takes it in her bloodied hands. Welcome aboard, I say, and when I walk back inside, leaving her there on the Boston sidewalk, the fact that she doesn't shoot me or vanish into the night just confirms what I already knew. She meant every word. 4 days have passed and normalcy feels like a distant dream. Nicholas remains missing, no calls, no messages, nothing. His phones don't even connect anymore, just dead air or automated rejections. I've given up trying to reach him. If he wants to surface, he will. Until then, I'm stuck waiting, wondering what kind of storm his return might bring. Dorian at least is still breathing, though barely. After Frederick grilled him for hours, he's locked up in cell C waiting for Victor to decide his fate. According to Frederick, Dorian's been honest so far, no hidden bombshells. But Victor's hesitation isn't just about Dorian's truthfulness, it's about the US government. Dorian's the kind of ghost they disavow if he vanished, but the intel he's already handed over, that's the real problem. Meanwhile, Nora Kessler's training is tearing me apart. No warning, no breaks, just relentless mental and physical ambushes. It's like Victor's early lessons, cranked up to 11. She messes with my head so much I can't tell when she's lying or being straight with me. If you hesitate, you've already lost, she told me once. This isn't about thinking before you act, it's about rewiring how you act without thinking. And now she's sitting at the table for her first official meeting. Victor wasn't thrilled when I told him I'd brought her in, but here we are. Guess we'll see how this plays out. I had to bring up his earlier claim of trusting me, though part of me suspected he hadn't forgotten. Still, letting Nora live clearly blindsided him. Honestly, it shocked me too. That night I was ready to end her, no hesitation. Maybe Victor's influence was getting to me. But at the final moment, instinct overrode my anger. The meeting room was tense when I walked in. Victor, James, and Frederick were already there waiting. Nora had 5 minutes before her tardiness became a problem. I took my usual seat beside Victor, forcing confidence I didn't fully feel. If she screwed this up, it would reflect on me. I was the one who vouched for her. A late arrival wasn't the best first impression. The air was thick with silence, barely disturbed by the hum of the vents. James was glued to his laptop, while Frederick sat like a statue, imposing and quiet. Victor lounged in his chair, hands resting in his lap, effortlessly commanding the room without a word. I could feel their eyes on me, though I avoided meeting their gazes. Then came the sharp click of heels down the hallway. The door swung open and Nora strode in, all confidence and polished grace. She wore a sleek black suit, heels adding inches to her already tall frame. A crisp white blouse peeked out from her jacket, the collar delicately ruffled. Delicate, not a word I'd ever linked to Nora before. Barely made it, I remarked. She settled beside James, posture impeccable. I know, she said smoothly, pulling a phone from her pocket. But I found Nicholas. Victor and I exchanged a glance as she slid the phone across the table. He picked it up, tapping the screen before it dimmed. I leaned in for a better look. Barlow's, Nora announced. He's been there every night, drinking different women. The photos showed Nicholas hunched over a bar, a whiskey shot in front of him, the dim lighting casting shadows on his face. That's half an hour from here, I said, unease creeping into my voice. James scoffed. Drinking and women sounds like the same old Nicholas. He's fine. I shot him a glare. He's not fine. Victor's voice cut in, calm but firm. He will be. He pushes the phone across the table toward Nora, who leaves it untouched in front of her. Frederick stays silent, his expression unreadable. I shift in my chair, turning to Victor. You want me to go after him? I ask. Bring him back so you can talk. Victor shakes his head. Nicholas can wait, he says. There's something else we need to deal with first. The way he and Nora exchange a look tells me they've already discussed whatever this is. A mix of unease and curiosity twists in my gut. All right, what's going on? I press. Victor exhales, scanning the room before his gaze lands on me. There's a mission coming up, he says, his voice measured. Not tomorrow, not next month, but it'll take at least a year to get ready, specifically to get Nora ready. He glances at her briefly before continuing. I lean forward. What kind of mission? A beat of silence. Then you're going back to Mexico. I blink. Mexico. My voice is steady, but his vagueness needles me. Look, if you need me there, I'll go. That place doesn't scare me. We'd been back once before, took out 2 of Javier's men, freed some of the girls, but too many were already gone, sold off or worse. The memory sits heavy in my chest. Victor's eyes flick away just for a second. Victor, I say, sharper now, spit it out. The weight of the room's attention presses on me, even Frederick's, but I keep my focus on Victor. This isn't just another hit and run, he says. You'll be training Nora. For months, my frown deepens. Me training her. The pieces click together, but I let him say it. You know how it works, he says. The drugs, the weapons, the girls, how they're bought, sold, broken. Nora can handle herself, but she needs to understand what she's walking into. I glance at Nora. She's calm, composed, like this is just another briefing. Hold on, I say, the words sour in my mouth. You want me to teach her how to be a sex slave? James grins, the kind of smile that makes my skin crawl. Victor shakes his head. Not just acting, he says. She needs to be one of them fully. Nora leans in, her voice steady. The easiest way in is to blend in, just fall into the role like everyone else. No one teaches you how to be one of them, you just become it. I glance between her and Victor, frustration creeping in. I can adapt to anything, even playing a sex slave, but you've got to give me the inside scoop. What do I watch out for? How do I stay alive? Victor exhales, rubbing his temple. Things aren't the same, but they're not different either. Javier's gone, Isil's gone, his brothers too, but two of them picked up where he left off. The compound's still there. Girls, drugs, weapons, business as usual. They barely skipped a beat after we hit them last time. I already knew most of this, but hearing it again makes my stomach twist. Leaning forward, I grip the edge of the table. Fine, but why go back? Don't get me wrong, I'd love to put bullets in those monsters and get those girls out. That's not the job, Isabel, Victor cuts in. His tone is firm and Nora gives him a look I can't read. Then he drops the bomb. Nora told me something the night before she escaped, something about you. I needed to be sure before bringing it up. My chest tightens. It's not betrayal, but it stings anyway. Victor continues, Dorian's intel lined up with her story. He hesitates, then adds, this mission isn't about the cartel, it's about Vonnegut, and you might be the only one who's ever seen his real face. I freeze. What? My voice comes out sharper than I mean it to. You've met him, what are you talking about? Victor shakes his head. The man I dealt with in the Order, I think he was a decoy, the real Vonnegut. No one knows who he is, not the CIA, not the FBI. Every lead they chase just loops them back to dead ends. He lays it all out, Dorian's intel on Vonnegut's arms deals, his ties to terrorists, the fact that assassination is just the tip of the iceberg. Then he mentions the tracker he pulled out of me when we were on the run. My skin crawls at the memory. Nora stays silent, but her expression says she's known this whole time, and suddenly the mission feels heavier than before. Victor leans forward, his voice low. Nicholas and I figured it out the moment we removed that device from you. Tech that advanced. No way Javier Ruiz could have developed it himself. It had to come from somewhere else. Nora interrupts, her tone sharp. While I was digging through the Order's files, I uncovered something else. Vonnegut wasn't just dealing in weapons. He was trafficking girls too, and those high-tech trackers, he was selling them just like the one they pulled out of you. Victor nods. I'm convinced Vonnegut supplied the device inside you. He was selling to Javier and you were right in the middle of it, closer to Vonnegut than almost anyone. I cross my arms. And what makes you think I'd know what he looks like? The weight of their words presses down on me. Victor doesn't hesitate. Those wealthy men Javier paraded you around with, one of them was Vonnegut. I'd bet my life on it. My mind races, faces flashing like a sped-up film reel. Victor continues, relentless. He can't hide forever. Someone's seen him. Ghosts don't stay ghosts, they slip up. And Nora's mission, that's how we find him, take him down and end him. He pauses, then adds quietly, and when he's gone, I'll take control of the Order. Frederick's gaze locks onto mine for the first time since I walked in. Victor's words hang heavy in the air, take over the Order, but right now my brain's too full to process it. After a long silence, I finally speak. Why Nora? I get that I can't go back. Too many people recognize me, but why her? Victor cuts in before I finish. You're going to Mexico, stationed in a tourist hub. Nora handles the inside work. My jaw tightens. You won't let me go back. The edge in my voice is unmistakable. Victor exhales, hands dropping to his lap. It's not about permission. Then what? I snap. You think I can't handle it? That because of what happened I'm broken. Newsflash, I'm stronger now. If anyone can do this, it's me. Nora's voice is calm, almost gentle. This isn't about proving yourself, Isabel. I turn my glare on her, fire in my veins. Nobody asked for your input. Too bad I don't wait for an invitation, Nora shoots back. There she is, the real Nora Kessler, sharp-tongued and unapologetic. James shifts in his seat, putting space between them like he expects me to lunge at her any second. I bite my tongue, exhale slowly, and turn back to Victor. You said it yourself, Victor points out. You can't go in without being recognized. There's got to be another way, I argue. We could, Isabel, he cuts in, voice firm. You're not stepping foot in that compound. You think you can take on every man there who'd try to hurt you. My jaw tightens. Oh, so that's what this is about? You think I can't defend myself? I hold his gaze, unflinching. Trust me, I can. Nora's handling the mission, he says, shutting it down. I push back from the table, frustration simmering. She can't go in wired. No cameras, no phone. If she's supposed to blend in, she can't slip away to contact us. They'll notice she's gone in seconds. I glance at Nora. How are you supposed to id Vonnegut if I'm the only one who's seen him? Victor exhales. We'll work it out, we've got time. I smirk, shaking my head. Don't pretend you don't already know the only sure way to find him. He waits, silent. Through me, I say. The second Vonnegut lays eyes on me, he'll recognize me and I'll see it in his face. He knows exactly what I look like. Victor's expression darkens. It's the fastest way, but we're not doing it. You're not going back. It's the only way. Too many people have seen you, he snaps. Javier and Isel are dead. Luis and Diego are gone. They were the only ones who knew me. Whoever's running things now won't have a clue. We can't gamble on that. I agree, James chimes in. It's not worth the risk. Victor, Isabel. He slams a hand on the table, then reins himself in. I won't let you walk back into that hell. Nora, I'll take the chance with her. Nora doesn't flinch, she never does. Going solo on missions is risky enough no matter how skilled you become, he said, his voice firm. But sending you into enemy territory where they'd recognize you, where they'd shoot you on sight, that's a risk I refuse to take. My gaze dropped to the floor, frustration simmering beneath the surface, but his concern softened the edges of my anger. I'm sorry, I murmured. Victor extended his hand, an unusual gesture during meetings, and I hesitated before stepping forward. His fingers closed around mine, pulling me closer until I stood beside him. The brush of his lips against my knuckles sent a jolt through me. We'll find another way, he assured me. But Nora will handle the inside job. I clenched my jaw but nodded. How many shortcuts will you take just to keep me safe? I'll make sure Nora knows everything, I said, glancing at her before sinking back into my chair. You're still vital to this, Victor reminded me. How long will you reroute the plan for my sake? I'll do whatever it takes to bring him down, I said, the words heavy with conviction. But the truth gnawed at me. I needed to be the one inside, not out of pride, not because Nora was chosen over me, but because I'd spent nearly a decade in Mexico among those men. If any mission belonged to me, it was this one. Victor's voice cut through my thoughts. With Nicholas gone and the order shifting, Nora will be your new partner. Nora gave a sharp nod. And I'll keep training you as we work together. Focus on your current assignments, Victor added, but keep Mexico in mind. Silence settled over the room, thick with unspoken tension. What about Nicholas? I asked, refusing to let his absence go unacknowledged. Are we just leaving him out? For now, Victor replied. Until things between us are resolved, assume he's off the roster. The next half hour blurred into strategy routes, aliases, contingency plans. It felt wrong without Dorian's biting humor or Nicholas' scowls, the stale cigarette smoke clinging to his coat. When the meeting ended, Frederick pushed back his chair, drawing everyone's attention. Unless there's more to discuss, Frederick said, his gaze fixed solely on Victor, I have an appointment to keep. Nora leaned forward, her crimson lips curling into a smirk. And what could someone like you possibly have going on? A man as icy as you doesn't strike me as having much of a life outside this place. Her tone dripped with playful mockery. Their exchanges were rare, but whenever they happened, Nora couldn't resist pushing his buttons. Just yesterday, she'd teased him about failing to break her, making her the second woman to outmatch him. She was clearly fishing for a reaction, though why she bothered was beyond me. Frederick, as usual, remained stone-faced. He grabbed his briefcase from the table. Lunch, he stated flatly. Nora's eyes sparkled with mischief. Oh, and will you be enjoying this meal in solitude, or would you like a little company? Frederick moved toward the door without sparing her a glance, not that he ever really looked at any of us. I eat alone, he replied. Nora just shook her head, amused. Nothing ever seemed to rattle her, and I admired that, though I'd never admit it to her face. Frederick paused, glancing back at Victor. I'll be in touch, Victor assured him. If all goes well, you'll have someone to question by Friday. Frederick gave a curt nod, pushing the door open. Don't go far, Victor added. Your days of peace and quiet are numbered. Understood, Frederick said before stepping out, the door clicking shut behind him. Victor turned to Nora. Now what else do you have for me on SC4? She swept her blonde hair over one shoulder, folding her hands neatly on the table. Her nails, painted the same deep red as her lips, gleamed under the light. James stole another glance at her, something he did every few seconds, though he tried to play it cool. By the end of the week, she said smoothly, you'll have everything I know. Victor studied her. You've got a long road ahead before I trust you. Nora smiled. If you trusted me already, I wouldn't respect you half as much. Her gaze flicked to me. But some trust, she said, nodding toward the bond we shared, goes a long way. I acknowledged her with a nod. Victor watched us but stayed silent. Nora was my responsibility, my challenge. He wouldn't interfere, but I knew he'd be watching her closely. James cleared his throat. For what it's worth, he said with a goofy grin, I'm glad you're here. Nora shot him a look that sent his cheeks flushing. Some things never changed. James hesitated before speaking. Not sure how Nicholas will take the news, he said, his eyes flicking toward Victor, or Dorian, assuming he ever walks free again. He let the words hang in the air between us. Time has a way of unraveling everything, doesn't it? With the order in chaos, part of me dreads what's coming. All I can do is wait for Nicholas to return, for the inevitable clash between him and Victor, for Dorian's judgment day. And then there's the secret I'm carrying, the one that could burn everything down if Victor ever learns about Javier's child. Maybe Nora will prove me wrong, make me look like an idiot in the end. But waiting, that's the worst part. Time doesn't just heal, it cuts. Frederick 8 years earlier, Serafina, my fallen angel, all dark elegance and wicked grace. She lounged beside the girl, her lips stained red, her raven hair spilling over bare skin. The blonde trembled under her touch, their bodies tangled in the dim light. Serafina's fingers slid through the girl's hair, possessive, deliberate. Simple, isn't it? She murmured, dragging her tongue along the girl's throat before locking eyes with me. We share everything, my love. Her free hand traced the girl's lower lip and the blonde mirrored the gesture, breathless. My devil, my prince. I undid my shirt, watching as Serafina's fingers dipped lower. Vengeance, pleasure, ruin, we do it all together, she whispered, until the end. She crooked a finger, beckoning, come taste her. Her hand settled between the girl's thighs. You'll love it. The girl arched against her, gasping. I stayed where I was, belt sliding free in one slow pull. I told you not to bring them here, I said, voice low, not without asking, never here. Serafina just smiled, all sharp edges and secrets. The blonde reached for her, but Serafina caught her wrist, guiding it away with a laugh. Frederick, Serafina murmured, pushing herself up on the bed. You don't always have to be like this. I'm trying to help you. This is part of the journey. I crossed my arms. I've told you before, no one else in our house. Her smile twisted into something sharper, her dark eyes flashing with defiance. That was Serafina, never one to back down, never one to obey without a fight. It was one of the things I loved about her, even when it drove me mad. She stood and the girl on the bed stiffened, sensing the shift in the air. I brought her for you, Serafina said, gesturing toward the girl whose full lips and wide, nervous eyes only made the tension worse. Look at her, I thought you'd appreciate the effort. The girl shifted uncomfortably, her fingers twisting in the sheets. Maybe I should just… No, Serafina cut in, her voice sharp as a blade. You stay. I stepped closer, my jaw tight. This is our home, Serafina, not some hotel, not some alley. Here is where we sleep, where we're supposed to be safe. The girl swallowed hard, then bolted up, scrambling for her clothes. Serafina lunged, but I caught her around the waist, hauling her back. The girl didn't hesitate. She snatched her things and fled, the front door slamming behind her. You ruin everything, Serafina snarled, twisting in my grip. I shoved her onto the bed, pinning her wrists behind her. Why do you keep doing this? My voice was rough, barely controlled. One rule, just one, she laughed, bitter and sharp. Because it's a pointless rule, I leaned in, my lips brushing her ear. Is it pointless that I love you, that I don't want anyone else in our space? She went still, breathing hard. What does it change? Everything, I said, pulling back. This is our home, not a hunting ground, not a stage. Here it's just us. She turned her face away, but I saw the flicker of understanding, or maybe just exhaustion. Either way, the fight had drained out of her. For now, do you get it now? She nodded, her face still pressed into the mattress. Are you gonna stay put, or do I need to restrain you? I'll stay, she murmured. I let go of her wrists, and she stretched her arms above her head, fingers curling into the sheets. And why are you staying? I asked, tightening my grip on the belt. Because I earned this, she said, her voice steady, just like every other time discipline was necessary. I knelt between her legs, spreading them wider, exposing her fully. Honestly, you're impossible, I muttered before pressing my lips to the curve of her backside. You'd be lost without me, she shot back, breath hitching as I kissed the other cheek. Yeah, and I plan to keep it that way, I admitted. A sharp gasp escaped her when my tongue traced over her, but I pulled back before she could react. She stayed motionless, tense, waiting. I studied her, the way she arched slightly, bracing herself. Every instinct screamed to take her right then, to lose ourselves in the heat of it, but discipline came first. If I gave in too soon, she'd never learn. Serafina might have been the one keeping my darker impulses in check, but she wasn't exactly innocent either. Left unchecked, she was chaos wrapped in temptation, a wildfire with no regard for control. The crack of leather against skin shattered the silence, and she cried out, but she didn't flinch. Again and again, 10 strikes in, her knuckles were white, sheets torn in her grip. 11, 12, 13, no mercy, showing weakness would ruin her, and I refused to let that happen. Frederick, enough, her voice broke raw with tears. I didn't stop. 20 was the rule, and she knew it. When it was over, I dropped the belt and returned to her, hands smoothing over trembling skin. She shivered under my touch but didn't resist as I traced each mark with my lips, soothing the sting. Then slowly, deliberately, I parted her with my fingers and tasted her, savoring every reaction. Serafina arched beneath me, her breath ragged as her fingers twisted into the sheets. Pain had faded into something else entirely, something raw and consuming. I moved with a relentless rhythm, the way we both craved, rough and unyielding. It was over. I stayed pressed against her, my lips tracing the curve of her spine, her shoulders, the delicate slope of her neck. The razor on the nightstand glinted, but I ignored it. Not yet. There's no one else like us, she murmured, her voice barely audible, her face turned against the mattress. I couldn't survive without you. I shifted deeper inside her, slow and deliberate. You'll never have to, I whispered, my mouth brushing the nape of her neck. We made a vow, remember, together, always. Her breath hitched as I kissed the corner of her lips. Swear it, Frederick, if I go first, you follow. My grip tightened. The moment you're gone, so am I breathed against her ear. You're everything, my ruin, my obsession. A shudder ran through her as I moved again, her fingers tangling in my hair. No one else could ever love you the way I do, she gasped. No one knows your darkness, your hunger, the way I do. No one ever will. She was right. Pulse roared in my ears as my fingers closed around the razor. I lifted just enough to see the blade catch the dim light before dragging it down her skin. She gasped, her body tensing beneath me. The wound bloomed red and I bent to taste it, the metallic tang sharp on my tongue. She pressed back against me, urging me deeper, her breath coming in ragged bursts. My hand fisted in her hair as I crushed my mouth to hers, the kiss fierce and tinged with copper. Never, Frederick, she whispered against me. No one will ever love you like this. Now sitting in this diner, the newspaper in my hands is just a blur. How long has it been? How much longer will her ghost haunt me? Until I keep my promise, I suppose, until I follow her into the dark. My briefcase leans against the wall under the table, unnoticed. The people around me chatter, oblivious. They don't see the monsters sitting beside them, the ones who smile and nod while hiding unspeakable things. If they knew what was inside that briefcase, what these hands have done, what my mind can't escape, they'd run screaming. But they don't. And that's the cruelest joke of all. I wrap my fingers around the warm coffee mug, lifting it slowly as I watch the steam curl upward. The first sip burns just enough to feel comforting. My gaze drifts back to the newspaper spread across the diner table. Third time's the charm, maybe I'll actually absorb a headline today. As I lower the cup, the kid in the booth behind me kicks my seat hard, sending a splash of coffee onto the laminated surface. Without a word, I blot it with a napkin. Avery, the mother's voice is sharp, then instantly softens. I said, stop squirming, sorry about that. I tilt my head just enough to acknowledge her but don't turn around. No problem, I mutter, refocusing on the paper. The kid keeps at it, thumps, wiggles, the occasional giggle, until finally the mom gives up, bundling him toward the door with another apologetic glance my way. I wave it off. Truth is, I didn't mind the distraction. After the things I've done, something as ordinary as a restless kid feels almost refreshing. There's a freedom in being that oblivious, in having a mother who scolds you for knocking a stranger's seat instead of other things. My briefcase under the table weighs heavier for a second. What if it held a sandwich and a stack of reports instead? What if I'd grown up in a world where the worst thing I did was annoy some guy at a diner? More coffee. The waitress, Emily, according to her name tag, stands beside me, pot in hand. Her smile is the kind that makes you want to smile back, but I don't. I'm good, I say. She hesitates. Your usual today: scrambled eggs, extra crispy bacon, lemon water. Not today. The silence lingers. She shifts, then tries again. Maybe tomorrow. Won't be here tomorrow. Her cheer dims. Oh, she turns to leave, her usual bounce gone. Wait. The word slips out before I think. She pauses, hopeful, but I have nothing else to say. After a beat, she walks away and I go back to pretending to read. My gaze drifts from the table to my coffee mug, then back to Emily's hopeful expression. Yeah, I'll stick with my usual today. Her smile brightens, those warm hazel eyes lighting up beneath strands of golden brown hair. Got it, she says with a quick nod. Be right back. For the past 2 weeks she's tried making small talk, but I've dodged it every time. It's not that I don't notice how kind she is, how effortlessly sweet. That's exactly the problem. She's not someone I could walk away from without a second thought, and that's dangerous. Still, today something made me pause. When she returns, balancing a plate of breakfast in one hand and a glass of lemon water in the other, I move the newspaper aside, folding it onto the seat. She sets everything down carefully. Do you work around here? She asks, tapping something into her handheld tablet. Nope, I say, shaking pepper over my eggs. Just here for the food. And for the quiet routine of it, the familiarity of the same diner, the same booth, the same rhythm. But I keep that part to myself. She tears off the order slip, placing it face down on the table. Well, I'm glad to be your regular waitress, she says, her smile hinting at something more. There's a shy boldness to her that's oddly charming. Silence lingers a beat too long. Enjoy your meal, she finally says, tucking her notepad into her apron pocket. Thanks, I reply, offering a small smile before turning back to my plate. But then I catch her lingering glance at the slip. Curious, I flip it over. No prices, just a phone number scrawled across the paper. Her cheeks flush pink. Call me if you ever want to grab dinner or something, she stammers. That is, if you're free or interested. She's fidgeting now, second-guessing herself. I mean, you don't wear a ring, but if I misread, you didn't, I interrupt before she spirals further. And no, I'm not married, very, very single. Her lips pressed together in a nervous smile. Out of the corner of my eye, I spot another waitress by the register grinning at us before pretending to be busy. I focus back on Emily. First time asking a guy out. Her face turns scarlet. That obvious, she asks, scrunching her nose. I let my amusement show. Yeah, but it's cute. For a moment, neither of us speaks. She's beaming and I'm just surprised by how much I don't mind this. I should head back. Tables won't wait, she says, already turning away. I give a quick nod, then add, I'll be home by 9. Expect my call before 9:30. Might as well hear her out, who knows? Her smile tightens just a flicker before she nods and moves toward a booth where a couple just settled in. I finish my pancakes, slide a generous tip under my empty mug and grab my briefcase on the way out. The diner door chimes behind me, blending with the morning chatter.